Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with Andrew Velez, Joe Dehls, and John Tortorelli. And this is now episode 379. In this episode, we're going to do a mock draft for the first 14 picks if the Wolves or Nuggets have more pressure to win Game 7, OKC and the Mavericks Game 6 prediction, NFL schedule takeaways, and Jared Goff's contract extension, which will have a lingering effect on multiple quarterbacks that are still seeking their contracts. Now, today on the show, Riv is not with us. He's dealing with some personal matters, and that's why he has not been on the show as of recently. So everybody in the comments, give Riv some well wishes. Hopefully he feels better. We're hoping he does feel better. But John, you're on the show.
I don't know.
Glad to have you on.
Be here. I'm excited to be here to kind of try to fill in for this mock draft. I'm looking forward to getting to discussing these.
So you're happy to be here in the expense of Riv being down bad?
No.
Have some fucking shame, John.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm just excited to talk about the draft for the first time, especially with y'all, and also the Cavaliers, because that's a large part of the NBA discourse right now.
Yeah, way to save face. But you're not fooling anyone. All right, buddy?
You're putting words and impressions in my mouth.
Whatever.
We're starting off the show.
If I was Joel,
15 in. Fun things in your mouth.
Thank you.
Come on, bro.
Thank you.
Deal, man. We're talking about that before, too.
How you doing, Mr. Moran? I feel like nobody asked you how are you doing.
I'm doing great. I think recently I've been staying up late, but I've been very productive. My girl, she works overnight shifts, so I'll be having to pick her up.
Shout out to
I don't
Jess.
trust her getting into Ubers. I don't really trust Ubers like that, especially when it comes to women. They're really, I feel like in danger when it comes to Ubers.
Agreed.
So, I've been staying up late. I've been sleeping through the mornings, a little bit in the afternoon, and I've been really productive. While she's at work, everybody's asleep in that 12 a.m. to like 4 a.m. time frame.
For sure.
That there's nothing for me to do. There's nobody for me to talk to. So I usually am just like by myself, and I just end up making a lot of different content, or I just end up playing WWE a lot. That's what I'm playing a lot.
God forbid you got on 2K.
I don't like 2K. No. I only go on 2K when I want to rebuild a team. When I'm like, oh my God, Darius, Garland, and Evan Mobley on the Suns for Kevin Durant. Let me try that out. And then I go on 2K and I do my little rebuild. But no, WWE is so fun, bro. I get to do my own universe mode. I get to build my own brand. CM Punk, the CM Punk pack just came out.
Facts.
What's the status? Community Creations. He's goated. He makes everything custom for wrestlers, and he made the CM Punk pack. He got CM Punk with Nexus, CM Punk 2010, CM Punk 2011. He got like so many different versions of CM Punk. I downloaded all of them. I'm giving CM Punk every championship in the book, baby.
Why does nobody talk about Nexus CM Punk?
Wasn't my favorite era, probably my least favorite era.
You're
What?
a WWE guy, John? No, okay. Not alone here.
Whether people want
Shout
to
out
admit it
Buenzo
or
there.
not, Nexus is what took him to superstardom. I firmly believe that.
I didn't watch it at that time.
Really?
No.
I was locked. I'll never forget when he challenged Wade Barrett for the leadership of Nexus and Wade Barrett lost.
I didn't watch WWE like that at that time because I viewed Nexus at that time as like the B brand, which it was because it was the developmental brand.
John Cena fought Wade Barrett for, if he lost, he'd have to join Nexus. That was a huge deal. Nexus was coming out every single week. They were the Shield before the Shield, honestly.
I just never had interest in it. For me, my favorite versions of Punk, Summer of Punk. That's the favorite. One of my favorite versions. Probably the favorite. Actually, no, it'd be second. I think my favorite version of CM Punk is when he first came to WWE. Where with the long hair, cashing in the Money in the Bank. Mm-hmm. I feel like if they took
the first Money in the Bank.
Yes, I feel like if they took over his story and pushed him to superstardom at that time, he would have been even bigger. But they messed around with him so many times, and they really didn't treat him as like a respected champion. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I feel like it ruined him. He could have been the biggest star in the company. And then the straight edge society, CM Punk, even though it's his favorite, he's talked about how it's his favorite storyline he's done. I didn't like it, where they were like shaving people's heads off and stuff. Mm-hmm. That wasn't my favorite. I didn't like that.
I respect you saying that that's your favorite CM Punk. Shows your colors, or let me not say colors, shows your ties to CM Punk and your fanhood of CM Punk.
This fire burns CM Punk.
I mean, that theme song clears. And I love the Cults of Personality. If you played Guitar Hero 3, But at the same time, This Fire Burns is an all-time classic.
It didn't come in the CM Punk pack. Can you
and
believe
that's a fucking...
No, it got me fucking
that's
tight.
that's a bad fold. But I look at that time with Nexus, and him joining Nexus automatically signed his ties to feuding with John Cena, which... of course, we understood led to Money in the Bank and probably the biggest moment in CM Punk's career, which is why I feel like you have to talk about Nexus more when you talk about CM Punk. But I'm glad that you're getting your runs in with WWE 2K. That being said, NBA 2K. We need you back, brother.
Nobody's on 2K no more, brother.
Nobody is wrong.
Drew's running runs.
We have an
day.
entire server. I promise you, we run every single day. Shout out to my brothers Dom. Shout out to my brothers Nico. Shout out to my brothers Money Mike. I Suck Toes.
Booty Liquor?
Booty Liquor's not in there. Shout out to Rome. Shout out to Fleet. Grapples. I mean, the streets are locked in.
Listen, shout out to them for joining the server, and you have a consistent group to play with.
I do.
But 2K has progressively been on the downturn for a long time. And this year's 2K is like trash.
Did you guys see the college football trailer today?
Oh, hell yeah,
We're
I did
here.
see it.
I can't
Listen,
wait.
and shout out to our brother Jared. He spit. If there's one thing EA knows how to do, release a trailer. I am skeptical of the game.
I think
it should be good.
The gameplay is going to be similar to Madden. I kind of accepted that, but the game modes, Dynasty mode, Road to Glory, that's what I'm excited for. Because it's like a football game. It's a football game. You know what I mean?
You know what I hate about NBA 2K? My career part of it. For one, the VC transactions, I'm always going to hate it.
Rec included? Or are we just talking my career, the storyline?
This ain't even. I'm not even talking about the storyline. I'm not talking about the gameplay. This is just strictly convenience. Why the hell do I have to walk for 5 minutes to enter a park? Or like I have to walk to a Foot Locker in the game. Like no, like listen.
You don't like the little GTA feel?
No, it's a waste of time. Like can I just press the main menu and can I just purchase every sneaker I want that I can purchase? Like why do I have to walk to a virtual store and purchase this? And the parks, I mean, it's just confusing as hell. It's so big. It's like it's not like NBA 2K16 where you know what parks you're going to. Sunset, River City, Old Town Flyers, I believe, and you got the whole park. It's the whole layout is super easy. It's convenient. 2K has just made things more difficult, and they didn't have to do that.
Once you go into the train station, you can essentially do that.
Yeah, I ain't trying to do that, brother.
I mean, I'll be honest.
I'm taking public transportation for a game.
It's so easy. Again, you do that for GTA. Is this you're not killing people unless you're killing people on the course.
Well, GTA's purpose is walk around, is to roam.
And you could get cars. You could steal things.
You can have cars. No stealing.
How do you get the car? Do you have to pay 5,000 VC for it?
No, not even.
Oh.
You just play the game. You unlock the car.
And
I'm in my little fucking buggy.
What point do you get the car?
I think it's level 30. Level 30.
That sounds like at least a couple months.
No, not at all.
How much does it cost to get your player to 85 overall if you're buying VC?
If you're buying VC, you need to spend $50 per build.
That's crazy.
It's horrible. I don't disagree there. When it comes to that, it's terrible. However, if you play the game naturally, you'll accumulate that VC. So the first time you go and you buy your build, $50. You grind your ass off. That takes you a few months to get you another player. But if you're trying to expedite that process, it's $50 every time.
Yeah, no, I've expedited that process multiple times. I probably am down $200 from builds I've made on this game I don't play.
I love this game. I play it a dangerous amount.
You get tired of it?
Today
what made you hop on to because we hadn't been playing 2K in a minute. Like in high school, I guess we were playing, but I feel like post high school we were not really playing 2K.
Shout out to my cousins. My cousin Justin stayed with us for a little while. He had a job over here in New Jersey. He lives in New York, so he stayed with us in Jersey. And he was just playing 2K with some of my other cousins, and then of course just their friends naturally. And I'm watching. I'm just like, man, why am I interested in playing this game? So I bought it. I downloaded it. I made a PG build. That build is actually locked and chained. I have not pulled it out in a long time because I'm a natural point guard. I'm him.
No man, 2K is just it's been terrible. I don't like 2K, and I just kind of accept.
Is it also because you're a mid point guard?
No, I can play 2K.
You low-key have the ratchet. You just need a.
No, I can play 2K. That's never been the problem. I could play 2K. My problem is that I've just come to terms with the fact that these developers don't care about the game anymore. They just don't. They're money hungry, and a game mode like My League, which it's always been the bread and butter of 2Ks. It's been a staple. My career came in, it changed the game.
Facts.
But My League, my franchise, whether it's in Madden, whether it's in sports games in general, people like rebuilding teams. They like rebuilding rosters. And since the beginning of time with 2Ks, they have put no effort into that game mode. And the reason why they put no effort into that game mode is because they don't get any money from that game mode. So they're focused on my team. They're focused on making you pay 20,000 VC for some Anthony Edward ones in a game. And it's just a money grab. And that's why I don't like it. And that's why I don't really spend time. They don't spend time on a game. That's what I don't like about 2K and sports games. They should all adopt the Fortnite model. It should be a constant update because at this point in time, what 2K is just a roster update. It's really nothing new that really is groundbreaking. It's a roster update, and
that's part of the
I
reason
feel like
why
they gotta do that.
That's part of the reason why the game can't even improve so much. Because if you're putting out a game constantly every year, you're not starting 2K25 when 2K24 comes out. Like you still got to provide all the live service updates, all patches, like all of that's going on behind the scenes, and then you're still trying to put out this new game which you got to sell for $70. And I feel like all sports games at this point, I mean, they just don't grab my interest. Video games in general just don't grab my interest like they used to. Like when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, every Madden cop, every 2K cop, every Call of Duty cop, but I was just inside more, like obviously didn't have as many responsibilities, don't have a job, don't have whatever we got going on. So the only things I'm really looking forward to in video games, NCAA, because that's the first time we're getting a decade, and GTA 6 next year. There's really, I don't know if there's gonna be another video game I buy within that time frame.
Yeah, Call of Duty fell off a pretty.
But they did say Black Ops 6 will be on Game Pass day one.
Imagine you hear that Black Ops 6.
Yeah.
That's how bad they are.
They just have to
go back
remaster
the-
Black Ops 1.
Yo,
They
you're
need to bring zombies
but
back.
here's the thing:
They fucked up zombies so bad.
They remastered Modern Warfare 1. They remastered Modern Warfare 2. They remastered Modern Warfare 3. So you want them to remaster Black Ops 1?
They haven't done it yet.
I understand
I've
that.
been
I
waiting.
agree. I think Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2. I mean, I know people are. That's a hot take to hear that Black Ops 1 is my favorite
is
Call
mine
of
too,
Duty.
yeah.
That's the game I played the most. Black Ops 2 is the best, though.
My
that
favorite
I've
zombie is
played.
Black Ops 1.
Most definitely. Kino de Ton is a lifetime map. But at the same time, I feel you. I feel like a lot of Madden, although I won't associate 2K with this conversation because this is the first 2K I've really, really come back to since 2K20, and before that, 2K16. It's really been a long time since I've liked a 2K this much. But even MLB The Show this year, I haven't found myself playing not nearly as much as the year before that. Maybe it's a every year thing with me. I played 21, skipped out on 22, was locked on 23, really haven't enjoyed 24 as much. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think that 2K is very dependent on who you play with. And I think that if you were to give us another chance, Mr. Moran, I think you'd enjoy it.
Black Ops 1, I had a .50 kill death ratio. Still my funnest Black
Yeah.
Ops.
.50 kills pretty nuts.
No,
So you were
yeah.
young.
10
You were
kills,
That's
20
facts,
deaths,
facts.
baby.
You were like 10 years old when that game came
No,
out.
listen, I use myself as a sacrificial lamb. Listen, I'm going to go and try to capture this flag in domination. They
Team
going to
player.
shoot me. Y'all know
player.
where it's coming from now.
You know what?
I'm
I'll
saying?
say
That's
this.
what I want.
You're a big, what's the game?
Objective.
No. What's the other
Rainbow
Battle
Six?
Royale game? No, you would know.
You're
What's
thinking
the
of
other Battle Royale game?
Apex?
That's Apex Legends. That's
yeah,
your
I-
game.
I used to play it
when
a
we
lot.
when we played Call of Duty. You were a big, let the game kind of take its course. I'm gonna stay in my spot and I'm gonna catch my lick when I can.
No, I'm a hunter. I'm a hunter.
Okay, in
Yeah.
Apex or just in general?
It depends on the game, really. I'm most certainly just a hunter. Like, in Apex, I'll be like, oh, listen, there's like 5 people left. Let them kill each other off. Then we gonna come a third party. Now I'm very much like that. I'm not gonna start the action. I'm gonna just come in and I'm gonna finish it off. But I'm not gonna start the action. With 2K,
You ain't gonna start it,
You
but
just
gonna
gonna
damn sure
you
finish
just gonna
it.
make
Yes.
sure that shit's been completed.
yes.
Bros
For-
like Robert Ory.
Like one time I played Fortnite and
you
I played with my
touch on the
little
game.
cousin. We just hid in the bush for an entire game. And then
I
when
knew
there
you were
was
gonna say that.
then when there was 3
I knew you
people
were gonna
left,
say that.
it was just one guy. We came out, we sprayed him. We was like, yeah, let's go.
Victory Royale, one fucking kill.
And that's it. That's all that matters. As long as you see that victory royale, that's really all that matters.
With 2K, I will say I'm not a point guard. I'm a center. That's my build. Like I'm a center because I'm a great rim protector. I have a great feel on when to help as a defender. Like that's my game.
If you're
play.
a center, brother,
Rose
you
Nerlens
play
Noel.
with us every day.
Yeah,
we
but-
need a center desperately because nobody wants to play center. Truthfully, it's a boring ass position.
No, that's my
2K,
funnest
that's
position.
really boring.
I love playing center. That's what I have most fun with. I don't like having the ball and shit because I think the shot meter is kind of broken in 2K.
oh,
at least
brother,
for
you
me.
don't use the shot meter. Jeez, where you get caught in casual. Or,
It is. It's you're using the shot
don't
meter.
you
You're just not
use?
seeing it.
No.
It's not.
So
you just turn it
you
off.
Turn it off because
Just
you
use
get
it.
a 20%.
Facts,
Yeah, you get a
facts.
20% boost if you don't have it on. I've been locked this last season. I've been unbelievable. Truthfully, 60%, 60% from field and 3. Now
Calm.
I've been on some shit.
Shot meter is essentially just timing a jump shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's off, it's still a shot meter. It's just, you're not seeing it.
I know, but
Oh, you think it's just like janky?
It's just janky. Like there's certain jump shots that work. There's certain jump shots that don't work.
Who's your jump shot?
you
that's
have,
like
you,
it's not
yeah,
just like base, right?
Yeah, you have to get into the creator lab and make it. So for my fast jump shot, I go Patty Mills. For my regular one, it's an Oscar Robinson, Sadiq Bey, and who's the other one? I'm blanking off the top of my head. No, not Ben McLemore. I want to say he plays for the Bucks. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Beasley.
No, it's not. It's older head. Let me not say older head, but a couple years back. Let's say they were on the championship team with the Bucks. But regardless, that's the jump shot I use religiously. But they say Patty Mills' base is the best in the game. Mm-hmm. They do. And
so
Tracy
funny.
McGrady's another one.
How do people find that out? Like, there's 1,000 players in that game. Patty Mills. That's who I'm gonna go with.
They just guess. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
They use it. It's like, hey, listen, it works really well. And they just guess. Before we get into the podcast, we got to talk to you guys about Factor Meals. Now, Factor Meals has sent us some boxes.
Yes,
and
sir.
fellas, we know how easy it is to use Factor Meals.
Mm-hmm. It's as easy as pie. You take the meal. They, of course, send it to your doorstep. You take it. You unpack it. You just punch 3 holes in it. You put it in the microwave, 2 minutes, bang. That's how easy it is.
It's that easy. You don't have to cook. You don't have to make a mess. You just get the meals. They're fresh, never frozen meals, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes, like you said, Drew.
Had some like chicken and pasta one in the face. It was
Yeah,
really
no,
good.
it's
Like, you
pretty
get
amazing.
some options for sure.
So no matter how busy you are, you will always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. 35 different meals and 60 add-ons to choose from each week. Head to factormeals.com/PAS50 and use code PAS50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code PAS50 at factormeals.com/PAS50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. We're going to get this show on the road with an NBA mock draft. The lottery order was just revealed. Hawks surprisingly landed the first overall pick. And this draft is a draft that many people are critiquing for not having high-end star talent, true generational game-breaking players. But we'll let you guys know that this draft is filled with a lot of good players that can help teams right away and attribute to winning. Now, we can collab with this draft.
All right.
We're probably all going to be thinking similarly.
All right.
You don't want to go one by one?
Before we get started, Porzingis out games 1 and 2. Optimism returns to
Get
DCF.
the fuck out of here.
That's kind of what I'm worried about. With a
Well, he's
calf
kinda
injury like
rushed.
that,
It's kinda
a
rushed.
guy
Feels
that's
rushed.
had a longer injury history of the lower body, like him coming back and not being himself, and then he's maybe re-aggravating that because the calf injury, so you don't want to
I think that even still, you guys can make it to the finals without him. At the same time, it just makes your path to the finals just so much more
with
difficult.
how much Brunson gets downhill, you need that rim protection stuff. Like the Knicks steal game 1. I don't know what that was.
It's my
Discord.
computer. I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
You're not familiar with Discord?
I am,
Sounds?
but I haven't used it in a minute. Like if Brunson takes game 1 from you, and Porzingis is coming back, he's not 100%. That series can go 7.
Now, listen, John.
JT Thor. That was the base.
Shout out to JT Thor.
JT Thor.
His jump shot release?
It's butter. It's butter.
Maybe I'm not familiar with this
It's
game.
so good. It's
That's
JT Thor,
wild.
Oscar Robinson, Sadiq Bey. That's the jump shot.
That's a Hornet too.
Put
I
it
don't
in the
think
Hall
he's
of
ever been
Fame.
in Milwaukee.
No, facts. No. I don't know why Milwaukee came to my mind.
Now, listen,
Maybe because
John.
of Oscar, truthfully.
Thinking about doing it one by one, but this is not the first mock draft we're going to be doing. This is not our picks right now. This is just a
the
fill out
pick-
process.
This is the pick aside
the
mock
base.
draft.
Yes.
Mock
This
draft.
is a fill out process, pick a side, collab as one entity.
We can do one and then we talk to each other about
Yes.
it. Yeah.
So the first overall pick, the Atlanta Hawks. Who do they take?
Who's
think-
on- who's
I
on
think
this
is an
team?
easy
Okay,
selection.
so assuming it's going to be
it's Trey
Trey,
and DeJounte?
it's going to be DeJounte Hunter. I don't know, Sadiq Bey, that's probably up in the air. And, of
Onyeka
course,
Okongwu,
Onyeka
Capella.
/ Clint Capella.
Capella's got a year left in his deal.
I think they need some versatility at the big. I don't want to overthink this too much. If you draft Donovan Clingan, to me, it's a little bit repetitive.
True.
I say it's a little bit repetitive, which is why I would go Sar for a guy who can stretch, which is that would be my selection here.
It's easy. This hasn't been a good defense since 2017.
Agreed.
And they need to get themselves not only a good rim protector, but someone that brings some versatility. And to me, that's Alexander Sarr, #1 ranked prospect in this class for a reason. He's raw, but they have some time, I think. They shouldn't be trying to win next year. So I think this is Sarr 100%.
Now, let me ask you another question. I do think Sarr's the selection. Is Risha Shear entering your matrix, someone who actually can shoot the three ball at a very efficient
Shot
clip?
solid this last year.
And you can go and you can help your offense even more.
Gain a
So.
wing creator.
Yep.
I haven't watched enough of him to really see how good of or how scalable of a shot creator he is. And I also feel like, too, with the Hawks, with Trae Young, you're going to be a top 10 offense. As basic as that sounds, it's true. Every single year, try and true. You need to get a defensive foundation.
I'm
and
cool
I
with
think
that.
that's where you got to go with the front court player here.
I think Alex Sarr is the easy pick in a lot of mock drafts. From what I've seen of Sarr,
Consensus.
you have all of the physical tools there, but really the basketball skill on the court really is not caught up to him. So you're hoping that he can just continue to develop. So I don't think there are many routes Atlanta can go that would be wrong routes.
You went throwback, old pen and paper.
No, yeah, I've got team fits, and I've also
Okay.
got team needs
Fucking
for each
GM
player.
John over
So
here.
I'm going back and forth a little
Who's just
bit.
going to call him a nerd? Like, come on, man.
Old
little
pen and
bit.
paper.
It's
You're an
not a
old
bad
head for
thing.
that. You're an old head for that for sure.
Yeah, I like my notebooks. What can
No,
I
it feels
say?
better when you get a
Grandpa.
feel for something.
Grandpa
It
John.
helps me learn better, personally. I've got my notes, too, on my computer.
I don't
but
disagree,
my
John.
laptop.
That's actually 100%
It helps
sound.
me.
I had to write every note of mine down.
Yeah, especially I'm studying for school.
With the Atlanta Hawks, I feel like they could go in multiple different directions because there is no safe prospect or first overall pick that they just got to take. So I can see somebody like Reese Shear, who can potentially develop into a better two-way wing down the line. Even someone like Klingon. I know Alexander Sarr has the size, but the feel for defense,
Correct.
Klingon has the feel for
Correct.
defense
Respect
to
him, John.
impact the defense
You
day
didn't
one.
respect him.
I'm
I
a
saw
big
that.
Clean fan. He's
I don't know,
actually,
it didn't
he's
sound
got,
like that,
He's got
John.
a longer wingspan.
You
plus
sounded like
three.
you hated
No,
him.
no, honest to God.
Sounded like he wasn't a top 10 player.
I've got Clean high on my board, but number one to me is a bit rich.
I agree,
That's
personally.
hilarious.
What's he for you? What
He's
number?
number 6, I think. Like going back to the old pen and paper. Yeah, he's number
That
6.
brother
got
can be
little
a
notes,
top
he's
3
got big
pick.
notes.
He can be.
He can
I don't
be.
hate it. I don't dislike it. It's number one to me. I would have to
Washington
go with
traded
Sarr.
away their big
Sarr's
ship.
also got a really, it doesn't go in, but his form and fluidity at that jump shot is
Cute
a year
jumper.
younger at 19. I'm curious, one draft comp he gets is Jaren Jackson. If he ever develops some touch in the mid-range, and if he can extend that to 3, then you're talking about someone who really does play a lot like Jared.
Sarr's what, 19 years old?
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah, I mean he still has time to develop. The Hawks, I mean we said it kind of jokingly to begin with, but it's today and in a month from now this roster could look so different. Just being like Trae Young seems like he's probably going to still be on
He's
the team. If I
locked.
just had to take a guess,
think he's-
Dejounte. I don't know what Dejounte's market's looking like, so it's hard. Like I think he has some market. I think he has. I don't think he's like a piece
I
no
don't
one's
get that,
looking
John.
out to try
What do
to
you
get.
mean no market?
I hate to be the one to say it. DeJounte is a good player, but he's not a needle mover.
He's not a needle mover. That doesn't mean needle movers don't get traded.
Correct.
What market does he have?
Needle movers don't. Needle movers have plus value, and if you're not a needle mover, you don't got
He
plus
played
value.
some pretty damn good basketball the last 2-3 months of the season.
What's Dejounte getting?
What are we
He's 4 years
identifying
old,
as
14.
having a trade
14.
market?
He's making $30 million a year.
on that contract.
30 mil's not.
You're getting
that
expiring
bad,
salary.
More than
especially in
3 teams would want to
2024.
trade for you. Is that
I don't
having a
think-
trade market?
Okay, I mean, I guess that sounds right.
That's fair.
In the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, because of how good the point guard position is, he's an average starter.
Who would trade for DeJounte Murray? The Spurs?
Not many teams, because you have to
John,
organize the
that's
trade for
wrong.
running back.
That's
It's
an
right.
all-star.
True, it's true.
Ooh.
That's a fake
Ooh,
all-star.
ooh, ooh.
Let's be real.
Yeah,
It was
I don't
a
know.
Oh, so
replacement.
Garland was a fake all-star too, right?
No,
Your guy.
That's not how it works.
No?
Garland's a more complete player. Better
Garland
every
has
facet.
been
every facet
was
of the game.
painfully average in
This
comparison
year,
to
that's
DeJounte.
different.
DeJounte's
Don't
also
disrespect
older than
2022.
Darius Garland.
Darius
is.
Garland,
He is.
2022 was an elite
He is.
playmaker.
He
and
was.
this
In
year.
2023, he played damn good
DeJounte
too.
wasn't really elite.
What
at
the hell
anything.
happened this year?
I don't know if DeJounte's ever going to
His
be an all-star
defense
again.
was elite.
He won't
that
be.
year,
It's
his
a lot
defense
like
was
D'Lo
elite,
in
John.
2019. Respectfully, DeJounte is a good
His
player.
defense wasn't elite in the year he was an all-star.
No, he was not. It fell off a cliff.
What do you-
Because
no,
of the
when he
load
went to
had.
Atlanta, it fell off a cliff.
And it was not good as last year.
But in
San
the
Antonio.
Spurs, what are we talking about, John?
I mean, you're talking about year 2 DeJounte. They made an all-defensive team. Yeah, it was amazing. But when he got a larger role and had one of the highest usage rates in the NBA, his defense fell off a cliff, and the entire Spurs defense was not that good.
I'm just.
But let's be honest, no one really wanted to watch that Spurs team. It was maybe the most boring in basketball, so
I
no one really
understand
talked
that, but
about it until
a
he went to
lot
it.
of his ascension was, of course, his offense, his ability to assist and play make, but also his defense. If I'm not mistaken, one of
It's
the league leaders in
reputation.
steals.
It was reputation at that point.
That was early on in his career. You could say that too. But again, that last
true.
year in San Antonio was a solid defense. When he went to Atlanta, That's when it fell.
But
off.
John,
It was already
don't you also
starting
think
to
if he goes to
Antonio.
a place where he's not giving the offensive usage, if he doesn't need to be the lead ball handler, like
has
we
to,
saw
He
a
kind
lot.
of is best served in that role.
No, he has to be
on
that.
a 35-win team.
Here's the
like
thing.
San
I think
Antonio.
that if Dejounte went back to the Spurs, that would actually be beneficial to him in his career.
because of who would he be
Of
replacing?
course,
don't have
but they
point
need
guard
a
now.
playmaker.
He's
But
making
you
too much.
he's not
You're right.
that
He's making too much
scalable.
money to
You
be like
saw-
just stand in the corner.
You
True.
saw when Trey Young
average
was
starter.
out,
Yeah,
the Hawks were playing some pretty good basketball.
they're average.
Okay, of
Best.
course, and
Drew,
in
you
the
look
grand
at the
scheme
point
of
guard
things,
position. I don't know if he's top 15.
I
really
don't disagree with that actually.
So that makes you an average starting point guard if you're not top 15.
I mean,
Damn.
the league is very guard heavy. Because what's Garland right
he's
now?
average.
He's top 15.
17.
After an awful year like he just had, he's still top 15.
Because funny, because LaMelo Ball
Was he
might not be
15?
top 10, and LaMelo Ball
There's a lot
clears
of- there's
Darius
so many good
Garland.
point guards.
Yeah, I don't know if Garland's top
It's like a
15.
golden age for the position, but like
Right? So
again,
if Garland is an average,
Garland's above average.
Jesus,
Give
both
me
of
a
my
break.
devices are on.
I know. Lock in.
If Garland is an
Damn.
average,
Here we
right?
go.
Lock in.
Garland
First
is
pick.
not
Come on.
average.
Right, if you can say that about Garland, I could say that about Dejounte.
Listen, after the
Garland's
season
a
he
different
just had,
level.
you can't really defend Darius Garland much.
And a change of scenery and some health. He broke his jaw
No,
in the middle of the season.
no, that's huge. I'm not gonna
The mental
dismiss that.
effect?
That's huge.
And also playing off Donovan Mitchell doesn't maximize his skill set either. I think he's best served as a lead guard, and that's not what he has.
So you're
for the last
saying
2
that
years.
I guess above average guard can't play alongside a star / superstar at moments in the playoffs. You're
you
telling
saying?
me, right? Like, I mean, if you're above average player, you should be able to at least coincide
What's the
with another
debate here?
star.
What are you
All I'm
saying?
saying is, if you're gonna disrespect Dejounte,
I'm just being
then at the
honest.
same
It's
time
not
keep that same
disrespect.
energy for Darius.
This is a Dejounte conversation. It's not a Darius conversation.
No, I understand. I made
you
it
just
a
wrote me
Darius.
to one
You
of
did
my
make
favorite
a Darius
players.
conversation.
I understand that.
So
It's
no,
one way
no.
to go at it.
The
Yeah.
question
But
was,
I understood that
A
you would
monster
keep
game.
that energy with Darius
mean,
Garland. So
does
that's why I say
Dejounte
at
have
the
a
same
trade
time,
market?
Darius
No.
I
Garland
would-
definitely has a bigger trade market than DeJounte Murray. If we want
He's
to
also
make
years
that route.
younger, making
He
the same
is.
amount of money, roughly.
But he's due for an extension, is he not?
Garland.
Garland.
He just
Or
re-upped
did
a
he
year
got
ago.
paid? Okay.
he
Yeah.
did just get paid.
What's he getting paid?
Good amount, over 30 easily.
Let me ask you a
Is he
question.
getting paid more than Dejounte?
Yeah, I think so.
wow.
Let me double check.
No, he got the richest contract in Cavs history.
Oh yeah, 197, 5 years.
Let me
Signed
ask you a
year ago.
question. If you're the Orlando Magic, would you rather surround Paolo and Franz with Dejounte or with Garland?
Easy. We were just talking about this before the show. Easily
Okay.
Garland. Way more
Darius
scalable.
Garland with 5
2
years,
years ago,
200
Garland
mil.
got that.
How do you think that contract will age?
Just fine when he gets moved. I'm expecting
No,
it to be traded.
believe it or not, I'm going with Dejounte. Because again,
You're
you add
delusional.
to that
Delusional.
defensive prowess, and on top of it, now you get playmaking with
What
Dejounte
defensive
and someone
prowess?
that
The
can
Hawks
also.
defense is dog shit.
Oh, no, exactly, but that's not
talking about.
the Hawks'
fuck are you
defense
talking
is
about?
dog shit. But is the Magic's?
No.
When you have other players that play defense, it obviously motivates you to
Sure.
also coincide and play some
But they don't need
defense.
more defense. They
Drew.
need
You
shooting.
don't
Drew.
They need
agree.
shooting.
And Dejounte this season was not a bad shooter.
He's
by
not
any
He
Darius
shot
stretch.
Garland.
36.
Of
He
course
shot
he's
We're
fine.
having a
not.
mid
All
off
right, Drew,
right
let's
now.
do
With all
this
due
game.
respect to these
Who's
two
the better
players.
shooter, Garland
This is
or
this is the
Drew?
Big Side podcast. We talk about mid
Drew.
when we need to.
Who's the
At
better
this-
shooter?
Of course, Darius.
Who's the better
Garland.
off-ball player? Don't think about it. Don't do this. Please.
Darius Garland, was he great off ball this season? The answer is no.
Well, last year he averaged 22 and 8, I believe.
and
off
this
ball.
we're talking about this past season. This past season, Dejounte was the better player, very easily.
But that doesn't mean he's a
very
better
easily.
off-ball player, though.
Better live action creator,
But
better ball handler,
this
better
season,
playmaker.
we saw the
All of that
Cavaliers
is
play their
Darius
best
Garland.
basketball when Darius Garland wasn't on the court.
Yes, okay.
Right? Isn't that funny?
I mean, that's not necessarily Garland. It's kind of optimizing.
It's just
Donovan
it's so
Mitchell.
much more easier to build your team
But you
around
put Garland
Donovan.
in a
obviously.
situation where he's a lead guard. I'm pretty confident he'd be a step above.
I mean, when we saw him as the lead guard, they missed
did.
the playoffs.
yes, because they're battered.
They were
by
young,
injuries.
of course.
No,
It's the second year
they
of a
were a
rebuild.
40+ win team that was battered by injuries and had no one else who could create.
Yeah.
No one else that can create.
Mm.
They acquired Karis LeVert midseason. That was the only person that could dribble.
Garland-
And he's the most inconsistent six man in the NBA.
At his best was 25 and 10 every night, post All-Star
Basically.
game in 2020.
Almost damn near. He averaged
2022.
22 and
Yeah.
8 assists on pretty solid efficiency, above average slightly.
I think around Paolo and Franz, Garland fits better. I
Amazing.
think for the
Thank you.
Spurs, you could make an argument for Dejounte.
I think so too. I also still feel confident that with the Magic, I still would lean Dejounte Murray because one of those nights where, again, if the matchup is not as favorable for a Franz or a Paolo, Dejounte Murray has shown that he still is able and capable to get a bucket himself. And obviously, when it comes to playmaking, he's a solid playmaker. And we've seen his defense be at a very high level. You put him in a
a long
system
time.
that is already, but that's also in a team with the Atlanta Hawks that is one of the worst defenses we have in this league.
Garland's offense needs to be really damn good
Got
to make up
worse
for his
after they
defense.
acquired.
Correct.
I mean, DeJounte wasn't a good defender this past year, like John mentioned. He has been for the last few
Correct.
years.
And I
but,
agree with that.
At least, I mean, Garland just, I think, partially is an effort issue, partially is a size issue, partially I just don't think he has the kind of defensive prowess that you'd see from other players who, guys that just have more tenacity and just more kind of physical fight than him. So if he's going to be a pretty negative a negative on defense and he's going to get picked on, then his offense needs to be really damn good. So he needs to go to the perfect spot. Listen, if you're talking about the Pelicans, where you got Herb Jones, you got Trey Murphy, you got some dudes, you go to the Magic, where you got Jalen Suggs and a bunch of good defenders, then it works. But I also don't know if if my big move is to go get Darius Garland to be the needle mover. I don't know if he's a needle mover either for either of these teams.
Would the Pelicans rather surround Zion?
Career high in steals his last year as a Spur, by the way.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, just making sure. Oh, it doesn't matter.
No. Harden led the league in
steals are not an objective way
active
to measure
hands.
defensive.
His second lowest defensive rating as a Spurs was his second. Okay, so stats don't matter.
Wait, hold on. You think he was a bad defender with the Spurs?
Dejounte?
His last year.
Depends. His last couple of
his
years.
His last year as a Spurs.
2022. Yeah, it started to fall off. His effort. I mean, that's
no, it fell off, but it was good still. It wasn't bad.
It was fine.
I think it was good.
He wasn't hurting their
defense. No, he was making plays that year defensively and winning games for them.
Good defensive playmaker, but not the best effort.
You can knock his offense his last year as a Spur because it was due to a lot of opportunity. If there was something you would knock, it's because he had an unbelievable amount of volume. Knock his offense. When it comes to Spurs, you should not talk about his defense. The main reason everyone was gassed up about him going to Atlanta was no one
was watching him in San Antonio
because of
last year,
last 2 years. But he was an all-star that year. People were
a replacement all-star in a year. A lot of point guards.
So was Garland. You can't forget about that
on a mid player. I don't know why we spent the last 12 minutes talking about Dejounte.
You will go to bat for a mid player in Darius Garland.
You love the mid players. I can't do it. Tobias Harris, RJ Barrett. I can't.
Who likes Tobias Harris?
You probably do.
RJ Barrett. That's a legend in the streets. He's playing amazing basketball.
One of the biggest players in NBA history.
I'm just saying, John, keep the same energy. That's all I'm going to say with you.
I'm done.
So you think in the next 4 years, who will be more valuable, Garland or Dejounte Murray?
He's going to say Dejounte.
If it's not Garland, it's actually a pretty big testament on him. The answer should be Garland.
Well, it shouldn't because you think Dejounte is that nice.
I think going next year, yeah, I would probably lean with Dejounte.
To end this Dejounte discussion, do you think he's a needle mover?
You didn't want him on the Lakers.
I would say that. I didn't want him because D'Lo was playing decent ball at that time.
So you'd rather have D'Lo than Dejounte?
Last season, yeah, I would have. But at this point, yeah, I feel like I would rather Dejounte, unfortunately.
So you would? I think D'Lo has zero trade market, even if he got like.
I would argue that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So if you would rather have D'Lo than over Dejounte, how did Dejounte?
No, but that was at that point in time of the season when he was playing well.
Can I give you my opinion on who I think the Wizards should take a pick to?
Yeah, I love to hear it.
Okay, we're done.
Oh yeah.
Hold on, I got one more question. I didn't get it off.
I tried. Go ahead.
Who's a better co-star next to Zion, Dejounte or Darius Garland?
I'd probably pick Garland for the shooting.
Garland easily. He's way more scalable because of that shooting in transition, off the catch, off pull-ups, and then the live action creation is on a higher level.
Man, you're really talking very highly of a guy who was super.
But Dejounte shot better from mid-ranges last year. He's a good mid-range creator.
He was not a carrier of injuries much.
What's up?
Because the jaw injury is serious.
Say that again.
His jaw injury was serious. It affected his play a lot.
He was playing poorly before, but
no, but there was
he was not that good. You're right, John. You're right. He was not that good.
He was a shooting slump, though. Something you could work through early season.
He was not that good.
We see a lot of players the first month and a half need some time.
And honestly, John, it's so perfect you say that too, because if you're going to be scared to drive the basketball, shit, you better be great at jump shooting.
Well, the jaw injury affected his strength.
Not gonna lie, I saw Al Horford lock him up this past game.
Yeah.
And if that's the fucking case, I don't want to hear conversations about Darius Garland.
A lot of the time, if you're taking away a player's drive game and that ability to get downhill,
how good
to where they can only shoot the three,
you guys.
Oh yeah, I was saying this past year. I mean, he took 40 shots
because you overplayed his shots.
Exactly, that can compound their struggle.
Well, Darius Garland, when he got his jaw injury, he had to eat from a tube with his jaw clenched.
That's what happens when you break your jaw. I know.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, he didn't had his same strength that affected his driving ability.
I think he played too fast. He wasn't comfortable. Like he was too nervous, afraid of getting hit.
We say this all the time. He always gets hit. I think he got hit every single game in this Boston series.
He's so
in the
quick.
Face.
I
That's
think
what it
that's
is?
part of it.
Who said he was at elbow level? Was you said? Or was
What?
there, that he's just at elbow level?
That wasn't not me,
No,
but that's. I
someone-
wish I
Caught
said
by
it.
strays 24/7.
I wish I said that.
Maybe I saw on Twitter. I don't know.
Dehls, what was your number 2 overall?
My number. Okay, so number
Please.
2.
Well, let's just recap because we got sidetracked. with this
Recap the
conversation.
first pick.
So
yeah.
Atlanta Hawks NBA mock draft lottery edition. The first pick, we're going with Alexander Sarr.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Dell's second pick, Wizards.
Let's not have maybe a 30-minute conversation because I'd like to get out of here before midnight.
Yeah,
if you guys
not
would
bad move.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Second pick, Washington
God forbid
Wizards.
we have fun on the show.
There's really, I think there's 2 building blocks. I think what Denny has showed you over these last couple of years, I definitely want him
Absolutely.
on your team. And then, of
Love
course,
that.
you have Bilal, who you drafted in the top 10.
Love it.
Outside of that, you have some nice pieces that I think are tradable. Kyle Kuzma possibly tradable. Tyus Jones tradable. But that's really the only 2 pieces. I think they could definitely use a point guard. I think they could use someone who could get a bucket. I think they could use someone who could play make. I think Nikola Topic, 6'7", guard, play make little, could shoot
Great
a little.
pick.
I
High-level
think that's
rim
where I take
pressure.
number 2.
I'm not against that at all. You guys know I'm very high on Topic. The only thing that's missing in his game is a consistent jumper. I understand that selection 100%. If you guys want to make that your selection, I'm with that too. I also look at the big position for them and think that that's a big necessity. Would not be against the Donovan Clingan here. At the same time, getting a Zachary Rishashir also just for the versatile scoring option. That's another pick I wouldn't be against. But again, you guys know how high I am on Topic. If you want to take my pick too, I'm stamped with that too.
The big thing with Washington is that they're loaded on the wings. You got Kuzma as well.
True.
That there's so many forwards. I think a guy like Risha Shear would be kind of overloaded at that spot.
Okay.
What Washington really needs for a guy like Jordan Poole to bounce back, it's a contract in your books you're stuck with. They need someone who can put pressure on the rim and can open the game by getting down to the paint. And with Topic, some struggles with the shooting. He's also very young. I think that ball handling skill and that playmaking gravitas, that opens up the game for all of those wings.
Let me ask you a question, because similar to how Joel just put it is, there's only 2 players moving forward that you assume, well, let me say 2 to 3 players that you would assume would if you're the Wizards, you would want to move forward with. You mentioned Bilal Coulibaly. I agree 100%.
Love his game.
I think Denny Avdia also put himself in that conversation this past year. I would also argue Tyus Jones would be in that conversation. Those would be the only 3 that I would really consider moving forward with.
He's your ideal backup point guard.
In terms of a Jordan Poole, in terms of a Kyle Kuzma, these are 2 pieces. I'm looking at trade pieces. Probably nobody wants Jordan Poole, and I would understand that. I'm not looking at those 2 players as reasons to hinder taking best available here, which is why Risha Shear definitely can be in conversations. But if you feel like Tyus Jones is more of that backup guard, which
think
we've
he's a
seen
starter?
him be, I think if you're the Wizards,
He's the worst starter in the league, possibly.
I don't
Arguably.
disagree, but at
Hate
the
to say
same
it.
time, still one of the better playmakers, one of the cleaner passers.
Yeah.
I think you're the Wizards. You are forced in a position to take best available, not need.
And you think Risa Shear is best available over Topic?
I actually think it's another guard.
I think Topic would be best available. I only say that in argument for Kuzma or Jordan Poole to be reasons why we wouldn't take a player like that. But again, I would go Topic. I do think he's best available.
We could go with Topic at number 2. I think that it's the consensus selection. And then need a point guard. Are you about to say Rob Dillingham is the best?
He would be my number 2 prospect, but I think his game is a little bit redundant with Jordan Poole. And they really do need that initiator, which Dillingham is more of your shot creator, your energy bunny, to kind of add on top of your initial point guard. But I would have to go Topic here if I were Washington.
Topic at pick number 2. The 3rd overall pick, the Houston Rockets.
No trades in this mock draft.
Shout out James
No
Harden.
trades in
It's the
this
pick
mock
from Brooklyn.
draft. They have a ton of young talent. Amen Thompson, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Şengün, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason. Really, they're going to add another one if they don't trade this pick. And if they do, who should this player be? I think they can possibly add more shooting because that's what they need.
I don't disagree.
Or you look back to last offseason when they were trying to sign Brooke Lopez to get some rim protection. So I think Donovan Clingan here is also an option.
Did trade for Steven Adams. Just want to have that
right.
kept
Yes.
in mind.
Yes, but Steven Adams,
off
at
injury.
this point, coming off injury,
Hasn't
you don't
played
know
a
if he
year
can
and a
stay
half.
healthy.
I understand.
I don't think you don't take Clingan because of Steven Adams.
Now, let me ask you, Risha Shear, you mentioned shooting. Obviously, shot 46% from 3. He is also 6'10", has an ability to rebound the basketball, has the two-way ability. To me, the pick here would be Risha Shear, but of course, you know I'm a huge fan of Donovan Clingan. I don't know if Rob Dillingham answers my matrix. You just drafted a man. You have Fred on your books for a couple more seasons also. To me, I'm between Risha Shear and Clingan, and for that alone, I think I still would go upside, and I would go Risha Shear. What do you guys think?
This is one of the toughest picks to make.
I
Because
agree.
of the fact, I'm fully expecting them with this pick. Houston has
Really?
so much young depth and quality young players at that. That's like adding another young player in here is almost inundating the core that you've already built. But I have to think based off of the roster that they have, Steven Adams on expiring contract. If I were Raphael Stone and I can't trade this pick, I would want the rim protecting 5.
Interesting.
To complete my rotation. Taking Donovan Clinton to be your 6th man with his wingspan, his frame at 7'2", he's gonna be a plus rim protector. He reminds me a lot of Walker Kessler, and I think for 20 minutes a game, he'd be one of the best backup bigs in the league.
So for pick
But
3
a backup big
off the bench?
well, that's the point. You're not gonna find a player who's gonna surmount one of your existing starters. That's my.
The only one
Not really.
possibly would be
Dylan Brooks. you're gonna
Dylan Brooks
say?
at the 3.
And you've already got Cam Whitmore in the wings.
But I think
So-
Cam Whitmore doesn't really
And
fit
Tari.
with their lineup.
Okay, you've got Tari Eason as well. Who
I
was injured
love
last year.
Tari Eason. I really do love Tari
Huge
Eason.
Tari fan.
I think this pick is weird. It really is because they just have so many young players, and you don't want to stunt the growth of somebody
You're
that
not taking a guard.
exists on your team already. I like the Klingon pick. That's the route that I would go as well. I would go with Donovan Klingon, and I
20
think
minutes
that
a game.
Probably
Jabari
less, honestly, or Şengün.
Jabari Smith
Playing
Jr.
35.
I don't think is locked in to be a long-term starter. He could very well be moved to the bench if he doesn't perform up to standards next season.
Yeah.
And I think if Şengün develops an outside shot where it's consistent, you could play Klingon at the 5 and you could play Şengün at the 4.
I don't disagree
So I think
there.
there's a world where he can coexist as a starter if he develops.
And
We're
Klingon's
watching
a big
Minnesota
boy.
right now, 2 centers. Make it work. They're deep in the playoffs.
Shit, 3.
As long as you can
Nas
shoot
Reed
well.
has to be in there too.
Yeah.
And
We're not
a
forgetting-
good thing about this team is that Şengün's a great passer and Klingon is a good passer. And the best way to create spacing on your team is by having good passing bigs. And they would have that. And I think that's a problem with Cleveland to an extent because
Yeah.
not every double big lineup works.
Yeah.
Minnesota works because Cat can shoot. Cleveland's
And playmaker.
doesn't work because they can't shoot. With Houston, it really does, all rely on Şengün and his development of a jump shot. But he's gotten better every year, and he's attempted more shots on the outside and perimeter every year that I trust that he'll develop on.
Tells you
I'd
rock
go
with
Klingon.
Clinton at 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes the most sense because, like you guys said, they have so many players, 1, and 2, just so many young players that Klingon is probably the only player on the board that comes in and I don't think really stunts anyone's growth. You know,
Okay.
like he's taking minutes away from Steven Adams. That's if Steven Adams is even
if he's not the same?
going to be healthy
Yeah.
or even be the same. I mean, he's in his 30s now, coming off a major injury, hasn't played in a year. So while there's players that probably have more upside, there's players who I think just in general taking Klingon at number 3 because Drew, you were saying I don't think you're crazy. It's like you're drafting someone at number 3 that's going to be getting like bench minutes, but realistically, when you're looking at this Rockets team, they shouldn't have this number 3 overall pick. They should be with the Brooklyn Nets, and then it's like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. We get a starter here. But this was a team that was damn near a playoff team. So really, whoever you draft here is probably coming off the bench. So I like Klingon, like I mentioned, because you're not really stepping on any toes.
Yeah, and because of the uncertainty at the top, it's not like they're going to have a whole lot of suitors trying to move up either, which might make it tougher to want to
So
move back.
you're gonna go with Klingon.
Clinton's the 6th.
All right.
Yes, Klingon is a pick at 3. The 4th overall pick, the San Antonio Spurs.
If you're the Spurs, you're upset right now. Because if I'm the Spurs, I would have loved Topic, someone that could really play make for my obvious franchise player in Victor Wembanyama. And then you missed out on Donovan Klingon, who would have just
They
been
weren't taking
perfect,
Klingon.
fit at 5. And you play Victor at the 4. You play that 2-headed monster. Victor has that versatility that you can do that, playing more like a roamer. And then, of course, you have Klingon man down the interior of the paint as that enforcer. To me, though, I think Rob Dillingham would be the pick here. Now that you miss out on Topic, you don't get that solidified for sure big center in Klingon. You get a playmaker that can create for himself and obviously play make for Victor Wembanyama. I think that it would be Dillingham in my opinion.
I think it's between him and Reese Shearer.
Okay, wouldn't be opposed to that either.
Would Castle come into here at all?
I'm a little bit lower on Stephon Castle as like a top 5 pick. I know Riv is
For
a
the
huge
creation
deal on
purposes?
Stephon
Me too.
Castle. Just because of the lack of basically
Yeah.
shooting, live action, shot creation, and spacing off the ball. Because he is a player, Castle, that you're going to want to have the ball in his hands a lot.
He's just bigger
And I
than Rob. He's a
I
better
think
defender
he
than
needs
Rob.
to
Rob's
go to an
6'2".
environment where he's
Yeah.
going to have a larger role. In San Antonio, they're a lot like the Wizards. They've got Jones' brother at point guard. You can upgrade. You've got a lot of wings, too, between Vassell. Of course, you've got Kellen Johnson for now.
Sohan.
And then Sohan as well. So if I were the Wizards, I would probably trade this pick, much like the team we were talking about before. For
San Antonio,
Garrett.
you mean?
Sorry, yes. If I were San Antonio, I would probably be trying to move this pick with like Keldon to get Darius Garland. We can't make a trade. So if I were in their shoes, probably go with a guard here, and that would be Dillingham to me. Even if he's more of a shot creator.
Listen, I'm not mad with the Dillingham pick. If you want someone who is probably a bit more like bucket gettery, if you know if that's a word, you know what I mean.
It kind of is.
The Castle thing just interests me because I feel like the Spurs are kind of hinting at we don't want a small guard that could possibly be a liability on defense when we already have Wemby. Fair. And Rob Dillingham is 175. You know, like over the years, you know, he's still young, like 19 years old or something. He's still young, so like you could put on weight, but 175 to get to like a respectable weight in the NBA, I mean, he's likely going to be under 200 pounds for the rest of his career, already undersized at 6'2". So I think the upside with Castle isn't enticing because you have the size. He's already a better defender. And while he's definitely an inconsistent jump shooter, he could still get to the rim. He could still play make. So I would lean Castle here, but if it's 3-1, you know, I see.
You're going Dillingham also?
I'll go Dillingham because I don't think we need to spend too much time on this. But I will say,
Shear's a solid option.
I am intrigued by them adding to their defensive personnel and trying to have that identity. And with the Spurs right now, Keldon Johnson is not a long-term player. That's going to be there.
Agreed.
Wembanyama is going to play the 5. Jeremy Sohan has to develop a jump shot, but I'm high on his defense. He's going to be an elite defender.
Fine with that.
Devin Vassell can play the 2 or the 3. He can play either position. And you don't have another wing that can complement him right now. That's why I think Risa Shar makes sense. Yeah. I even think someone like Mataz Buzelis to be a stretch 4 for them who can also create off the dribble makes sense. He didn't shoot well in Ignite, but his form is solid, and I think there is upside for his shot to develop. And between Dillingham and Risa Shar, I think Mataz Buzelis has the highest ceiling of them. Really? So yeah. So I think you can go either way, you know.
I think if you are San Antonio, looking at the board, you have Detroit, you have Charlotte, you have Portland, and then you're right back up at pick 8. I don't look at Charlotte as a team that would go point guard or guard, truthfully. I look at Portland, similar position.
They're not going point guard.
And Detroit's another team that, again, you have Cade.
Dillingham can fall to 8.
I agree with that. So I'm 100% on board with that, too. Now looking at it, I think Risa Shar, you take best available. I would go Risa Shar, truthfully.
And the Spurs were light on spacing this last year, too.
Yes.
You want someone that fits alongside Shohan. And that's where, like, a Castle. You can't really play Castle and Shohan together to me. So if you want to go Zach here, I'm all with it.
We could go Risa Shar. I like the pick a lot.
All right, sweet.
Last second decision with it.
Yes, with the 5th overall pick, the Detroit Pistons.
And this is another team that loses because you miss out on the best available here. But again, if you're Detroit,
I like Reed Shepherd.
Maybe exactly. Yeah. I'm thinking the same exact thing. You don't think about it too much. You need some shooting. Obviously, someone that can be alongside Cade Cunningham that is a reliable option to score when he needs to pass out. I think Reed Shepherd's a fine pick here, or Mataz Buzelis.
The starting 5 for Detroit next year. What are we expecting? We're expecting Cade at the 1.
Yes.
Ivy to start.
Better be starting.
Asar is starting. Jalen Durant. Who's the 5th starter here? Who am I missing?
It could be a couple different.
With all due respect, there is nobody locked into that starting lineup
except
outside of Cade
and Durant.
I think Ivy should because when him and Cade finally got that opportunity to play together, Ivy did improve. Also,
and Asar.
Oh yeah, and Asar.
Yeah.
Right now, they're.
I don't even think Ivy's like locked in. I'll be honest.
I don't think he should.
Everybody's replaceable outside of Cade.
I agree, but he still should be starting. Right now, they're starting for Simeon Fontecchio.
I think he has a lock, but he's a lock that you could just put your shoulder into and kind of open the door. You know what I mean?
You know what? I think I don't feel as if Detroit should go with fit here.
Best player
because they still need talent to compete.
A disgusting amount of talent.
This is where I go Buzelis. I go Buzelis here.
Damn, we were on the same page with Reed Shepherd though.
I didn't think you're a Reed Shepherd hitter to me. I did not think you have him going.
I only say that for the sole fact of listen, if you're Detroit, I think best available right now would be Dillingham. To me, that is best available currently. At the same time, when it comes with Detroit, you don't need a point guard. You have Cade Cunningham. You have Jaden Ivey, like you mentioned, who may not even be a potential starter.
Cade could even play the 3.
That's not insane to say either. He could be a point forward.
Yeah, you can have a starting lineup of Ivy, Reed, Cade, Asar, Durant.
Yeah, Reed does not need the ball in his hands overly to be successful. Obviously has the athleticism. You saw his vertical jump. I think when it comes to shooting and efficiency, I think you take that option there. I think Reed Shepherd would be my selection here.
Shooter.
But if you want to go for size with Mataz, obviously 6'10", you can't teach a thing like that. So I will leave it up to you guys. I'm cool with either selection, truthfully.
It's between on what you think their development's going to be as a jump shooter. Reed Shepherd, we know he's going to be a great shooter.
For sure.
It's
a higher
Matas.
floor than
Because if Matas gives you 38% from three, with what he brings as a player, that's more valuable than Reed Shepherd shooting 42% from three.
Absolutely. I just think the question is, can Detroit trust themselves to develop Velez in that environment? Because he did struggle a lot on a G League team this 1-2 games. I look at Reed Shepherd's compatibility as an off-ball player, and I say that's a lot more complimentary alongside Cade. So if you're going to ask me, I would probably go with Shepherd here at 5 as well.
I don't know because, like you mentioned,
a little bit early.
Sorry, how do you pronounce the last name? Velez?
Velez.
He has like the size and shooting kind of combination is exciting. I'm just reading kind of his stats from the last couple of years in high school. 53% his final year of high school. His first year or his last year at G League, he was under 30%. So could shoot in high school, can't shoot in G League, another higher level of competition. It is a bit concerning, but the upside is there. That's tough. I mean, listen, Detroit needs talent, and this is kind of you're shooting for more of an upside pick where Reed Shepherd, I think, comes in day one and probably is the better fit. But hell, I thought about that about Grady Dick too, and he didn't get a ton of burn until later in the season, although he was banged up a bit. I think I'll lean Velez here, though. I think you bank on. I think you bank on having the size and just the potential of having that shooting ability.
All right. I mean, listen, again, I said I was 50-50. You guys can go with Velez. I'm cool with that.
They need talent.
Agreed. And either which way, I think that if you have the next pick here when we're talking about Charlotte, this is another team where I feel like Reed Shepherd could definitely fit in there too, especially after you trade Terry Rozier. Maybe Rob Dillingham also becomes into your matrix, understanding that can you trust LaMelo Ball? Understanding he is your franchise player. If he's healthy, this is your best player, no doubt about it. But are we getting to the point where we need to consider trading LaMelo, maximize our assets and trading him, and potentially having his replacement on deck? Although I don't think that Dillingham will ever reach the heights that LaMelo reached. But, I mean, that's up to you guys. I think I would lean a Reed Shepherd. Also would not be opposed to maybe a Dalton Connect.
The 6th overall pick, I'd go with Stephon Castle.
I like that a lot.
I'd run to the podium and I'd go with that pick.
I think that's the type of player that they need, especially for their culture. That what he brings off the ball is valuable, even if he can't shoot, especially in the defensive end.
I mean, 6'6". You have Brandon Miller, who's 6'7", LaMelo, who's 6'7", and then Stephon Castle, who's 6'6".
I do look at Charlotte, though. I'm not expecting Miles Bridges to be back long term, and I think that physicality, a guy like Ron Holland would bring out of the G League as the best prospect on the board to me, would make a lot of sense here. But he is very raw. He's not going to bring that shooting. Neither does Castle. So those are the two players in between, Castle and Ron Holland.
I like Castle here. I like the fit of having him next to LaMelo. It kind of gives me the unfortunate Trae Young and Dejounte vibe, though. You're kind of pairing these two guards together. But these guys both have size. Like we mentioned, LaMelo 6'7". We were talking about Stephon Castle 6'6" and has that defensive capability. But that is my one worry, is just on offense. If he's not able to develop a jump shot, how is he going to play alongside LaMelo Ball? And like you mentioned, Drew, who knows if LaMelo Ball is a long-term solution? But I think you have to operate as if LaMelo Ball is your franchise player, because he's just shown you that he has potential to be one of the better point guards in the NBA. He's shown you that when you put a decent team around him, hell, he maybe can make the play-in too, even though they weren't able to win. So I like Castle as a prospect in general, even though like I was kind of trolling with that tweet. He was like the one of a couple players I was watching because, of course, UConn makes the tournament run. But I like this fit here.
Let me also say Hornets were one of the worst three-point shooting teams in basketball, and we already spoke about it. John Castle's not that great of creator not the greatest creator himself. I look at Reed and think that that's a reliable three-point shooting option. That's why I would lean Reed in this situation. But again, if you guys are 3-1,
I'll tell you what,
I'm cool to
part of why they're so bad from three. LaMelo played 20 games. He comes back in, and now that shooting comes closer to average, especially Brandon Miller in the lineup.
But 27th. That's tough.
I mean, before LaMelo was hurt back in 2022, they were an elite shooting team.
Listen, LaMelo Ball, I think, is one of the more underrated three-point shooters in the league, so I understand where you're coming from.
And that's like 10 threes a game.
But the defense, to me, is worse than the shooting. They were 29th this last year, and they have not been top 10 in a very long time. I think that was back in Steve Clifford's first stint with the team. They were top 10 defense. So
hey, listen,
I'll go one of those two wings.
I think when it comes to the Hornets, I think Brandon Miller is going to be the guy. I think he's going to be the franchise player.
Better than LaMelo.
I think he's going to be a superstar. I think he has the potential to be a top 15 player in the league.
Top 15? That's not. You gotta say top 10 if you think he's going to be a superstar.
Top 10, John.
All right.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
I think he's that good. I think he's that good. I think he's a special player. I'm not mad at Reed Shepherd. Stephon Castle, that's what I would go with. Ron Holland, I don't get. And
Why?
I don't get Ron Holland because I think he is one of the best bets in this draft class if you're shooting for upside.
Yes.
The pairing with him and Brandon Miller, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I want Brandon Miller to have control of his territory, and Ron Holland comes in, and that's somebody else that's going to demand
He wasn't a
the
good
ball.
three-point shooter himself.
No, Holland is very raw shooter.
Shot 20%.
The reason I like him is because of how raw he is, sure, but it's the upside physically. And with the Charlotte team, they're obviously not very good. They need a swing on upside as well to me. And I don't think you can just bank on LaMelo and Brandon Miller. I would try to stack your young core as much as you can. It's also that Holland has all of the tools, the quickness, the size, and the strength to be a plus wing defender, and kind of early on too. So I feel like from just a talent and upside play on offense, I would go Holland, but I'm just fine with Castle.
You got to bank on Miller and LaMelo.
But I'm saying you need more than those two. You need a lot more talent than this.
You only need more than those two, of course, because we're talking about one of the worst teams in the league. But at the same time, LaMelo Ball has not been reliable, and Bridges probably will be gone.
So.
Well, LaMelo, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility LaMelo, if he's healthy, can have
an All-NBA season.
Yes,
yes.
He can be one of the 15 best players in the league.
So I say you're taking Stephon Castle. I'm fine with it, bro.
So we're going Stephon.
Let's say Castle and keep it pushing.
All right, all right.
Stephon Castle from UConn.
We would have went over the time in that pick, I swear.
We would have gone overtime on half of these picks.
We would have gotten taken.
Portland Trailblazers with the 7th overall pick. I think this is a Ron Holland swing pick, potentially. Unless you think it jades or it kind of clashes with Shaedon Sharpe.
This is a tough spot as well because they have so many guards. Dillingham, who I think is the best player available, will not be the pick. And yeah, I would go with Ron Holland here over Cody Williams. I just like his, again, that physicality that he can bring. He reminds me a lot of a Jonathan Kuminga. So raw, even like maybe Jaylen Brown with less ball handling. Even, I shouldn't say less ball handling upside, but I think just the physical tools that Holland brings would make him the type of upside play here for Portland.
Let me ask a question. I don't want to butcher his name. Tijan Salawan. Tijan? How do you pronounce his last name? Salawan. I mean, 38% from three, obviously 6'10".
Yeah.
You look at Portland.
He's a riser.
I look at their backcourt and understand you do have Anthony. You obviously have Scoot. You have Shaedon, who obviously wasn't that great this past season. And Jeremy Grant's under contract for another 3 more seasons. Are we looking at that 3-4, that wing position, and thinking that could be... Help me out. I really don't want to butcher his last name.
I like Salawan.
Salawan, thank you.
I think Salawan would be a good pick. He's a swing pick. He has a lot of tools to be, I think, a really good help defender in the league. I don't think he has the agility to be much of an on-ball defender. But he can stretch the floor. He has okay handles. He's an okay passer. He does everything at a pretty okay level. And I think it would be a good fit. But like you mentioned, Jeremy Grant's on a contract for 3 more years, and I don't know who is trading.
This is DeRon Holmes' brother in the class?
See, but at the same time...
Rashawn Holmes' brother, you mean? Dayron Holmes.
Dayron Holmes. Sorry.
I don't know if that's his brother for real. Y'all can look that up.
See, but at the same time, we know Anthony Simon has been on that trade block and understanding that we know Anthony Simons has talent.
With all due respect, I don't think Portland can operate under the assumption that Scoot Henderson is just their locked-in franchise guy. He was so terrible last year.
But he played pretty well towards the end of the season, correct?
Pretty well for the standards
you don't feel good after
set for
his rookie
himself.
year,
No,
obviously.
you don't.
It was a very poor season.
I'm not taking a guard here, though. I just want to make that known.
I am with you. It has to be a wing.
But it's not. I'm not taking a player here like, oh, we got to take Fit because we got Scoot. Like, I'm not doing that either. I'm taking a swing.
Don't get caught disrespecting Scoot over a bad rookie season. Don't do it.
It was one of the worst.
Listen, it happens.
Wait, what are we saying here?
So we're going.
This is a very tough pick.
I'm saying that you can't draft for Fit because you have Scoot.
Ooh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet.
What Joel's saying is that you can't build your team like he's your number 1 option.
I don't think you could build it like he is a bust already.
Oh, of course.
No, you can't. I'm not taking Rob Dillingham.
Shout out to April Runs. I knew he balled. 19 points per game, 42% from 3 on 7 attempts.
He played a lot better.
Post All-Star game. What were
you always got to be careful
All-Star
with those
game?
March and April runs because they can deceive you, but Scoot really did step up after that
like Darius Garland a couple years
ago?
ago?
That's shit. False.
Got him.
Because that's bullshit. Because in 2022, he was more productive pre-All-Star.
I'm joking, John. I'm joking.
I'm not calling him a bust. I'm just saying
too far.
Ron Holland is a player that I would definitely think about
It's just a tough spot here because they're another team that's so much young talent. It's like you don't want to add more to affect the existing young crop.
Yeah, but it's like, what really young crop do they have that they are
Shaden.
comfortable?
So would you
Boomer
go with the
bust.
Dalton Connect,
Scoot.
an older prospect that obviously has that upside?
Hell
I think it's
no.
early, quite early. Same with like Reed Shepherd really would be a nice fit, but also a little bit early for me. I would be between Dejounte, who I like a lot at this
That
spot.
would be my
I
selection.
buy into his shooting a lot. The range, the form, the fluidity at that age, 19. I think he's going to be a real plus of that part of the offense side of the ball, but I just don't know. I would have to be between him and Holland, and I don't like either pick. I don't think there's a perfect selection here for Portland.
I think Holland's the pick. I think you go with Holland. Got some defensive upside there. I think he fits with most of these players on this team.
You just want some toughness with Anthony
Hey.
and
Listen,
Ayton.
we can go with Saluan.
right.
Let's give Drew a pick here.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna
Drew's
say
been getting overridden.
Saluan.
It's okay.
My brother.
picks.
It's all right. It's all right. If that's what you guys want to do, if you guys want to go Holland, I'm cool with that too.
No, it's
I'm just
Saluan's
giving-
pick. Ready
Put
for
him in
it.
my
Portland
2
is a
cents.
soft team, and I think that's where you do want
Damn.
the physicality.
Heard that,
It's
Portland?
objective.
Okay.
Hate to say it.
Saluan, pick number
You
7.
think Malcolm Brogdon's soft?
I mean, he was awesome last year. Let me tell you.
All right. Pick
Saluan is the selection at 7.
Here we go. Okay, we're in 7 picks.
8th overall pick.
Rob Dillingham.
Run to the
Dillingham.
board.
Yeah.
Run to the
I'm
board.
with it.
Easy. In and out.
Damn, hour already?
That's a really good
Holy
draft
shit.
for San Antonio.
That's
Pick 9.
that's an easy
Memphis.
selection too. And if you're San Antonio, you are at an A+ right
Feeling good.
now. Memphis.
They go with Ron Holland.
Are they the team that goes connect? They are one of those teams
They
that
could
have
be.
the luxury of understanding when we have John Morant, we are a playoff team, could add to the wing. I think Dalton Connect here makes a lot of sense, has some athleticism, can shoot the 3 ball.
Part of the reason I think they have the luxury of going with fit is because of how high I am on Gigi Jackson. Gigi Jackson could
What
have
a
been
year.
a top 3 pick in this draft.
Yeah.
I don't
You know,
disagree.
so it's like
Upside
you
he
don't
showed.
have to draft Ron Holland because you got your version of that in GG. You know,
Who is an
GG could be that
awesome-
good.
I like his shooting a lot. He shot it very well this last year.
So what do they need? You know, we have centers here that maybe they can add.
I say,
to the
is
team.
Zach Edey entering a conversation? You're out on Zach Edey.
It's not that I'm out on Zach.
I'm
It's that
asking.
If I'm Memphis in the situation, I want to get a perimeter player.
Okay, I agree. Oh, Reed Shepherd also could be a pick here that I'm definitely thinking about.
He
but
would round out the rotation very well as a 5th starter.
I
Maybe a 5th
don't disagree.
a 5th
Marcus Smart's coming
player
back.
for
Yeah,
it.
facts.
Yes.
They are, but they've also are a team that needs shooting, but also understanding they. You mentioned Gigi Jackson. I agree. Maybe then that makes me kind of draw away from Connect and also looks at Reed Shepherd a little bit more. But
I
I
think
just
they could
think
use some extra
Shepard's your
size
perfect
too.
5th piece.
Because you got Josh 6'2", Bain 6'5",
Yes.
Marcus Smart's like 6'3".
Shepard's too small.
Luke Kennard, if he comes back, is
6'1".
6'5". So I think you could use a little bit extra size.
I think this is the Dalton Connect pick.
All
I
right,
think it
I'm-
makes sense.
I'm
6'6".
fine with that.
I like
Great
it. Off
shooter.
the bench, he would really contribute in like a Bogdanovich.
And you don't have to bring back Kennard now if you think this is one of them dudes. I mean, he's the older prospect too. How old is Connect?
I believe he's 22.
He's 22. Yeah,
Yeah.
So I mean, I think kind of the polished version. I think you work on things obviously, but the polished version that you saw in college is probably what more likely you'll get at 22 than if players 18 or 19. Yeah.
The 10th overall pick, the Utah Jazz. This is where I'm running to the board and I'm selecting Ron Holland. The perfect place for him to just have freedom and really come into his own as a player.
Yep.
They have
I like that fit next to Laurie too.
they have the Jazz a lot of opportunity for a guy like him to step in and develop, and a lot of spacing and good coaching that I
just impact
believe in
Taylor
him
Hendricks.
developing there. So that's a good pick.
I say it one more time.
How does this impact Taylor Hendricks?
I'll be honest. Taylor Hendricks got his runs towards the end of the season. Didn't play bad per se.
My fault.
I know Taylor Hendricks is my guy. It's really unfortunate what's happening, but I still believe.
The Chicago Bulls, the 11th overall pick.
Are they the team going Reed Shepherd? Or are they the team going Zach Edey?
They have a lot of guards.
Cody Williams comes into the
If
mix.
I-
I'm not
the Bulls?
against that either, truthfully.
I'm taking a player with real creation upside just to add into that lineup because you've got Io, you've got Kobe, you've got Alex Caruso, and it's just like the Bulls just need to take upside, as simple as it sounds, in shot creation. And in this case, Cody Williams or Isaiah Collier would be the two options. And Collier doesn't really fit into that wing profile that we're looking for.
I wouldn't be against Cody here.
I like Cody here.
I like Cody too.
Cody's a good pick.
We can go with Cody Williams with the 11th overall pick.
He's 6'8", 180.
The 12th overall pick,
Wait, no,
Got to
brother.
fill out.
the OKC Thunder.
It's part of the Westbrook trade. that got this pick from.
Now,
God, they could do whatever they want, really.
I think they need a big. I don't care if they reach at this point. They need a big. It could be one of those where I see Oklahoma City trade back and potentially be one of those teams.
They trade back and take Edey. I'm all with it.
Edey,
a stand up rim protector is what they could use. So Chet can be more of a roamer, especially in the defensive end.
Correct.
This is also going to be a backup big if we take him.
It's going to be a backup for anything.
I look at Filipowski and I
if
feel
you take a forward, he can start on this team to replace KD next year.
That's true.
There's just not many forwards left on the board, if any.
Filipowski's not that great of a defender. That's the only reason why I'm not putting him in this conversation. Although solid shooter. Zach Edey, though, one of those that can finish at the basket, obviously unbelievable size. They need a big. I feel like this has to be my selection here. I would put my 2 cents in with Zach Edey.
He does have unbelievable size. I'll give you that.
With Zach Edey, he tested agility-wise better than somebody like Donovan Clingan.
Correct.
At the combine,
and he was letting that thing
well.
go.
He was stroking it.
He was letting that thing go.
And not only that, but
be careful. Mo Bamba made that thing look,
draft scouts have said that he is viewed as a lottery pick in this draft. I think Zach Edey makes a lot of sense. We could go with Zach Edey at pick number 12.
You don't think it's early?
Hey, listen, that they have a team that, they're in the second round of playoffs. They could go for something like that.
And if he works out, you got him and Chet. That's a big ass. Big.
And
I like Edey's touch a lot. At
Reed is still available, correct?
Who?
Reed Shepard's still available. Okay, keep going.
I think he would get lost in their backcourt. For how big Edey is, his touch really does stand out to me. If he could be like an Ivica Zubac to the next level. So I'm fine with it.
All right.
The 13th overall pick, the Sacramento Kings.
It's Reed Shepard to me or Filipowski. I understand you have Cody Williams here. I understand Isaiah Collier is also here. I look at Reed. You add to that offensive shooting and also Filipowski. I feel like maybe the only comp I could really think of off the top of my head would be like a Lauri Markkanen because he has such great shooting ability, such great size at 7 feet tall. Not that great of a defender. Kind of fits the mold of a Sacramento King at this point in time, although they had a lot better defense than the year before. But I'm between Reed or Filipowski, and if you wanted to go Reed for the option that you're losing Malik Monk, assuming so, I think that would be my selection.
I like Kel'el Ware here or Yves Misi.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they need rim protection. They need an athletic defender.
An additional big.
Malik Monk leaving, it's going to hurt, and I can understand the mindset of getting his replacement. But at the same time,
have some.
They had a top 15 defense once Keon Ellis was slotted into the starting lineup.
For sure.
If he's in the lineup, that means Kevin Huerter can now come off the bench. Or Harrison Barnes, one of the two. Probably Kevin Huerter.
Colby Jones
or Kevin Huerter can get off the team.
Yeah, but as of right now, he's on it. He could get traded, but right now he's on it.
If he has a bounce back season, that's a huge asset.
Yeah, he could be a good player off your bench. He won't fill the role that Malik Monk will be leaving, but he'll be somebody now that they have some juice and depth off it. I like Yves Misi or Kel'el Ware because of Ware shooting. I think you can maybe lean him. You could talk yourself into him, but Misi just has all the tools necessary to just be one of the dominant defenders.
I feel like I want to put my stamp on Reed personally, just for understanding that you do have Sacramento. Their bread and butter has been offense, and obviously you add another elite shooter to this trio already that exists with De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray, and the best player on their team, in my opinion, Domantas Sabonis. I feel like that only helps what their offense is about. But again, I'm here with the majority.
You got the tiebreaker, Dehls.
That's tough because, you could look at it both ways. You could go on Drew's side and saying just add to what you're ready to do great, especially like you guys said, if you're going to lose Malik Monk, you're going to be losing some firepower on this team. I think he is no question your second best shot creator. Of course, you have De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, and then you have guys, like Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray and Harrison Barnes who could shoot, but off the dribble, I don't think we're looking at them as like these super efficient shot creators. But then, simultaneously, Sabonis is really the only big that you're probably trusting with the Kings right now, right?
Definitely.
And then if you do go with Misi, who has some more shooting upside, or Ware with more shooting upside, or Misi, do you play around with having you start two bigs with Sabonis and you don't really have to rely on him to be your rim protector? Now, does the defense improve when you have Keon Ellis? All these things that go through my head. I would probably lean with the big just to give you some versatility in your lineup, just to give you, depending on matchups. Of course, we're talking, months down the road if you make the playoffs and stuff like that. But I think I would lean big here.
It's tough because I want to take Misi with this pick. You're getting a plus rim protector, so it's really good in transition and a lob threat for Sabonis. But then I think back to the last time Sabonis was in a double big lineup with Miles Turner, and neither of the two are maximized. So it's like, would I rather go with Reed Shepherd, who we don't really need if we have Keon Ellis stepping in, or the big? I'm fine with either selection here.
Here we go.
I like Khalil Ware a lot. Yeah,
That's fine with me. It's cool.
let's go Khalil Ware here
Khalil Ware.
with the 14th overall pick.
Your pick. Here we go.
The Portland Trail Blazers.
Listen, I've gotten my 2 cents off. That's really all that matters to me. And if I'm Portland, this is a luxury selection. I had pick 7. Now I have pick 14. I'm going with best available. To me, Reed Shepherd falling all the way to 14. That would be my selection.
Shout out to Reed Shepherd.
And now to recap the draft that we just had. Number 1 pick, the Hawks go with Alex Sarr.
Yep.
Number 2, the Wizards select Topic. Number 3, the Rockets go Klingon. Number 4, the Spurs go Risa Shear. Number 5, the Pistons go Buzelis. Number 6, the Hornets go with Stephon Castle. Number 7, the Blazers go with Saluan. Number 8, the Spurs go with Dillingham. Number 9, the Grizzlies go with Dalton Connect. Number 10, the Jazz select Ron Holland. At 11, the Bulls select Cody Williams. At 12, OKC select Zach Edey. At 13, the Kings select Khalil Ware. And at 14, the Blazers select Reed Shepherd.
I'm sure everyone's going to love that mock.
Ooh,
It was very unique.
That Filipowski, Reed Shepherd, 14.
I don't like Ware
Kinda
at
gone.
13, and I also don't love Edey at 12. I think outside of those two picks, really good mock draft.
What would you do at pick 12 then, John? Because
Move back and take
I
Edey at
agree,
like 18.
100%. 100%. I think
I'm just a lot more
Can't
comfortable.
live in a fairy tale, John.
I know. I just be a lot more comfortable taking Edey in the late teens. That's all.
But does
I'm
it
saying.
matter if you're taking him at 12 or 18 if that's the
Not
player
at
you
all.
want?
It's just the impression of Edey being a lottery pick. I don't know how well he's going to translate to
It
the
just
NBA.
makes me feel better if it says 18, not 12.
That's all. And then also with like the Kings pick, I really would rather go with Messi for the rim protection and what he could add to their defense. But outside of that, I thought the Risa Shear pick at 4, I really like that quite a bit for the fit. The Spurs just had a great draft altogether, and I also like Holland to the Jazz.
I like Stephon Castle to the Hornets. That's my favorite pick.
I feel like the Spurs here of our draft, though, if this is what they end up with on draft night, we're really talking highly about them going into next season, truthfully.
That sounds a lot like what you just described, John. Like last year with Scoot and Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller at 2. 3's fine. 2, I don't know if I could do it.
Listen,
I don't.
I was actually really high on Miller last year, but the thing for me was that I didn't want to see the Hornets take a player who was redundant with LaMelo, and I felt like Miller didn't get downhill enough. So that's why I wanted them to take the guard who does attack the rim, but I was wrong in hindsight. I mean,
I just feel like as long as it's the player you want,
right.
it's like the quarterback thing when the NFL, like you know, if you have plans of taking this quarterback, what's the difference if you're taking him at like 5 versus like 15? If you want him anyway.
Giants did that with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I think it paid
that's
off.
the first player I thought of.
You have
Nobody
to.
said
You
that
have to
today.
think about it.
I should have
truthfully.
said 6 and 15.
Yeah, it's
instead,
okay.
right? Yeah, that's who I was thinking about too. The Cleveland Cavaliers, an Athletic article dropped about them. Shams, when each team has been eliminated from the playoffs, most of them, there's always an article that drops right after where it talks about the coach and the organization. It happened with the Suns. It happened with the Lakers, and now it's happened with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the most important notes of this article, Kobe Outman admonished JB Bickerstaff, and admonished means that they got into a shouting match. After a December win over the Rockets where Donovan Mitchell played 42 or 45 minutes, I believe, and they still won. But he just, I guess, didn't want Mitchell playing that many minutes, so they got into a huge argument. Bickerstaff's job is in jeopardy. Players in the locker room questioned his schematics, practice habits, and accountability measures. Mobley's agent told the Cavs not to draft him. He wanted to go to OKC. And Rich Paul would ask for a Garland trade if Mitchell signs an extension. Mitchell has a player option in 25-26, and he has not yet signed his extension, but by all accounts, he's happy in Cleveland, and it's likely he will sign his extension if he feels comfortable with the Cavs. So out of all these spark notes, which one do you think matters the most?
Obviously, Donovan Mitchell is the most important piece to the Cleveland Cavaliers. You saw his impact this season, of course, not just in the regular, but more importantly in the playoffs. Obviously, unfortunately, we weren't able to see him finish out the series with the Boston Celtics. But we saw how awesome he was in the first round versus the Orlando Magic, and in the few games that he played versus the Boston Celtics, he killed you guys. And obviously you were still able to win 2 of those 3 games that you did play against him, but every single game he put on a hell of a performance. And the most important piece to me would be Donovan Mitchell. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you said that Garland would request a trade if Donovan extended himself.
Rich Paul's agency, yes, said, they would look for a new home for the All-Star.
Now, that makes a lot of sense to me. And if I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, see ya. With all due respect to Darius Garland and John, it's only ironic that we had this whole conversation.
It's not on the see ya part.
It's so glaringly obvious that that's the move to make, not just for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but of course for Darius Garland himself. This is not the team for him, especially when you have such a ball-dominant player in Donovan Mitchell. Now, I'm not using that as a knock against Donovan Mitchell because he tried everything he could to get Darius Garland involved in this offense and try to get him going, whether it was rooting him on and really trying to be his strong supporter and taking these shots and having the confidence. We saw that in that Magic series. But at the same time, we saw the Cleveland Cavaliers play their best band of basketball when Donovan Mitchell was running the show and Darius Garland was out with his facial injury. But that also speaks so more so on Darius Garland and understanding how he really can't coincide with another guard like that. And I understand that. His game is having the ball in his hands, being able to facilitate an offense, get his shot. Okay, a lead guard. Not an elite guard, a lead guard. Agreed. I do believe that. Wow. He is a lead guard. He needs the ball in his hands. He needs to initiate the offense. John, you're 100% on base there too. But he can't coincide as a Robin. He can't succeed and be an all-star as a Robin, unfortunately. So I do feel like that's the most important part to me because when it was Mobley, Garland, and Jared Allen, we were talking about, hey, this is one of the better young cores in the National Basketball Association. I mean, Garland has unbelievable upside. But now with Donovan, I feel like all of our tune has changed on every single one of these players. What's Mobley's upside offensively? Jared Allen, I feel like I'm singing his praises the most because this was his best season yet. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to play in this series versus the Boston Celtics. Darius Garland, you really aren't that great as the number 2 option. We've seen you regress from your 3rd year in the league, 4th year to now your 5th year. You haven't been that player that we were expecting, especially alongside Donovan. To me, that's what stands out the most. But if I'm Cleveland, this is a no-brainer. I'm bringing back Donovan Mitchell. I'm trying everything I can to build a great foundation around him.
I think it's tough. In the Celtics series, you're missing your 2 best players by the end. I think Jared Allen is the 2nd best player
Easily.
in this Cavaliers team. Now, if I were Cleveland in their current position, I agree with you. I would move Darius Garland because I don't think he is optimized alongside Donovan. And honestly, I think we're seeing, similar to a Portland Trailblazer team with CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, there's almost always limitation with 2 6'1" guards, especially when neither of the 2 are top 10 players. So if I'm trying to keep Donovan Mitchell long term, what I'm trying to add is about shooting and wing creation. I think one player who stands out is Brandon Ingram. If you're going to do a swap of him and Darius Garland, it makes a lot of sense for Portland, or for the Pelicans, excuse me. But the issue is you want a wing who takes more threes than 3.5 a game, which is what Brandon Miller takes, or Brandon Ingram. I'm all over the place with
understand where you're at, names.
And I feel like the perfect player for Cleveland would be a Paul George, who is an upcoming free agent, and they don't have the cap space for a player like that. So I look at the Cavs' current position. I think it comes down to building around Donovan with either Mobley or Allen. And I just look at the lack of cap space that they have, and I feel like they're kind of pigeonholed. And that whatever move they make, you may change your lineup and try to add to it, but I think it comes back to the fact without a top 10 player, their ceiling in this Eastern Conference is going to be the second round of the playoffs.
You also have to understand, last thing I'll say, you have to understand there's no free agent that's going to, a high-name free agent that's going to want to go to the Cavaliers. That's just the unfortunate truth. Even when LeBron James was there, he had a hard time trying to convince these free agents to go to the Cavs. That's just the obvious truth.
I think Darius Garland is catching a lot of slack, and I think it's unfair and it's a little bit unwarranted, I'll be honest.
Come on, have some fun.
Because I don't think that he has regressed from his second season to his third season. To his fourth season. In his 3rd year, when he was the lead ball handler for the Cavs, he averaged 21.7 points per game, 8.6 assists, shot 46% from the field and 38% from 3. The very next year when Mitchell comes, he's averaging 21.6, the same amount of points per game. He's averaging 7.8 assists per game, so he's averaging 8 assists essentially. There's not a big drop-off in that. And he's shooting 46.2% from field and 41% from three. So he actually got more efficient from three, when Donovan Mitchell came to the team, but the usage percentage went down. I think this is a classic case of the Cavaliers just mismanaging a young core that had promise and could have grown together for something quick that was not going to end up in a championship. You have to optimize your team so it fits. The Minnesota Timberwolves identified Anthony Edwards was going to be a superstar. And I'm not calling Darius Garland Anthony Edwards, but they identified Anthony Edwards was going to be a superstar. Did they bring in Bradley Beal? Did they bring in a Zach LaVine? No.
Are you saying that Donovan's on?
No, I'm saying a player that takes away from your play style. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Bringing in Rudy Gobert, who's a defensive anchor, was not going to take away from Anthony Edwards and what he brought on the offensive side of the ball.
I think their upsides are so different.
It's tough though because
Ant and Garland's upsides.
I know.
You can't build around him as your.
Here's the thing. I know that the upside is different. I'm talking about just you're bringing in a player that clashes with a foundational piece on your team. And right now, the Cavaliers are stuck with making a decision. Are we choosing our homegrown talent or our outsourced talent? And I think it'll be a combination of both. I think the homegrown player they stick with will be Evan Mobley.
For sure.
And I think the outsourced talent they will stick with will be Donovan Mitchell because Mitchell has a higher ceiling than Darius Garland. But I don't think that's an indictment on Darius Garland. Because if Donovan Mitchell went to the New York Knicks, he got traded there. Brunson is not the player he is today.
Not a chance.
Of course.
So you never allowed Garland, who in year 3 was, 21 years old?
21, 38, and essentially 9 assists.
To never properly develop. So I think if Garland goes to a team like the San Antonio Spurs, which is the perfect spot, I think he can be a 24-9 player there. And I think this year, given what he struggled with the jaw injury, the jaw injury affected his strength. It affected his psyche. I think having an offseason to recover,
I think
it will be huge for him.
For pick 4, Keldon Johnson, and maybe a long-term first round.
If I'm not mistaken, we saw Donovan Mitchell not play the last 2 games, correct? How did Darius Garland look in those 2 games?
He had 30.
He played quite well in game 4.
Oh, in game 4, he was awesome. What did
that was really the second half. First half, he was
to save face.
Game 5, he was really
4 for 18.
rattled.
No, he was getting locked up by Al Horford.
He also had some wonderful passes. I mean, some of those rim reads that he was making, it showed to me he's an elite passer. And even at his worst, he's one of the best passers at his position. And he's going to get closer back to the scorer he once was. I think this is going to be the floor of Darius Garland.
It's actually beautiful that you find good in such a terrible shooting performance.
He's not a complete playoff dropper. You know, in his first playoffs,
he wasn't bad.
No.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. 21-5, shot 39% from 3 and 44% from the field. And then this past playoffs, he averaged 16 and 6.
This past playoffs was
43% from field, 35% from 3.
He had some real stinkers. He had a 5-point game against Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. He had some real stinkers in this
against Atlanta in the play-in.
It's a playing game, Drew. There's a reason why I don't keep track.
I mean, Zion dropped 40. I'll never forget it.
I don't think. Listen, the Ant Edwards comparison. I think that's one way to look at it. I just think Donovan Mitchell is such a great player that I'm not too mad that even though you're clashing play styles, I'm not too mad because now we're sitting here and I'm saying like, damn, I could still have Donovan Mitchell. I can move off Garland, potentially, like John's mentioned, get a top 5 pick or another player and kind of build around Donovan Mitchell instead of Darius Garland. I think that's a win. But I think the Cavs right now, first of all, to put JB's job on the line seems just unfair.
It's not going to change.
It seems really unfair. I think I mentioned this in one of the previous shows. After the Knicks series, I think you had valid reason to question him because you just got punked a lot in that series, and it did not look like the Cavs were ready for prime time, although they were a young team. I'll give them that. But this season, I mean, being able to, although it's a young Magic team, that was one of the best defenses in the NBA. You know, top 2, top 3 defense right up there with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Celtics at the end of the year. And although it had to go 7 games, you saw Donovan Mitchell, who is going to be your foundational piece, step up. And then in the second round against the Boston Celtics, they were just outmatched. At the end of the series, I mean, you're going out there and you're giving Tristan Thompson real minutes. You're giving Marcus Morris, who had a phenomenal game. I think he missed like 2 shots, real minutes in that game 5. So it's really difficult for me to evaluate JB Bickerstaff after these 2 years. I think you go into at least one more year with him, but this is probably an offseason where you got to change things up. I agree with you, Joel. I think the two pieces that come back are Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell. I will say, if the perfect scenario is Evan Mobley is able to develop a jump shot. If Evan Mobley's able to generate any sort of kind of corner three shot, then you're really cooking with fire. Because if you could have him and Jared Allen, your defense, the floor and ceiling on that defense is going to be so insanely high. But Drew, I get it. You've not seen anything really from Evan Mobley, even though he's been taking a few during these playoffs.
Yeah.
You have not seen near enough to kind of go into next season and be like, Evan Mobley is going to be able to be our stretch four. Rudy Gobert and Cat work because Cat's one of the best shooting big men in NBA history. Evan Mobley is nowhere near that. Yep. So ideally, that's the world that works. But realistically, you're probably having to move off one of the guards and one of the bigs. Yeah. But if you're able to kind of, fit things together, you could go into next season and I think feel pretty confident that you could be like a top 4 seed in the East. What you've seen over these last couple of seasons, you've been able to do with kind of misguided use of toys or however you want to put it, just kind of pieces that don't exactly really fit together. So if you're able to get pieces that actually fit together, and Donovan Mitchell all of a sudden wants to stay and he wants to re-sign, and now you have that dude. Yeah, I mean, I think as a Cavs fan, you got to be pretty happy. But this is a big offseason because I think two kind of foundational pieces should get moved.
There's so many different elements to this. I said before, Mitchell's not a top 10 player, but he kind of is on that cusp. And more than anything, the Cavs need to do whatever it takes to get him to stay. If Donovan leaves, their window to compete in the playoffs vanishes. But I also look at their postseason when Allen was out, and it seemed like Evan Mobley was starting to bring that aggression, even if it was a little bit inconsistent on the offensive end once it was him at the 5 with a good amount of spacing. And I just think of the perfect 4. It might be a guy like Zachary Shashir in the draft who can bring that spacing to where you open up the floor for Mobley. If he can set more physical screens, that's a huge thing that we don't really talk about enough. He needs to be a lot more aggressive than as a pick and roll creator or a pick and roll finisher. He's going to put a lot more just pressure on the rim. But I think the other element, too, for this Cavalier team is that you add in that physicality, that like a Keldon Johnson type piece that can bring that toughness on the offensive end, and then you get the floor spacer at the 4, it would open up Mobley's game a whole lot more. And that's just one of the biggest things for him to grow. It's not just the three-point shooting. It's just him putting pressure on the rim as a finisher.
Let's just be transparent. Is Donovan Mitchell re-signing? I'm saying no.
I feel like the latest rumors have been he's more likely to re-sign than not.
I think
he could.
I mean, obviously, anything can happen. I feel pretty strongly. Is this his best chance to win?
No.
The answer is no.
I'm 50-50, and what it comes down to is Donovan Mitchell looks at Cleveland, and he doesn't see a championship on the horizon. And if that's what he wants, he's going to 100% leave. If he's satisfied here, if he likes the environment, if he likes Cleveland's, considering he wanted to go to New York 2 years ago, then maybe he does stay. But I think next year it's going to come down to the Cavaliers going on a playoff run when they make it to the conference finals. And anything short of that, he does leave.
That's the way you're risking it if you're going to go into next season without extending Donovan Mitchell, and you potentially lose him for nothing because you're like, we could go on a run. That's malpractice. I'm sorry. You can't do that.
I mean, I think what it comes down to is what teams realistically have the money to get Donovan Mitchell and what teams have the necessary trade capital to trade for him.
Well, I think we all know if Donovan Mitchell's moving, it's not going to be by trade because he has a lot of momentum with that 1 year left and that player option. The teams that the cap space, the Magic,
he is
and the
under
Knicks.
Contract next off. This entire season, he's under contract.
Expiring.
It's not an expiring. No,
he's got player option, but that's a lot of leverage.
Next off season, he is still on the team.
He's got player option. 2
off seasons from now is when he has an option.
After next year, he has a player option.
Yes, so you still have him locked and loaded for an entire year. Yes, that's what I'm saying. You have 2 more years.
You have a year.
It's not
you
like
have a year of team control.
He's not on an expiring contract.
He has the momentum and the leverage in this.
No, he does.
Where
he
basically kind of is.
No, he's not.
He's a flight risk in a year.
No, he's not.
Oh, yeah, he has a player option in 25-26, which means you're going into the 24-25 season.
Yes.
He could.
He's not an expiring player, though.
But
he kind of is.
He is.
He kind of is.
I'm willing to guarantee
he's going to opt out.
He wanted to be in New York 2 years ago.
Even if he resigns, he's going to opt out.
That's almost a guarantee.
You know
like 100% signed and sealed. He's opting out. Every player that gets a player option opts out because they assume I'm getting more money.
That as well. So kind of is, even though he's not.
I mean, listen, I think at this point you just have to evaluate what you could get back from him or what's the options for him. Because I think a team like the Knicks, I think that ship has sailed. I think it's not there no more. I just don't believe that if we trade for him and lose all our depth, he's the difference in us winning a championship.
Also, is Cleveland just going to be like, here's Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, but Devin Booker, that's where he moved.
I think Devin Booker's better than Donovan Mitchell.
We know that.
I don't think there's a huge gap.
Donovan's damn good, though. That's
it's
the only reason I
close.
ask this. It's close.
You'd
I
rather
would take
have
Devin,
Booker,
but damn it, Donovan is unbelievable in the playoffs.
No, I know.
It's just tougher to build around two smaller guards, and with him and Brunson, you'd just rather have a
How much
6'6".
taller is Devin? Is he 6'5"?
He's 6'6", 6'5".
6'6".
And
Six,
I don't think Devin Booker needs the ball like Mitchell needs the ball.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think
We're
like
compatible.
with Devin Booker, he allows you to, when you're coming up the court, he's at the elbow waiting for a post entry. Like he has so much versatility in his offensive game.
Agreed.
To where I trust him to fit better with our team. And I think he has more defensive upside because of his size as well. But even then, like that doesn't guarantee a Knicks championship either. Like that's not the move. It will help our chances drastically, no doubt, but I don't think it does. I just think with Mitchell, it's just hard to build a championship team around him. Listen, he's not a first option. He's a second option. There's nothing wrong with that. The Cavaliers are in a position where they can't really be too picky about who they're deciding to surround him with or their team with. I mentioned the Anthony Edwards comparison because both of these all-in moves happened in the same exact offseason. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, it made sense for them because they weren't an entirely young team. And Anthony Edwards was clearly going to be a superstar. With Darius Garland, it was not that way. You bring in Donovan Mitchell, who's heading into his prime, and Evan Mobley and Garland are still like in their third years. I mean, it really didn't make much sense to think that Mitchell in the next 2 years puts the Cavaliers into a title contending window.
I agree wholeheartedly.
So that's where I feel like they went wrong. And either way, I think they're stuck in the same position because now you're losing Garland and Allen. You're keeping Mitchell and Mobley possibly. But I think your ceiling kind of stays similarly.
Right,
It has not changed.
You move Jared Allen, Evan Mobley may take those steps forward offensively, but then defensively, you're going to take a step back, which is basically going to mitigate that jump. And again, it's like if the Cavaliers do want to take that ascension, if you will, to like tier A of the East, Evan Mobley has to be their best player. And we all know that's not going to happen at this point. Like I was high on Mobley coming out the draft. I think his ceiling is the 30th or 25th best player in the NBA because of the lack of growth that we've seen in the offensive end.
Insane.
What do you say?
They said that he could be AD. It was ridiculous.
He reminded me of Kevin Garnett.
John did.
Coming out of the
Garnett.
draft,
There we
I was
go.
super high on him. Okay, it seemed like he had all the makings of being a KG, but just offensively, it hasn't.
AD. Anthony Davis.
No, he was saying Kevin Garnett.
Oh, really?
Well, it's more of an archetype thing. I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
I was going to say, the attitude is way.
Yo,
Of
Jared
course,
Allen.
the demeanor that they bring
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
intensity.
yeah.
Not only that, but like KG was way more coordinated than Evan Mobley, be able to create and play point guard in the 04 conference finals, right? Like KG had so much more to his offensive repertoire as the mid-range shooter and stuff. And then way more versatile on the perimeter because Mobley can defend in space, but KG's one of the best of all time at that. So it really is kind of like you're stuck with Donovan Mitchell and you're probably going to be a second-round exit for these next couple of years.
You were right about the expiring thing. I looked at it wrong.
You're good.
That's all right.
No, yeah. So listen, I have some Cleveland Cavalier trades. I think Darius Garland, Jared Allen will be moved. The first trade is combining both of them in a package. The Suns trade Kevin Durant and Nurkic for Garland and Jared Allen.
No
That's
picks.
a really cool trade.
There will be picks involved, but this is the core of the
Kevin
deal.
Durant and Nurkic.
Now they've got two top 15 players.
Now KD's going to Cleveland. Oof.
That looks so weird.
Hey.
So you would have who's
Two
playing?
top
Who's
20
playing? So you
players.
have Don play the one, I guess. And
You have in control of the ball. You have
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, KD, Evan Mobley, and they need another starter.
Right.
Karis LeVert.
You might be playing Dean Wade as your starting four.
Because I think
honest,
Nurkic is
the
a
Sun-
bench
The Suns
player.
say no.
Yeah, I don't think
The Suns say no.
Yeah.
You think the Suns say no?
I think the Suns say no.
You think that the Suns with Garland, Devin Booker, Jared Allen, that's not
Drew
a
got
good.
used to.
That's
The Suns
not a
are saying
good core
yes.
moving into the
They're
future.
saying yes.
I don't-
Because now Mike Budenholzer's getting his rim protector long term, and he's getting his point guard to play alongside Devin Booker. You still can bring. I think now you're more likely to re-sign guys like Eric Gordon and Grayson Allen.
I think this
Jared
core,
Allen
you
has
can really
injury
build a
history
team.
now. Obviously,
Yes.
he was a healthy majority of the season,
So
but
does
when you
Nurkic.
needed him most. Agreed. I'm not disagreeing with that
Allen's
point. No,
much
but
younger.
it's Kevin Durant.
much better as rim
it
protector.
is Kevin Durant. I will say though,
But
this move
is-
allows the Suns to actually have a future
Drew, what
that
are
is
the-
not connected to the next 2 years.
Especially if you're keeping Beal on the roster, him and Booker are going to bring more than enough shot creation. What are the Suns' two biggest needs?
But now you're starting
What are the Suns'
Garland,
biggest
Booker,
needs?
and
If
Beal.
Garland,
I'd have Beal come off the bench. He's my sixth man.
I'm okay
He's
with
not
that.
starting no more.
I'm fine
if
with that.
picks
Yeah, I
are
like that
involved, which obviously the Cleveland Cavaliers right now don't have an excess of, as they traded a lot of them to the Utah Jazz, I can be swayed there, but at the same time, if I'm the Phoenix Suns, it's Kevin Durant, and I still think he's overwhelmingly better than these two pieces.
I think
I'm
it's a
with
pretty.
you.
I think it's a pretty fair trade on both sides because I'm sitting here. I don't think either team got fleeced, but I don't know if either team are running to accept it either. Probably the
Yeah.
Cavs because like
a
you're
huge
getting
trade.
KD, but now you're really speeding up this window to win. Like KD at what's going on 36 years old now, right? Of course, all the injury history.
Yeah.
Like you have realistically like a 2-year window now to win.
If I were the Cavs, I wouldn't love this because of that fact. KD is, even if he's going to age better, he is 36
Yeah.
next year. But Drew, the Suns' two biggest needs are a rim protector and a table setter. And in this case, Garland, I think, will be pretty solid as that initiator.
We know.
And then I think Jared Allen will be exactly what they need defensively.
Oh, Jared Allen to me is the star of the trade. If you are the Phoenix Suns, I say that pretty loosely, understanding they need a guard more than anything. I'm just joking with you, John. But I
can't
look
tell.
at Jared
I really
Allen.
can't, this one.
I look at Jared Allen and understand that's a luxury for any team to have. And I spoke about it in the last podcast that we have.
an all-star
If you're the
pick.
Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm trying my best to keep Mobley and Allen together because it's a luxury to have two bigs on the same roster. But I mean, you're getting Kevin Durant. I mean, obviously you say yes to that.
and Nurkic
I
is an
wouldn't-
all right backup. Big.
If I were the Cavs, I wouldn't do this.
but
It's really fascinating to put together
Yes.
these two top 20 players.
You want to know why? Because, the Cavaliers, when they traded for Donovan Mitchell, they essentially said, we want to compete for a championship.
Sure.
Kevin Durant gives them a better chance at doing so.
But I think you're sacrificing too much.
But that's the thing. With the Phoenix Suns, why it makes sense
what's that
is,
ceiling? With
I
the
would
Phoenix
rather
Suns? You're
have-
back to the second
No,
round.
this is the ceiling with them. It's not more so, it's not a championship ceiling right away, but what it comes down to is that the Suns, with their current team with KD and Devin Booker, they don't have a championship ceiling. They are strapped for cash right now. Jared Allen and Darius Garland, who are still 26 and under, I think Allen might be 27. They're still very young. They can grow with Devin Booker for multiple years.
Yeah.
They have the 22nd overall pick in this draft. You can add a player, a rookie, onto this team. Bradley Beal, if he's your sixth man, even despite the contract, you still feel very comfortable with that. If Devin Booker at one point in time with the Suns core was able to have Chris Paul, Mikal, Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton go to the finals, I think like in the next 5 years, it's realistic. It's a possibility that this team could be one of the better teams in the West if you're getting the very best version of Darius Garland, which I think he still has potential. And Jared Allen, he is an all-star defensive center anchor.
You're not getting a better exit opportunity for Kevin Durant.
Yes.
And you've had him for 2 years. You've had one playoff series win. You just got swept. And so if I'm the Suns, now I have a much better chance of retaining Devin Booker long term because of the fact we're adding this new you're making a young trio that I like a lot. And it's the core building blocks to getting back to the conference
What
finals
other
and
moves do you
beyond.
have for?
The other moves I
That's
have,
a solid trade.
Jared Allen trades. The Pelicans, they get Jared Allen, and the Pelicans trade Larry Nance, Dyson Daniels, and a first-round pick.
That's the easiest yes if I'm the Pelicans.
If I'm the Pelicans, that's an auto accept.
Dyson
If I'm-
Daniels
if
is
I'm
no
David
slouch.
Griffin.
Understand this. Dyson Daniels is no
I was
slouch.
thinking about putting Jordan Hawkins in here too.
That would be the right type of piece for the Cavs to be interested.
Yeah.
Because if I'm Cleveland, I'm
You want
totally
shooting.
disinterested.
and
We
we've
need spacing.
seen the Pelicans kind of misuse, in my opinion, Jordan Hawkins, especially
Lack
in
of
that
opportunity.
middle.
Trey
Agreed.
Murphy.
But if you
and
are the Pelicans,
NBI.
you get Jared Allen, defensive side, rebounding. You let Zion obviously facilitate. To me, I think they need a little bit more of a stretch five. That's obviously not Jared, but shit.
Got a mid-range.
I don't know if
Fair.
for Cleveland's sake, I don't know if they go and make this deal for the Pels. So it makes all the sense in the world. You get the rim protector, you get one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. This was, I think you mentioned earlier, Drew, like this was Jared Allen's best season.
Hell
It's
yeah.
kind of nuts. We have to talk about trades with Jared Allen because he was so damn good
He
this
was
year.
awesome.
But it's just kind of the reality of the situation. Cavs, though, I think if you're trading Jared Allen, I don't know. Even though Dyson Daniels has a ton of potential, I don't know if that's the move you make because you're trying to win now, and I don't know if Dyson Daniels is coming in next season and going to help you and make a playoff run.
Especially if they want to keep a Corral. Those two pieces might be ridiculous.
Yeah, unless it's Jared Allen for Brandon Ingram, and you have to add in a contract, so it'd be Karis LeVert and Allen for Ingram.
Right.
I think that makes more sense for the Cavs, but then again, I don't know if that's like the piece that's going to take them over the hump.
The next two trades are the Kings and Warriors. With the Kings, it's Jared Allen for Kevin Huerter, Kobe Jones, and a first-round pick. And for the Warriors, it's Jared Allen and Niang for Chris Paul and Jonathan Kuminga, and there will be picks attached to this trade.
Do the Warriors want to trade Kuminga?
Again, though,
If
these
they're
are
getting
trades,
Jared Allen, absolutely yes.
These are trades that you're not.
Absolutely yes.
Yes.
Say it again.
If the Warriors are getting Jared Allen, they're absolutely trading Kuminga.
The only reason why you wouldn't, they did extend Draymond. So if you have Draymond and Jared Allen together, how well do those two pieces fit?
I don't know necessarily that's
My
true.
goodness, that would be awesome defensively.
Yeah.
Right. Offensively, I'm curious. I don't know.
Well,
Well, I
Draymond
mean,
did
if
hit
they fit with
40%.
Andrew Bogut before.
They had a bench Bogut.
And Draymond
with
low
what championship
key.
team.
Draymond low
And
key
is Klay
picked up a ratchet
Thompson
last
gonna
season.
be that Klay Thompson?
No, Klay Thompson. I don't think is
Exactly.
back.
That's
I
tough.
just
John,
look at
so.
Kuminga. He's one of the few young pieces on the Warriors that I even contemplate moving forward with.
And they don't care about
If I were
that, though.
Golden State,
They need
I would say no.
championships.
I don't think so. Now, you think?
They still got to try to compete with Steph.
It's a tough situation to be in. There's no right answer because
We'll
you're
see.
not going to win a championship
tough.
again. It's
I don't-
tough. Hate to say it.
Kuminga was pretty damn good this season. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than that. He
And
was
he's
awesome.
Just 21 too. So
He's young as fuck to give up on.
Got a lot of
But again,
time.
for the Cavs, like 21, he showed promise, but like you need to win, especially if you're trying
Yeah.
to prove to Donovan Mitchell like we're going
Yeah.
into this championship mindset.
that's not the right fit.
Kuminga, yeah, that's probably gonna be a
And
tough
that's-
sell.
Kuminga's not a bad defender in his own right either.
No, not at all.
No, it's really the offensive fit. How scalable of a shooter will he
Yeah, I
be?
think he's a good
Is
defender.
Donovan's like immediate safety valve? You know.
And I
Pick
have
that
one
option.
Garland trade. It's with the Spurs. It's Keldon Johnson, Devontae Graham, and Zach Collins, and the 8th overall pick for Garland.
8th pick, okay.
I would rather 4.
I bet you would.
because-
Because 4, okay. No.
Now I
mean,
really
obviously
have.
you'd rather
because,
4.
well, now I have a lot more say in the wing I'm selecting. At 8, I don't have as much.
You get
If those two
Keldon.
wings are taken before your pick, then it's like, hey, we had this 8th overall
We're
selection.
calling
What
Keldon
are
the
we
wing.
taking?
Keldon would be the wing in that situation.
Well, you need another one.
You said Zach Collins. That would solidify the 5 on top of Jared Allen. If you wanted to move
He's your
Jared Allen
backup.
too, and that's not a bad backup by any means.
No, it's a good one,
great
yeah.
I think
backup.
Zach Collins is a more underappreciated backup center, of course.
Yep, he's
and
not
you
a
mentioned pick 8. You still get a hell of a ball player there, a hell of a role player. Of course, I should mention.
Right.
I like
Trade
that
an
trade
all-star-
for both sides.
If
Truthfully,
you trade an all-star, though, you want to really feel good about that.
if I'm the Spurs, I take Garland with a smile on my face. And if I'm the Cavaliers, now my point guard / guard in general will be Donovan. I bring in Zach Collins. I bring in Keldon Johnson on top of that too. And then I get pick 8, and this could be a luxury selection, truthfully.
How do you feel about it, John?
It's 4 or no deal. That's because if I'm Cleveland taking Arisha Shearer or Velez, and I don't know if they're going to be there at 8, and that's like the whole point of the Cavaliers to me, moving off of Jared Allen. You want to get that wing. And it's so odd because this is why I'm having a hard time talking about it. Jared Allen's the better player between him and Mobley right now.
Agreed.
But in order for Mobley to become the better player, you need to move off of Allen.
Yeah.
So it's a tough spot.
Yeah.
It's like 2
Did you cook up
briefcases.
any packages for the Lakers and Jared Allen?
I have not.
All right.
There's 2 briefcases. They're unopened. John opened one. It's $300,000. Deal or no deal? No deal. I'm going for the other one.
Hey,
No deal. No, the 8th
how I
overall pick,
feel.
4th overall pick, that's not a gap. I think you could take it either way.
That's really shows how much do the Spurs want Garland. If they're willing to give the 4th overall pick, like, all right, this is someone that we legitimately look at as a building block. If they're going to be stuck on the 8, then I don't know. That's another piece, though. All of these trades, like, you're not really finding a player that's going to come in right away and
change
help
your
this
fortunes.
team. Yeah.
And that's the other thing, too. It's like the Cavaliers could have took that series to a strong 6 or maybe 7 if they were healthy. So do you want to shake up this roster without getting
If
that
Boston's
full
healthy,
year?
Maybe it's 7-3.
So
All right. I
Who
cooked.
knows?
what do you got?
Lakers get Jared Allen.
Here we go.
The Lakers trade away Rui Hachimura and Jalen Hood-Schifino.
That's it.
That's all
I'm
you got?
laughing at that.
I'm hanging up the phone and saying, please don't offer me another trade.
Listen, if you guys are going to be moved off of a pretty bad postseason by Rui
what
You
does
Hachimura.
just
Rui
told
do
us
for me?
Jarrett's coming off career year, and now Rui's
Awesome
coming off his
mid-range
worst year in
shooter.
LA.
Was an awesome 3-point shooter this regular season.
Austin Reeves.
I would need
Thinking
Austin
about
Reeves.
that or no?
No.
I would need Austin
Wow.
Reeves.
What the fuck?
You're trying to jip us. This is embarrassing.
And you get
You're
picks.
just trying to steal an all-star coming off his best season.
Okay, an
to complete
all-star.
your lineup.
Okay.
He's an all-star.
But when I say Dejounte's an all-star,
Okay, fair enough.
Honestly, I don't even know how
I
much
think
need
Allen's
Austin
actually
Reeves
need a
right
mover. That's
down
why I
there.
say that.
I mean, he would be a needle mover on the Lakers, most definitely.
But it's just like you're trying. Like this is like your typical
Not even
Laker
give me the
package.
2031
Well, they're giving
first.
up nothing. They're really giving up nothing, and they want the all-star.
Rui Hachimura is if you say Rui Hachimura is nothing, I'm really questioning if
For
you
Jared,
Relative to
Jared
Jared
Allen,
Allen,
It's pretty
you-
nothing.
nah,
It's
no.
nothing. It's
That's
yeah.
like
a guy
close
who's
to
been
that.
unreliable the
bar.
last
You know,
4
you know,
seasons.
like,
meter?
you know, like the
2K
Madden,
guy. I
you know,
don't know
like
if you play
the
Madden.
Madden like trade meter, like
It's
it goes like
halfway. It's
red, yellow.
50%.
It might be red. I
No,
think it's
awesome.
red. I don't
Might
know
be
how
like
close
25.
that
If
is.
we're really talking this highly on a player that's been unreliable for the last 3
So
seasons,
why do you want him?
Because the Lakers need a big.
Rui Hachimura.
Rui is a very good role player.
Exactly.
But I just
That's what
think
the
it's
Cavaliers need.
Disrespectful to say that him and unproven
Give you
JSS.
Dean Wade.
And you get JHS, who'd be a backup guard.
I don't.
Yeah,
even, I don't,
backup guard and a 6-man.
Who's your
for
backup
All-Star.
guard?
I don't even think Jalen Hood-Schifino is better than Craig
come on.
Porter Jr.
Craig Porter Jr. played very well this last year.
He did.
Yeah,
Listen, Jalen Hachimura can go.
that's a great.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
okay.
even accept that if you had
Yeah.
Vando into the
Rui's
deal.
coming off his worst
I
year.
thought about
JSS
adding,
can go.
but I couldn't do that.
What
I
a
need
way
a
to
POA.
what a way to pitch your trade.
I need a
Oh
POA.
my god,
I need a POA.
you're nuts.
Better than you.
I needed to cook up something. It went through. It's that successful.
You could have had a couple of firsts.
I
One or
said,
two.
here's a couple picks, true.
I don't know if you said that.
You didn't say that actually.
I most definitely said we were throwing some picks.
We didn't hear that.
No.
Well, you guys
So-
don't use your ears.
At
you
first,
only
at
hear.
first you
I
said
think you
Rui
didn't
and
use your
Jalen. You
mouth
didn't say anything after
translate
that.
that
Maybe
information to
down the
us.
road.
Go back and watch the tape.
Because you should start with
very
2
confident
first-round
he did
picks.
say
Okay, I'm not
That-
trading
Did he
two
say there were
first-round
picks in
picks.
that?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Not trading 2
Oh, thank
first-round
you.
picks. You
I'm
can
gonna go
take
for.
up first.
I don't know who to go with here. I didn't hear you say it. I didn't not hear you say it. I
All
don't
right,
know.
listen again. Tease their own.
Only one first.
You guys heard Rui Hachimura, and you guys were
Maybe if you included THT, we'll do that.
okay. What year is it? Move on, please. I'm getting angry.
Sarcasm.
Are the Timberwolves or the Nuggets under more pressure to win Game
The
7?
easiest answer I've ever been, easiest answer I could possibly say, I should say, is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Only 5 teams have blown a 2-0 lead after going up 2-0 away. The answer is obviously Minnesota, and I don't care that they're the more inexperienced team. I don't care that they're not the reigning champions. They were up 2-0, and history shows that when you're up 2-0, 9 times out of 10 you close out the series, and honestly it's getting to a point where it's like 9.99 times out of 10 you close out that series. I put all the pressure on Minnesota. I don't care that they're the away team. I don't care that the younger team. The answer is Minnesota. We've seen Anthony Edwards play at such an insanely high level. We've seen moments and tastes of Jaden McDaniels this postseason, obviously against the Suns. He was awesome. Last night, he was amazing. Missed only 2 shots on the way. Also putting together an amazing defensive performance on Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've seen inconsistencies with their offense. We saw 3 straight games from the Denver Nuggets essentially dominating the Minnesota Timberwolves. And this was after, of course, being down 0-2. Again, it's easy to me. When we saw Minnesota go up 2-0, there was an overwhelming majority that didn't give the Nuggets a singular chance, so much so that we were questioning
I was nervous.
Nikola Jokic's reign as being the best player in the league, questioning
doing
his
that.
3-time MVPs, questioning his legitimacy of his
people
run
are
last
crazy.
season. They were all dumb. I never listened to a single word that came
Shut up.
out of those guys' mouths. But so much conversation stemmed off that 2-0 lead, and everyone started to go over to the Wolves bandwagon. And when they went down 3-2, then everything got nervous, and everybody kind of just took a step back. But again, a great response by them. But when you go 2-0, you still keep that pressure on you. Last time we saw it, even though it's only happened 5 times in NBA history, was in 2021 when the Clippers were able to come back against the Dallas Mavericks. I say that this is different because, again, we're looking at the reigning champs. They do have the best player in the world. This is an inexperienced team, although last 3 seasons have made the playoffs. You're up 2-0. You got to put the nail in the coffin. I'm
Happened in
sorry.
the finals too.
Listen,
Yeah, happened in the finals.
Drew, I'm 100% with you. The Nuggets may be the team that we expect more out of.
Correct.
But this Minnesota team's best chance to win a championship is right now. And the reason why I say that is because of finances. This team is dangerously close to the second apron. They've got 3 key all-stars, Mike Conley, Monte Morris, and Kyle Anderson. You re-sign Mike Conley, you're going over the second apron immediately. And so for a Minnesota team that has committed so much financially, the
I
uncertainty...
think they already did.
Well, they're at 175 for next year, then 186 in 2026.
Because I believe
the
Conley
second
signed a
apron's
2-year.
190.
Conley signed a 2-year extension.
This in
For
the middle of the
11
season.
million, give or take. right around that ballpark. So now you're basically just a couple million under that second apron. If you get that exact details, you'll be able to tell. So for Minnesota, because of how much long-term uncertainty there is in retaining this core, you also look at the fact that they won the first 6 games this postseason. And that initial impression we had that they're going to beat Denver, I would have to go with them. And it really just comes down to this being their year to win a championship.
I think it's not only that they started off the series 2 games to none, but they just won Game 6 by 45 points. You beat a team like that badly, you got to come into Game 7 fueled. You got to come into Game 7 with that same intensity, with that defensive focus.
And Anthony Edwards put a target on their back. He's been talking a lot, and I respect it. Listen,
And-
he backs it up.
And he's going to back it up because they're winning Game 7.
You want him to back it up?
They're winning Game 7. I want him to.
sick fuck.
I want him to.
You're a sick fuck.
I had this thought the other day. I was driving in my car. And
Alone, I'm assuming.
alone.
Took me a minute.
And I said to myself, think about the amount of people that Anthony Edwards is making fall in love with basketball. How many people are starting to love basketball even more, or just have started to love basketball because of Anthony Edwards? He is what you want in the face of a league. A two-way player, the charisma, the confidence. I just haven't seen him not show up in the moments. I really haven't.
He's the new school PG.
He's not Paul George.
I said new school.
I don't know
not
what
Paul
you mean by
George.
that.
Paul George to a lot of these young guys.
Oh,
is
in
the
terms
best
of
player.
the impression?
Exactly.
people
That's
view him?
exactly what I'm saying. You
Okay.
mentioned that he's making kids fall in love with the game. I don't disagree, but Paul George, shit. There's a lot of people that think he's the
everyone's
best
favorite player,
player.
damn
He's the
near.
best player that
Like a true
some
Hooper's
kids have ever
favorite
seen.
player.
Fact.
Fucking,
I see,
Melo's kid's goat.
But
Yeah.
I say that to also compliment Anthony Edwards. His
Yeah.
game is beautiful, very refined, and he plays
Yeah.
gritty, hard
It's
nosed
the attitude
at
and
all
demeanor that he
times.
brings,
100%. That's a compliment.
attracting.
Truthfully.
He reminds
Based on
me
everything.
a lot of Kobe Bryant, quite frankly.
Okay.
The first 3
Damn.
mindset wise, Kobe. Play style wise is Dwayne Wade. That's what I always stand by.
I'm
That's
with
the right
that.
comp.
I'm with
In
that.
the first 10 games in the postseason, he has averaged 30 points per game. That's the third most.
Amazing.
Number 1 is Jordan. Number 2 is Kobe Bryant. These are the first 10 games in a postseason run. 66% true shooting. I feel like they lost some of that defensive ferociousness in the 3 games they lost. And I just don't see a world where in Game 7, they aren't going to defensively lay it all out on the line and win this game. I think they're going to win this game. Jamal Murray's health is bothering me. They have rest because the game is Sunday, so they got some time. But just the way they have hounded him this series, it's been his worst playoff series by far.
It's first bad
that
series.
is with Denver. That's always been a question mark. Listen, if we're getting the version of Jamal that we have been accustomed to in the playoffs, we know Denver could go all the way. But because he hasn't been that player in the regular season, there was always a chance that he could regress. And this year, he has regressed not only to his regular season self, but to a worse version of himself
worse.
that is inefficient. So I just trust Minnesota to close this out. I know it's on the road, but I think they're going to be well equipped, and they're most certainly going to play with 100% intensity from the start of that whistle to the end of the whistle. They're not going to let up.
Joe, let me say something real quick. Would we categorize this as his first bad series, even though games 3, 4, 5, he played some pretty efficient basketball?
This is the worst series.
I agreed that it would
Far
be
and
his
away,
worst
his career.
series, but are we calling it a bad series per se? Because again, 3, 4, 5, we saw him play some efficient basketball. Game 2, horrible. Game 6, pretty damn terrible as well. But I just look at games 3, 4, 5, the way that they were able to dominate the game as much as they did, not needing to be as overly dominant, but still putting up a solid stat line as is. I just think that, again, you look at the way that these games have played out outside of game 1, each of these games have been blowouts. Just either which way you shape it. Outside of game 1, they've been dominated by either team that has won the game. So to me, I wouldn't categorize it as a bad series. I would agree this is his worst series by far. At the same time, I'm still not looking at this as a bad series.
been a
But
bad
Jamal,
series.
it's pretty
It has been, though. 16-5. He's shooting 38%
Bro, he
from
went
the field.
3 of 18 from the field.
33% from the 3.
You look
And
at
then
his
4 of
bad
18.
games, they're really dragging down his series stats. Agreed. Games 2 and game 6. But again, games 3, 4, 5.
He's only had really 2 good games. Even those games.
So the
they
game, so
haven't.
we're not counting game 5
He's only had
Game
one
5,
game
he had
over
16
20
points.
points.
again, but shot 50%
4
from the
assists.
field.
Yeah,
It was a very
41,
pedestrian-
41 minutes, 16 points, 4 assists.
The reason
was
they won
the
that
Jokic
game was
show,
because
though.
of Jokic
Of course.
and Gordon.
It was. Of
But it
course.
wasn't Jamal Murray.
But again,
He played a
did he
fine
have a
game.
bad game? Exactly. But games 3 and games
Look,
4.
if you play like dog shit in games 2 and 6 and they play fine the rest of the
Games
series,
3,
it's not
4,
a
and
good
5
series.
weren't bad.
Agreed.
But also, Jamal Murray, compared to last year's playoff runs, like
I'm not
and
disagreeing.
that shouldn't be a standard, though,
No,
to be
no,
fair,
no.
because that's playing at
But
like
that's
top 10
exactly
level.
what my point is, Joel. I'm
Yeah.
saying he's been bad for his standards.
That's be somewhere in between. He can't be this bad, but I'm not expecting him to be like he averaged like 30 against the Lakers.
But this
last
is a
year.
bad series, though.
Can't agree. Can't
It's-
agree.
It's definitely
Brother,
below
It'll be
expectations.
it'll be
scoring
super
well.
dependent on Sunday to just
He's
completely
also
wrap it
injured,
up.
though.
He's
He
had
is
his worst
injured.
2 playoff
Yeah.
games of his
He's
career
doing-
in this series.
He's
Agreed,
been
but
banged up. He's
again-
got Jaden McDaniels hounding him. But
For
like,
right now, more than one game over half, he's been pretty good.
He's had
Brother.
2 great games in this series.
he's averaging 15 points and 17 shots. And as a playmaker, he's
Again,
been fine
but
because
you're,
he's really
you're
not
taking
making
the
good
series.
rim
And he's a
the
liability
se-
on defense.
The series stats are being completely
Oh, yeah, he's impacting the game more than his
destroyed
production.
by games 2 and game 6.
He's not
The
playing
series stats have been
I mean, if this is
destroyed.
Darius
know why
Garland,
you're
you're saying
defending
it's a bad series.
I don't know why. you're defending.
Why I've been defending again? They won 3 straight. He was
Not
good in
because
3
of
of those games.
Murray. It's
Of
because
course
of the
not. He's
front
not
court.
the best player on the team.
But Aaron Gordon as well. He's
Aaron
playing a lot
Gordon has
better.
been the second best player in this series.
clearly.
Quite
Okay,
easily.
I'm fine
He
with
has
that.
been.
I'm fine with that.
Very.
Not going to disagree.
Yeah. Now Jamal Murray's been struggling. The pressure thing's weird because like I understand the argument. You know, they always say championship windows are a lot shorter than you think they are, right? I
Yeah.
think we look at this Wolves team led by Anthony Edwards, like they're going to be at the top of the West for the next 5 years, 10 years, because you have a 22, 23-year-old superstar. But in reality, that's usually not how it is. You know, you look super dominant, and then a couple things happen. A guy gets traded, a guy gets injured, a guy falls off, a contract comes into effect, and then all of a sudden, this team you had that was just so dominant, all of a sudden just isn't that same team anymore. But I don't know. Oddly enough, like I'm just sitting here thinking in both scenarios where, say, Minnesota loses this series. I think one argument, as Drew has already brought up, is you were at a 2-0 lead. You have Anthony Edwards going on one of the best postseason runs through 2 rounds that we've seen in NBA history. As Joel just said, top 3 in terms of points per game on insane efficiency, 63, 64% true shooting. But also, going into this series, I know it was 3-1. I believe you picked, or it was actually 2-2. So maybe I shouldn't even say that. I do think the general consensus, or maybe like 60-40, were in favor of the Nuggets, especially because they're defending champion. And if the Nuggets, or excuse me, if the Timberwolves were to lose this series, I don't know if I'm really looking at this season as like a failure per se, because Anthony Edwards just goes so crazy in these playoffs. You have Jaden McDaniels get some big buckets in this series as well. Naz Reid has a breakout year. Rudy Gobert and Cat work. Like, everything kind of came together. And then you just ran into the best player in the world and one of the best players of this generation. So if Jokic goes out there tomorrow and has another game, you know, what was it, game 5 performance where he's just putting up 40, 10, 7 assists, no turnovers, and he just looks like the second coming of fucking Michael Jordan, I'm looking at the Timberwolves saying, yeah, you blew it, but Jokic is also the best player I've ever seen with my 2 eyes, you know? And on the other side, if the Nuggets were to end up losing this series, you look at it as a failure, of course, because you're the defending champions, and you do have the best player in the world, but you also have Jamal Murray, who's been your second best player in the postseason run last season, who's injured, and he's obviously not himself. The calf has been bothering him. We mentioned on last night's show that he does not have the same type of burst that we've seen. Joel even mentioned the same type of kind of jump that he has on his shot. He's not 100%. And if Jamal Murray's not 100% coming into these playoffs, I don't know if we're all picking Denver to just go to the finals, even be the favorites to win the championship if we have that hindsight. So oddly enough, I feel like both teams are kind of in a bit of win-win positions where if you win, for Denver, you came back from 2-0. Nikola Jokic, you win 4 of the last 5 games, and you put your stamp on this kind of generation. And on the other side, if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves and you win, you just dethrone the champion? You went in there and Anthony Edwards in half of these games outplayed Nikola Jokic? Are you kidding me? So I think in both scenarios, it's Game 7, trip to WCF on the line. Of course, there's going to be pressure on both sides. But in the same breath, I don't think one team has so much more pressure on them, even though the Wolves were up 2-0, and even though you're the Nuggets, you're the defending champ and have the best player in the world.
I think there's probably more pressure on Denver from the standpoint that if they lose, what is going to be your offseason move to get better? And also, I think even with Jamal Murray's injury, it raises some questions around, okay, now what version of Jamal do we get when we go into the postseason? How much do we rely on his health?
Last year
I
we saw
disagree.
it's like he's healthy. He's the best Rob in the league.
The Nuggets already won a championship. If they don't win this year, the question's not going to be how do we add to it. The question's going to be
How do we win another one?
It's going to be how does Jamal Murray get back to his standard when he was healthy.
Yeah.
Because there's not another move they're going to make.
Well,
There's
once you
got to be
win-
more pressure in Minnesota.
Once you win a championship, the goal is to win another one.
But
That's
there's
the
less pressure than the team that hasn't won
No,
a champ.
of course. But with Minnesota, it's also the fact that you're going to be in this position again next year. They'll be one of the top teams in the West next year again.
We really don't know.
They
will be.
They will be.
Well, we understand that, but if they don't go in the NBA Finals with how much money they're committing in this core, you have to ask, with the ownership uncertainty, do they commit that much money to going over the second?
Because the rumor's already out there. If A-Rod and his team buys it, that they are not interested in going over that second apron.
That's what it seems like. I mean, already Glenn Taylor doesn't want to sell the team to the match.
That means Glenn Taylor's the hero in this story.
No, if
A-Rod,
I'm the Wolves,
A-Rod and Mark Lord, they're trying to
I mean,
mess
Wolves,
over the
I
team.
want installment plan stuff is
I
a little
want
bit
Glenn
sketch.
Taylor from the Wolves. If he's saying I'll pay that second apron, hell
Of course, yeah.
Isn't
And
that
that's
funny how
the other
now
part
Glenn
too.
Taylor becomes a hero after
know.
years and years
Lives
of
long
being
enough
the
for
villain?
the villain to
Yeah,
become the
for
hero.
real, talk.
And listen, in order for the villain to become a hero, there got to be a new villain to come in.
That's the facts.
That's very true. You touched a good point too, Dehls. It's been the right combination of health and then like Jamal Murray being out too for the two Wolves, where it's like this is their year, because in past years we haven't seen Minnesota have the same health luck, whether it was Jimmy's injury, Naz Reid, or Jaden McDaniels punching whatever it was, a wall and breaking his hand. This is the first time they've really had Cat coming right back off injury. He's got 15 games on his legs, where everything's seeming to go their way a little bit.
No, I agree 100% with you. Another do or die game is Game 6 is Saturday. OKC versus the Mavericks. Game 6 prediction. When I was thinking about this series, I thought, you know what? The Mavericks should have actually won in 5 games. They should have. After Game 1, the Mavericks have outplayed OKC in every single game. They blew Game 4. OKC came back. They were exceptional in the fourth quarter, but I thought Dallas had firm control of that one. It felt like they had the momentum, and OKC, credit to them, they just came out and they won the game, but it has felt to me like the Mavs have been the better team. Luka Doncic is averaging the most points per game after a loss in playoff history. Kyrie Irving is undefeated in closeout games in his career.
Wonder why.
I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks here to win. And man, if they do win, it's going to be 2 conference finals in the past 3 years with 2 entirely different rosters for Luka Doncic. That's Mr. Despite the loss guy, but 2 WCF appearances in the past 3 seasons. Pretty good if you ask me.
It is a really good resume to have, because they shook up that entire team a year ago, and we didn't think the Mavericks would get back to this point of maybe being on the cusp of the conference finals. I also do have the Mavericks winning tomorrow night, and a large part of it is their defense starting to come together. With Oklahoma City, you can really see that they were rattled. Why are you two looking at each other like that? You got a little thing going on? Let's go.
Don't
Nothing?
be self-conscious, John. Just
here.
give your piece.
You look at Oklahoma City, and it felt like on their drives, the Mavericks always had an answer.
Yeah.
And for Oklahoma City, that's one of the most, if not the most drive-heavy team in the league. You take that away from them, now there's so much more pressure on their shots to go in, and there's just a lot of variance that comes with that. Jalen Williams does not take near enough threes. If I'm Oklahoma City in Game 6, I want to see these guys firing away, whether it's Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, and especially Jalen taking at least 5 or 6 threes. Because for them, that's going to be what allows them to push it to an elimination game at home.
Yeah, this series has been kind of great, kind of terrible. I don't know. I feel like we've seen some really good basketball. I feel like we've seen some really bad basketball. Overall, I haven't been as impressed with the Thunder as I thought I would be. You know, they are a super young team, and to their credit, or to their defense, I guess,
Might
you know,
be that.
youngest 1 seed in NBA history, SGA, J-Dub, Chet. I mean, these are dudes. It's your first time in this situation, at least for, you know, Shea, of course, being the type of player he is now. And I just feel like at times they could really struggle offensively, kind of playing, especially for J-Dub, just kind of playing one-on-one a lot and not having, what's the word I'm looking for? He's a great player and he's a tough shot maker, right? I think J-Dub has proved that over the regular season, but the playoffs, it really hasn't translated as much as I thought it would. You know, I thought in the regular season, he was like kind of a borderline all-star at the level he was playing, especially his two-way ability. As I mentioned, being able to get to the rim, tough shot making, mid-range, all of that, but it just really hasn't translated. SGA's been great. Chet's had his moments, but he's also had some down moments, and the role players kind of are going to waver too. I think Dallas probably takes it in 6. I want to see a Game 7. You know, of course, that I was rooting for the same thing against the Wolves last night. I want to see a Game 7 in this Pacers series. I'm rooting for the Pacers right now. I want to see Game 7s because as a neutral fan who I don't really care, wins and loses these series, of course, I want picks to be right, but I'd rather see a Game 7 and be right than a Game 6 and be wrong. I want to see a Game 7, but you got to give credit to Dallas and their defense. We talked about that a couple nights ago when we did our live reaction. Their defense, when they're winning games, when they put kind of their foot on their neck, and you're able to limit the Thunder and the Clippers, although they were banged up, to under 100 points, they're winning these games. And PJ Washington's stepped up and had some big shots. Luka Doncic, of course, even though maybe not playing up to his standards, is still nearly averaging a triple-double. Kyrie is really the only player out of like the core of the Dallas Mavericks I'm disappointed with. I think he's averaging around 15 or 16 points per game. The efficiency is decent, but he has just not been the same type of aggressive player that we saw kind of down the stretch of the season. He's given you about 7 assists, so I'll give him credit there. But that's kind of the biggest surprise, I think, from Dallas is just that Kyrie Irving, if you told me they're going to the WCF, I know Luka's playing great, but I was expecting Kyrie to, at minimum, average 20 points per game. So that's the only kind of disappointing part, I think, of the Mavs. But hell, if you win in 6, screw that. You know, you're going to the WCF, as Joel mentioned, 2 times in 3 years. To think that last year completely missed the play-in. Of course, you know, there's all those talks around why it happened, but having the 10th pick, taking Derek Lively, making those trades around PJ Washington. I mean, regardless of how Kyrie's playing, you get the WCF. You get the WCF.
Again, I've given a lot of credit to the Dallas Mavericks every time we do these live streams. When they play well, I got to give acknowledgement. Again, shout out to PJ Washington, who, again, has been a needle mover in this postseason, specifically in this series.
Just to trade deadline, has been a needle mover.
But why it's most shocking to me is because we've never seen PJ play at this level.
It's first time postseason.
That shit has shocked the
Caleb
shit out
Martin
of me.
series.
Which is insane. It
like
shocked the shit
really
out of
last
me.
year.
I'm sure it shocked a lot.
Caleb Martin shit.
But here's the thing with that, though. Caleb Martin was dog water, comparatively speaking, compared, when the postseason to the regular season this year, where Rui was unbelievable. I look at PJ, and again, I give him endless credit because he's been able to do a job, sit in that damn corner and knock down those shots, but be an attacker when need be also and finish at the rim relatively efficiently. But you mentioned Kyrie Irving, and it's funny because Mavericks fans are awesome. They said that this series is not about Kyrie being aggressive and being that much of a scorer. He's more of a decoy and being a leader and making sure everything. Exactly. Really, that's really what it's been. But again, Mavericks have been winning ball games. Again, you mentioned his playmaking. That's been rightfully so. But what has been the more important thing for me has been Luka Doncic getting right back on track. And that's what we saw in Game 5, where he was his best version of himself, being aggressive, not worried about the refs, not worried about the defender in front of him, just worrying about getting his and making sure that he's the most efficient offensive player possible. And when that happens, you usually get a Mavericks win that follows. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about that defense, starting with Derek Lively in the middle, of course, and him being able to knock down his shots when it comes to being at the free throw line. That's been a huge part of them winning ball games. They're playing hack and lively, but damn it, you can't do it when he's knocking down those free throws. So I give a lot of credit to him, of course. I'm going to go with OKC here. I think they do force a Game 7. I'm still going to stand strong. I think OKC does win this series still, but that doesn't take away anything that that Dallas has done this series.
What do you think changes?
Dallas to jinx it.
I couldn't do that. You think I'm giving these guys an edge over me? Not a damn chance.
Fair enough. What do you think changes for Oklahoma City to win on the road?
What needs to happen is J-Dub needs to be more assertive. I don't care that he's not being the same efficient self that he is usually around the rim. I need to see more than 13 to 14 shot attempts. Get into that 18, 19 attempts.
Or threes.
I'm fine with that also. At the same time, I saw last game, and a lot of people were, of course, you saw the field goal percentage, the 3-point percentage. It was terrible for Oklahoma City. But they're questioning themselves from the 3-point line. Should I be taking this? Oh, I don't feel as confident as I once did, even though we looked at him.
Kayson's a good example of that, I feel like.
He goes perfect from the field in Game 4, and in Game 5 goes 1 for 7 from the field. He kind of shied away from it, which is fine. You're 1 for 7. You're a role player. You know when it's your night, when it's not your night. I'm not more so talking about Kayson. I'm more so talking about a J-Dub. I'm more so talking about an Isaiah Joe. I'm more so talking about a Chet Holmgren, of course. These are guys that have made their bread and butter. Understand how I'm not talking about Shea. He's completely excluded from this conversation. The brother
I'm not worried about that Lou Dort either. I know he's going to get his shots up.
Oh,
he's going to get his shots
I would.
up.
I will.
Is he going to make them?
I mean, he does get a lot of open looks.
Trust me. Yeah. I'm happy with that. I'd rather die on my sword.
He should take those. Yeah.
If you're open, shoot the shot. But J-Dub needs to be more aggressive, whether it's taking the threes, more so the mid-range, because that's where he lived in the regular season, and knowing when to pick and choose when to drive. His big issue has been getting stuffed at the rim because there's these guys just waiting for him because he's not taking those mid-range jumpers when they are open. I just look for J-Dub to be more assertive, be more aggressive, because they've been waiting on him to have his blow-up game for them to really look like the dominant team outside of Game 1. He hasn't.
I think with J-Dub, we're running into an issue of his shot diet is It's a hard shot diet to live on.
Don't disagree at
In
all.
the regular season, you're uber efficient and you feel like, that can translate to the playoffs. But when defenses are playing better, they're all over you. I mean, those shots become much harder to live on. And even though SGA is playing a phenomenal series, I also think SGA is kind of playing into what the Mavericks want him to do. That's not taken away to how he's performing because he needs help. And I think if anything, what this series has shown is that SGA is most definitely ready for the moment. His team is not ready for the moment.
Yeah.
That's what this series has taught me, because if SGA is getting more support, I think there's a real chance OKC wins this series. That's my
100%.
belief. But
Kyrie and Luka both underperformed.
yes, but when talking about SGA, he lives on mid-range jump shots, one of the most efficient players at that. But the Mavericks have took away a key component of his game, and that's driving the basketball. That's finishing around the rim. He has been awful as a finisher in this series. So you're taking a guy who, he's not a high-volume three-point shooter, but he's a high-volume mid-range shooter and driver of the basketball, and you're taking the driving away from his game. It now puts an emphasis on him to be perfect from the mid-range, which he has, but the Mavericks have said, you know what, we'll live with those shots.
Yep.
We'll live with that instead of you getting into the paint, you penetrating our defense, you forcing collapses and rotations, and then us just allowing a million wide open threes a game. They have chosen how they're going to play. Kyrie Irving, I don't feel like he needs to be more aggressive, only for the fact that he is getting doubled. Him and Luka, they're getting hounded whenever they have the ball. They're getting blitzed. OKC is making them get the ball out their hands, and that's why we've seen so many opportunities for PJ, Derrick Jones Jr., and these role players. But Kyrie, usually if you average 14 points per game, you're like, you're struggling in this series, but he's shooting 46% from the field, 44% from three. He's averaging 7 assists. I mean, this isn't a series where he's averaging 14 but shooting below 40% from the field. He's still been uber efficient.
And defensively, he's been a positive.
Yeah.
That's another aspect, too. On these drive attempts, Shea goes from shooting 69% at the rim in the regular season to 56% in this postseason. J-Dub, 70% to 57%. For each of those two players, it is the drive game that opens up their offense. So when they're not making the same amount of attempts, it really does make them a bit more one-dimensional in the mid-range area.
No, yeah, I think OKC, they still got a bright future. Their fan base, I feel like they're in a bit of crisis of confidence right now, because the Game 5 was very demoralizing, and I can imagine it was demoralizing. You're not hitting your shots, but, I mean, this has really been a trend. Every game this series, OKC has not shot well from three. So I feel like at some point you can't just attribute that to they're just missing. You got to attribute it to maybe the Mavericks are doing something defensively to get this pattern going.
Yeah, but they also could be due for one as well. And on the
It
point
could
you
happen in
made
Game
before,
6.
maybe
that's
Thunder,
possible.
Maybe Thunder fans don't feel great about their chance to win the series. But if you told Oklahoma City fans coming into the season they would get the number 1 seed, they would win nearly 60 games, and they would go to the second round of the playoffs and have a very competitive series with the Mavericks, I think they'd be pretty darn happy, because you look at this team's youth and their draft capital, they're in a better situation than any team in the NBA.
They're playing with house money right now.
They are.
That's what they're
Absolutely.
doing. They're playing with house money. You still got a core they can
Successful
build
season
around.
either way.
Yeah.
SGA proved that he could transit to the playoffs if there was anyone even questioning
David
that out
Seaver.
there. J-Dub, I don't want to overreact by any means, because I think he's still a foundational piece without a doubt. I think he's not untouchable, but very hard to touch. But it definitely, I think if you're OKC, kind of maybe opens your eye just a little bit. Be like, listen, J-Dub has been phenomenal. He's been great.
He's young.
Is it set in stone he's going to be the number 2 for this championship team? Maybe that's not solidified yet.
As a two-way, 100%. He's just still coming to his own. He was a late bloomer at Santa Clara. He's still figuring out his game. I think a lot of it is an aggression thing. Like, can you jack up more threes? I think that's a very correctable thing. And the other part, too, again, is it took the Mavericks 3 years to win a playoff series with Luka. The Thunder took them 1 year. Like, this team is well ahead of schedule. I think, it's fine if they lose the series. They're going to need that long term.
This week in the NBA/NFL, I have something pertaining to the WNBA. Last night, I watched Caitlin Clark play
Tough.
with against the New York Liberty, going up against one of the top defenses. She's struggling. First 2 games of her career, she's struggling.
She had 10. How many turnovers are first game?
Oh,
Or
She has
7?
13 turnovers so far in 2 games.
That's all, yeah.
But here's what I want to say on the Caitlin Clark thing. Caitlin Clark has struggled her first 2 games in the WNBA, and the league has been criticized for giving her such a tough start to her career and to her season. They're saying you have to ease her in, so she looks great because she's the face of the league. My counterpoint to that is that you either have it or you don't. It's just been 2 games, so there's no need to overreact. And while people are more drawn to the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark, nobody's denying she's a superstar. The WNBA is not about Caitlin Clark. The WNBA is about all the talented players they have playing in the league. And this league shouldn't be made just about Caitlin Clark because there's so many talented players that should be highlighted. First 2 games, you're facing Connecticut and the New York Liberty. The New York Liberty have Breanna Stewart, the league MVP,
correct,
and Sabrina, an all-star. Caitlin Clark is going to bring eyeballs to 2 talented players like them, and the Liberty are one of the best teams in the league. Yeah. You want that if you're WNBA, because this is not, like I said, about Caitlin Clark. It's about exposing everybody else to the league and what the talent has to offer. If Caitlin Clark is that special, she will rise above the adversity, and she will be put through it and become a better player because of it. This all comes back to what Diana Taurasi said about her, which Diana Taurasi got slandered for, but she ended up being right. She said reality is coming. She's a vet, an all-time WNBA player, and while everybody disrespected her for it, she was right. While Caitlin Clark is the most marketable star the WNBA has probably ever had in its history, she still has to earn that right to be that star. She will not be given it. She has to prove it. And that's what her career is all about. And I have disliked that so many people have made the WNBA now strictly about Caitlin Clark when it's not that, and it shouldn't be.
I'm with you 100%. Also, too, her struggles partially could be attributed to how unique the WNBA is. It starts in May, so like she had a month as an all season.
That's pretty wild.
That could play a role in it too. Fatigue. I mean,
what, she had fucking 2 practices?
Yeah, people are going to be quick to overreact because they're expecting the world, especially after what we saw from her at college at Iowa. That's understandable. Game 1 had 20 points, wasn't efficient. I believe 5 for 15 from the field. And then, of course, last night versus the Liberty, damn it, that was a terrible performance. She only made 1 3, and then the Indiana Fever were in a position where they still had to post that highlight. Hey, Caitlin Clark from 3, because, of course, they understand how marketable she is. I have no concerns. I think that she'll be able to translate. But let's show some love to the number 2 overall pick, Cameron Brink, who went out there last night, balled the hell out.
She's been awesome.
Hell yeah, as a passer, able to shoot the basketball, great shot blocker. She's been awesome in her own right. Now, you gentlemen can go because mine is a little bit more trivia based, and I don't know if you guys are trivia yourselves, but at the same time, that's up to you guys.
I have so I saw numbers on the board, shot numbers on the board. I saw them build a starting 5 with $15.
yeah, that's fire.
I said, let's flip that. Let's do it with the NFL. Okay. So let's build an NFL roster with $21 because we have 7 positions. So we're going to have quarterback, running back, 2 receivers, tight end, O-line, defense. So 7 positions, still $3 per position. So first up at quarterback, $5 is Josh Allen, $4 is Matt Stafford, $3 is Jalen Hurts, $2 is Tua, $1 is Derek Carr.
$3 for Jalen Hurts.
Who's the $4 one?
Matthew Stafford.
I'm building my team around Josh Allen. Give me Josh Allen.
$5 already? Jesus Christ. Jalen Hurts just went to the Super Bowl. He was a play away.
There's way more receiving talent I could get that might be like $3, $2 that I could surround Josh Allen
Tier
with.
1 superstar.
And you have no input on this?
I'm just the guy.
We're taking Josh Allen.
Yeah, we overrided you, buddy.
No. Jalen Hurts.
He's not a superstar.
He's not better than Josh Allen. He's not close.
No shit, he's not better than Josh.
No, he's not close.
He went to his Super Bowl and fucking
he had
went
a super
tit for
team.
tat.
Trent Dilfer went to a Super Bowl. That can't be a main reason.
Did he ever play anywhere? John.
John.
I'm just saying that can't be a main reason.
Are
what
you
I'm saying
serious?
is that can't be the main reason.
John,
why.
you talk some shit and it blows my mind. All right, Josh Allen, $5.
Okay.
Josh Allen is not fumbling like Jalen Hurts did.
Okay. Jalen Hurts is a very
Josh
good
Allen
quarterback.
Josh Allen threw the ball into the dirt over the middle of the field, right?
You're
we can do the
misunderstanding.
same shit.
He's not
What I'm
fumbling.
saying is that
Whatever.
the main reason why
I don't want to hear it.
He went
Truthfully.
to Jimmy
The Eagles
Garoppolo
were
went to a
far
Super
and away the
Bowl.
best team in the NFC that
Here we
year.
go.
And they had the best injury luck that season too.
If you give Josh Allen an Eagles roster, he would have won. Let's stop playing.
Anyhow, has Josh Allen been able to beat fucking Mahomes
Ever?
in the playoffs? playoffs.
Has Hurts been able to beat Mahomes?
Yeah,
Hell
he's
no.
awful.
All right,
I'm not
let's move
trying to
on.
disrespect
Anyhow,
Hurts either.
running backs.
Trent Dilfer.
Christian McCaffrey for $5, Breece Hall for $4, Aaron Jones for $3, James Cook for $2, Zach Moss for $1.
Aaron Jones, $3.
I'm feeling James Cook for $2.
I was nuts to say Zach Moss $1.
I don't hate it.
I'm not
Shane Steichen
opposed.
come with him?
I wish we
Let
could
me
see the
keep
receivers
track of this.
first.
No,
I don't
that's
want
why I
Cook-
like this.
Cook for $2.
But no, okay,
He's only
I'm not.
running back.
I'm also not against that too. I just think that you go Zach Moss. He was pretty awesome in his limited opportunity until obviously John Taylor returned.
I
But
also
again, running
think
back, not that valuable.
part of
So we're
that's-
taking $2 on James Cook.
That's what. Okay,
You
again,
want to?
we've spent
Why not?
$5 already. We have to
You
understand.
got to
that.
be cost effective.
That's why I think
And
Zach
listen,
Moss with
no,
with
but
Josh. That's
Also
a running
placeable
back.
position.
No,
All right.
Exactly.
Drew. But that part of that was byproduct of the system is Shane Steichen. I think you got to go with the
I'm
elite running
almost
back
willing
here
to
in
guarantee
Cook.
Zach Moss balls out in Cincy.
It's going to help. He's playing with that passing.
Okay,
game,
let's
which
go
opens
with
up
Zach
box.
Moss. Let's go because we're going to build a great
Why?
passing
You're
game.
underrating James
Zach-
Cook.
so
No,
Zach
because we
Moss-
have more
James
positions
Cook
to
was the top
fill.
5 running back this last
Running
year.
back is the
I'm
most
trying
replaceable
to-
position.
I'm trying to in fantasy football maybe. I'm trying
He's definitely top
to
10.
maximize our
One of the five
dollars.
most productive
You
running
threw away
backs.
2 of them when we took Josh, and I'm fine.
What do you
with that. He's the
mean?
best.
It's not throwing
He's the
away. He's
best.
the second best
He's
quarterback in the
amazing.
league.
That's why I
Jalen
didn't put
Hurts
Mahomes
amazing.
one because I was like, I know you're
that
going
was
to go
easy.
Mahomes.
I
All
just,
right.
I just think Cook is underrated, man.
I don't
You-
think
you
so.
love
I
James-
love
yeah, he
him.
loves
That's
James
my
Cook.
brother.
All right. We're taking Zach Moss, John. All right.
Yeah, I got
And you're
fucking
gonna you're gonna
overruled.
live with it.
You fucking
all
called
right?
Jalen Hurts, Trent Dilfer, you dummy. We're taking fucking
I
Zach
was just
Moss.
saying your reasoning was flawed. That's
No,
all.
it isn't. He was amazing.
So $6 spent so far between Josh and Zach Moss.
we're here.
2 receiver spots, and to be fair, and just so you guys know, it's me wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, but both are gonna have like $5 of dudes.
I'm cool.
So wide receiver 1, $5 Justin Jefferson, $4 Brandon Ayuk, $3 Jalen Waddle, $2 Calvin Ridley, $1 Jaden Reed.
I'm crazy for saying Jalen Waddle.
No, I was thinking the same thing.
If we want to be cost effective with $9, Jalen Waddle.
I agree.
We have some speed.
We have some space too. I'm thinking Jalen. This is an easy decision for me.
I'm rocking out with Jalen Waddle.
All right,
You going
I'll go.
Jalen Waddle? Let's speak up, John. Come on.
John, just because I shit on fucking Josh Allen doesn't mean that you don't have a say. Come on, buddy.
Jalen Waddle for $3. Wide receiver 2, Tyreek Hill for $5, Puka Nacua for $4, Amari Cooper for $3, D Hop for $2, Christian Kirk for $1.
Who was
Am I
$4?
Puka.
I like.
Am I
Amari
nuts
three.
to say D Hop?
D Hop.
I'm
for
going with
$2.
Tyreek. If Tyreek's available, I'm going with Tyreek.
Okay, how much money do we have if we?
So far you've spent $9 in total. 5 on Allen, 1 on Moss, 3 on Waddle.
and there's one more position after this.
Oh, no, brother, no. You have $21. There's 7 total positions.
Oh fucking goodness gracious!
So it's tight end and 2 offensive linemen or what?
So it's tight ends, O-line together, defense together.
I would go with Amari Cooper at 3.
So far you guys are on track because you spent $3 per position.
listen, we
when it
have our
averages out.
speed. We have our speed in Jalen.
Now you're getting your physical route
We go
runner
with,
from
I
all 3
think
levels.
D Hop personally still has it.
I think you're underrating Amari. He
Okay,
had a
I don't.
career
All right,
year.
I think D Hop is
With
still
some
better.
dog shit
Respectfully,
quarterback.
It says right now we have spent how many dollars?
think
Devs?
$9 in total.
We have spent $9. If we spend the 5 for Tyreek, we will spend $14. That gives us
seven. Good
$7
math.
Just 3 different
to spend for a tight end,
You know what?
defense, and offensive.
Let's bring
line.
Miami home. You said Tyreek.
Look, I'm a Steeler.
I'm thinking
fan.
about it now.
I'm a Steeler fan pounding the table for a Brown wide receiver. I think that should say enough.
My God, if Amari's our pick, I'm gonna throw up. It's Tyreek or Puka.
What's your problem?
What if we get Travis Kelce at tight
Bro,
end?
he just had
I agree, we still
1,200
can.
as some of the worst quarterback playing in football.
But right now, Amari is better than D Hop.
Easily.
That's why I had him in one spot
True.
because I also believe that to be true.
Drew, what are we
Still
doing?
had a rack, did he not?
Listen, let's make John make the pick. You know, John hasn't made the pick. We're going with Amari Cooper.
Amari
I'm
Cooper,
fine with
$3.
Yeah, I just gotta
here we
beat
go.
him twice before.
$12 spent.
Hasn't made
so
a pick,
far.
even though Josh Allen was his pick. Whatever, we'll keep it
Okay.
going.
Tight ends, $5.
Josh Allen's his pick,
Travis
too.
Kelce. $4, Trey McBride. $3, Dallas Goddard. $2, Cole Kmet. $1, Hunter Henry.
Listen, Trey McBride, $4. Send it to the crib.
Who's number 3?
Goddard.
Dallas Goddard.
Not a
None
bad
of
option
people are.
It's
either.
really not terrible.
That $1 could come back
Yeah,
to bite us if we take McBride.
Bro, honestly, we need. I would love to have an elite offensive line and an elite defense.
Yeah, so let's go with Goddard.
How much money we have still?
So far you have spent $12.
Yeah, we have 12 and we have 21.
Drew, we're going to
21
want
total.
our cream of the crop O line, man.
No, we're not. There's so many good ones.
Goddard is so underrated.
He's not.
If we take Trey McBride, we have $16 we spent, so we have
He's a
$5
borderline
left.
top. He's definitely a top
$5
10
left for an
tight end.
offensive line and a defense. That means we're getting a below average defense and
All
an
right.
average offensive
All right,
line.
if you're
He just
cool, if
wants
you're
to
cool
go
with
to
if you're
Dolphins,
cool
you
with
know?
$5 and $6 instead of 5, let's do it. So let's do it. Dallas Goddard. Send
Dallas
it.
Goddard, $3.
Josh Allen really fucked us. I'm just saying.
Now we have offensive line. $5, the Detroit Lions. $4, the Atlanta Falcons. $3, the New York Jets. $2, the Los Angeles Chargers. $1, the New York Giants.
I like that Jets.
I'm crazy for going with the Chargers with Joe All and Rashawn Slater.
Were they at 2 or 4?
And
that was at $2.
And Lindsley's still on the squad,
but the
correct?
Jets O-line,
He retired.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Wow.
you got Ola's depth with their tackle duo they've added. AVT in theory is healthy in the situation.
Well, we're saying if the Jets are healthy.
Jets healthy? I don't hate it.
We have $14, correct?
This is a...
To spend, you're saying? Or no,
we have $14 to spend.
You spend 6, 9, 12, 15 you've spent.
$15. If we go with the Chargers offensive line, we can get the best defense on the board.
I don't hate it.
I seem like I don't have much to say, so let's do it. Chargers.
I actually deferring to you as well. I don't really have a preference.
Going Chargers for $2? Okay.
What do you think?
Fucking Josh Allen was a mistake,
No, it
bro.
wasn't. You just like quarterbacks who never won a Super Bowl.
It's not true. I mean, Josh Allen literally has no chip. He's been to one AFC championship, John.
He's capable. He's capable.
What did Jalen Hurts look like this past year? Didn't he lose to the Buccaneers?
The point is Josh Allen's a Super Bowl material.
Josh Allen would never lose to the Bucs.
Josh Allen looked like dog shit against the Bengals. Can we stop? Please give me the...
Jalen Hurts looked like dog shit against the Bucs.
How did
it's not his
Allen
fault.
look this last year, man?
Jared Goff looked like a superstar against them.
Not his fault.
I don't
If he had
disagree.
Ben Johnson, God forbid.
Please.
Okay. The defense.
Just hates these elite quarterbacks.
$5, New York Jets. $4, Kansas City Chiefs. $3, Chicago Bears. $2, the Eagles. $1, Commander.
We have $5 left or $4 left.
So you spent 6, 9, 12, 15. You spent 17. So you have $4 left.
I like
So
the
we got the
Chiefs at
Chiefs.
4.
Chiefs
Chiefs
defense.
defense.
Yeah, Super Bowl winning defense.
losing
Fine
with
with
this.
But hey, it's still an awesome defense.
That's great. We got Chris Jones.
great
We got
stats.
What were the last
Zags.
defenses?
Bears for
pretty good.
3, Eagles for 2, Commanders for 1.
Bears are a sleeper, but I'm fine with the Chiefs.
So this would be your starting lineup. You have Josh Allen at quarterback, $5. Zach Moss at running back for $1. Jalen Waddle at receiver for 3. Amari Cooper at receiver for 3. Dallas Goedert at tight end for 3. Chargers offensive line for $2. And the Chiefs defense for $4.
Who's going to say it? Who's going to say it?
Say what?
This team fucking sucks.
So what did you rather do? Get
This
Jalen
team
Hurts?
fucking sucks.
What's the perfect team that you think is so much better?
If we would have went Jalen Hurts, we would have had $2. We would have had $2.
You could have gotten a stud wide receiver. You could have got Tyreek or Jettis.
That's all I'm saying.
But then we don't have a
sorry.
stud superstar quarterback.
Would you rather Jalen Hurts and Tyreek Hill or
damn,
Josh
dude.
Allen and Amari Cooper?
And you had to stay quiet this whole fucking segment? Whatever, man.
I don't
What's-
know, bro.
what's
You have Justin Jefferson and Jalen Waddle. Is that not comparable to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith?
Hold up.
And
Drew,
Jalen
Drew,
Hurts just had that and lost to the Bucs in the
You
first
would
round.
rather have
The
Jalen
year
Hurts
before
with
when that
Tyreek.
Jalen Hurts
No,
just
she
had an
won the
elite
Super
offensive
Bowl.
line, 2-star wide receivers, a stud tight end,
still didn't win a
and
Super
lost to
Bowl.
the Bucs.
Oh my God.
Dude,
He was trash.
horrendous.
He was garbage.
Josh Allen with that supporting cast is winning a Super Bowl. And he is a 17-0 challenge, right?
Brother.
Oh no, I just
We
Super
saw
Bowl.
him with the number 1 defense
Allen?
and yeah.
Was it the number 1
Allen.
defense in that postseason? No. So
Why is that? Why is that, John?
Injuries. Their
Because they
entire
played
defense is
against
hurt.
Kansas City. No shit.
You think that Jalen Hurts is on par with Josh Allen?
No.
So why are you making a big deal out of this?
For the money purposes to make our
Yeah, but
roster
if
great.
we're not getting the
Drew.
second best quarterback in the league, if we're getting Hurts
We're
instead,
still getting
Drew.
a top 5, top
Yeah.
6 QB.
But I'd rather have Waddle and Cooper with Allen than
think,
Jalen Hurts and Tyreek Hill
the issue
or
here is
Waddle.
that you're just underrating Amari Cooper and Jalen Waddle. Those are two
Jalen
awesome
Waddle I
receivers.
love.
Those are high end twos. They're high end twos.
Amari Cooper's a 1.
Every
On
time
what?
A low end 1, but he's a 1.
On what? What is he a low end
High
one
end
on?
2, low
He's
end
been
1.
a 1 the entire career.
Amari Cooper, what he's a number 1 wide receiver.
No, okay. And what is any team that he's been on done?
Bro, have you seen his quarterback plays last
What?
year?
He
had
That was the best
Dak
year of his career.
Prescott.
This last year. It
Dak
was some of the
Prescott
worst
before Amari
quarterback
Cooper
play.
got there, he was struggling. It wasn't
Yeah.
until they
He was
made
out
the
of
trade to where he had a
sophomore
great
slump.
season.
13 and
Amari.
3 team. His
Amari
rookie
Cooper with Joe
season.
Flacco
Because of
and
the
Deshaun
rush
Watson
attack
just had
and
1,200
offensive line.
Put
yards.
it up with Joe Flacco. Don't get that twisted.
Wait, so
I'm not
John,
saying Amari.
what Drew
He's
wanted
a
to do
number
instead
1. I wanted what I wanted.
wrong
Very
with you?
was
simply.
DeAndre Hopkins. That's what you said.
So we can
you wanted
afford more at
D-Hop
the
over
end.
Amari Cooper?
So we can maybe get a Travis Kelce. No, we have fucking Dallas Goedert now.
Dallas Goedert's fine though.
It's
fine.
But then Travis Kelce.
$3. I thought
What's
Dallas
the problem
Goedert was
with
the most
Dallas
$3 pick.
Yeah, it's a very good value. I like him. Good player.
He's not a bad player.
He's a top 10 tight end.
Listen, I think what you did was cook him an amazing segment. All right, the amazing
Great
segment.
Appreciate that. Shout out numbers on the board. Did
John-
not make this up myself.
Please go ahead.
All right, so my this week in the NBA was Draymond Green's podcast. I've always appreciated Draymond on the court, but off the court, I feel like Draymond is slowly becoming less likable because his podcast to me is very disingenuous. So this last week, he was talking about Rudy Gobert saying, hey, how is the defensive player of the year not guarding the best player in the NBA? How is Karl Anthony Towns defending Jokic so that Rudy Gobert can be the most valuable off the ball as a roamer and help? And in my mind, I'm like, Draymond Green's podcast really does cater to the more lukewarm fan of basketball that doesn't want any X's and O's or nuance. And I feel like Draymond as a player knows he's not giving the truth because he's just trying to make his podcast kind of clickbaity in a way. And I look at these clips and I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm sorry.
Keep cooking,
Keep going,
John.
bro.
Keep cooking.
I'm distracted because I'm talking to all three of you while you're looking at Joel's
I'm listening
parlay.
You guys
you.
were laughing at something earlier when I was talking about Kyrie. I don't know what
Oh
it
no,
was.
I
I know.
farted and it
Oh,
smelled like
Come on, John.
No,
Be
I never
professional. Come on.
John, you know how many times
No.
I'm talking to no one on this podcast?
I lost my train of thought because it was this. I don't know.
Talking about
Draymond
Draymond
Green.
Green and
He
being
sucks.
disingenuous.
As I was going to say, I feel like his podcast is very clickbaity in the way in which he never actually brings nuance to his takes. And even when he was in the playoffs in past years, he doesn't want to give away any adjustments the Warriors are making in the middle of the Grizzlies series. And I just think in and of itself, Draymond's slowly becoming like Pat Bev-like in the way in which he's talking about the NBA. And I think he's great on the mic. I just wish he wasn't coming at players like that when 2015 NBA Finals, he wasn't the one guarding LeBron James. That was Andre Iguodala. And so for him to criticize Rudy Gobert for not guarding Nikola Jokic, I think it's not only disingenuous, but it's in many ways the word I'm looking for here is when you're criticizing someone, it's hypocritical.
Hypocritical.
Thank you. It's hypocritical, I think.
What's
the
that
way you're
education
just-
doing for you, buddy?
Sorry.
I'm just being a prick. I
Shout out to
apologize.
Sorry.
What's up?
It's a shout to Waldwick.
Shout Waldwick. Yeah, I didn't have a senior year, so,
So
that's why. I didn't have a full
I'm questioning
high school
something.
experience.
So if we took
Oh, not this fucking.
yeah,
money
no,
shit,
it is.
bro.
If we took DeAndre Hopkins, let's say we took Jalen Hurts, and then
No, all right. If we took Jalen Hurts, we get a better receiver and or a tight end. We maybe even get a better running back. Who knows? Maybe we get a better O-line than the Chargers.
What's the most important position?
$2. Oh, the quarterback agreed.
So why would
but
you
is
not-
why are you talking like Jalen Hurts is a fucking puppet?
I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. That's why.
Oh my god.
You think Dak's better?
he just had his worst season.
He
Is
threw for
Jalen,
3,800.
bro,
I'm sorry.
he
I
was
like
mid
Jalen.
last year.
Second
he was
half of the
mid
year
last
was
year.
bad, but
no,
he's
even in the
it's
even,
coaching.
No, no,
I would say
no, no.
number one
I'm
guy.
tired of this
First
narrative.
11 games,
even
stamp
even
it,
when the
great
Eagles
quarterback.
even when the Eagles were winning games, he did not look impressive. He got outplayed in
Up and
80% of those
downs, had
games.
some up and downs.
He got
Did-
outplayed in
did they-
80% of
did they
those
not have
games.
one of the worst
Matt
offensive
Jones
coordinators in the
outplayed
NFL?
him.
They did.
Mac Jones doesn't have a job anymore. Oh, he does.
And he
Backup.
did. Yeah, he outplayed him. That's sad. Jalen Hurts last year was mid, bro, and he has great receivers. He had a
sorry.
great offensive line. He had a good run game.
I don't think he's better
Oh,
than
now he's a
Stafford.
good run game.
I don't think he's better
Fucking
than
hate
Love
DeAndre
or CJ
Swift.
Stroud.
With that
Or Aaron
offensive line, you
Rodgers
always gonna
in
have a
this
good
stage.
run game.
Because of
So-
Jalen Hurts.
No, because of the
Is
because the
Jalen Hurts a
offensive
good
line.
quarterback without a doubt? I think he's pretty good, but there's just levels to it. And
He's
Josh
not Matthew
Allen,
Stafford. No way, no
Josh
how.
Allen,
When he doesn't have a
respectfully,
bottom
he's
five
on a
OC, let's see what
completely
it looks like
different
this
level.
You think Jalen Hurts is better than CJ Stroud?
I would still take yes.
You think Jalen Hurts is better than Matthew Stafford?
Yes.
Is he?
Oh, that's
my
crazy.
God, that's
No,
wild.
that's casual.
That's
I'm not gonna
bullshit.
lie.
That's
Yeah,
bullshit.
he's not better than
bullshit.
Matthew Stafford.
He's
bro.
not.
Come on.
Stafford
Let's
had
be
what-
honest.
Again,
his
let
last
me
3
ask you a
years,
question.
man.
Was
Come
Matthew
on.
Stafford a top 10 quarterback when he was injured for a majority of the season?
I'm
2
not gonna
years
lie.
ago?
I think I would have them all in the same tier going. into
Matthew
next year.
Stafford
Right,
was
but would you
100%
rather
better
have
than Jalen
Stafford
Hurts
or
last year.
Hurts?
100%.
Would you rather Stafford or Hurts?
for one season.
Just objectively,
It's tough because Stafford.
Am I getting a healthy Jalen Hurts?
you're getting a healthy both.
Okay, I'm right now. I would take Jalen Hurts.
It's close. That's neck and neck.
I wouldn't take more Kyler.
He
or
can't
either,
read
but
defenses like
I'm a
Stafford.
Kyler
He
guy.
did
Now
not
heads
get
are on Kyler people. Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
No,
You're
don't
taking
do that.
Kyler
No, he's
over
always
Hurts?
said that.
been a
He's
Kyler
always said
fan.
that. He's always
Yeah.
said that.
Taking
He's always
Kyler
said
over
I
Hurts.
was saying that before last year too.
that. There you go.
Kyler or Lamar?
Kyler or Lamar? Lamar.
Why though?
You think
Why?
Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts is a debate?
Right now, because he's a 2-time MVP, I'll respect Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, no, it's
Lamar
clear.
is just a higher level rusher. I would also
course.
say
Oh my God, TJ McConnell's some bullshit.
as a
I
passer.
can't believe that it's a
on
smoking
different-
right now.
Yeah.
It was close earlier.
I know,
I
it
won a game
sucks.
7.
I didn't.
Oh, my two kings, Lamar and Jalen Hurts. We don't have to debate them. Just realize they're both phenomenal.
All right, my this week in the NBA. Listen, we've seen some pretty awesome defense in the playoffs. We've seen some pretty mid defense in this playoffs. My trivia this week, we're going to kick it back to the regular season. Can you guys name me the bottom 10 defenses in the association this season.
Defensive rating.
Utah
Jazz.
Yes, they are.
Washington Wizards.
Give me one
Sorry.
second.
Yeah, this is
Give me
way
one
too
second.
quick for him. Give him a second.
I know for a fact that the Utah Jazz are number 30th.
Do you have it like about 10 ranks?
I got them. You mentioned the Washington Wizards. They are number 28. They are the third worst.
Are the Hornets 30th?
The Hornets are number 29.
Pistons.
The Pistons are number 25.
The
Correct.
Trailblazers.
The Trailblazers are number 23.
So we haven't named the number 30, right?
You did. The Utah Jazz.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed it.
Memphis Grizzlies.
The Memphis Grizzlies are not here.
Pacers.
The Pacers
They
are number
finished-
24.
I was gonna say I knew
Good
they moved
poll.
up a little bit.
The Mavericks are 21st, right? Looking
The
at this other
Mavericks
Are
are not
20th.
here.
I think they finished 20th. in
No, they
defensive
finished
rating.
18th.
No, you're right.
What are
it
you
was
using?
20th in
Using
point,
basketball
opponents point per
reference,
game.
NBA.com,
NBA.com.
StatMuse? Okay,
wrong,
NBA.com's
John.
different.
I live and die. I live and die.
On basketball
are
reference.
the
I'm
NBA
right,
are
so.
the defensive ratings
No,
different?
no.
per
On
se?
basketball reference,
little
their
bit.
defense rating is 18th.
I live and
Isn't
die,
it all
John.
per
Sure.
100
Their
possessions?
opponent points per game is 20th.
John, I'm just letting it be known. When
I promise you.
When
Look it up.
Okay. I live and die by NBA.com and their advanced stats. I live and die, but when it comes to team stats, this is where I go. 18th.
It's 18th, right? On Pro Basketball Reference.
My laptop's not loading yet.
Okay. All right. Just can we please move on?
Okay, Atlanta Hawks.
The Atlanta Hawks are number 27.
The Spurs.
The Spurs are not here.
The Brooklyn Nets.
Just kidding.
Yes, they are.
21. Well done.
Do it.
The Brooklyn Nets are not here. Just one spot off.
Pretty sure the Kings finished top 20.
Kings.
Yes, they're top 15.
All right.
They're like 13.
You don't want to guess them?
the Kings on here.
I wouldn't.
All right.
They're not.
Are you sure? John?
Positive.
John's the guy. Who knows?
Okay. Listen, you're getting 3 strikes. So
How many more teams do
I've
we
heard
have?
one incorrect team. You have number 22. You have number 26. And that's it.
This is missing 22
I'm
and
just checking the
26.
Mavericks.
Yes.
Am I-
You got 2 strikes left.
The Warriors.
That's strike 2.
Yeah. I'd
Okay,
go.
we can talk about it.
Yeah, I'd
We
like
can talk
to-
about it. We can talk about
If
it.
you read that by me, I would have said no.
Philly or Miami?
Philly.
Did either of them fall into the bottom 10?
I
Of
wouldn't say
defense?
I don't know if
Definitely not
Miami or Philly did
Philly's probably like in the teens.
that. So is Miami.
All right. I will read you the teams you have. At 21, we have the Spurs. At 23, we have the Blazers. At 24, we have the Pacers. 25, we have the Pistons. 27, we have the Hawks. 28, we have the Wizards. 29, we have the Hornets. 30, we have the Jazz.
Toronto? I said Toronto.
Yo, low key, the Lakers are not a terrible pick.
You're right.
solid pick.
They were second half of the year. They were fucking terrible.
We haven't picked the Raptors yet.
You got to think of a better pick though.
Wait, the
than
Bucks.
Lakers.
We haven't picked the Bucks yet.
The Bucks aren't that low.
I
would
said I
they?
thought they finished top. They were like always kind of middle of the pack. Once Doc got there, they were like 14th or 12th.
So I'm just running through all the divisions.
No,
I'm
once
not
I got
gonna
there, they
lie
were
to
like
you.
top
So we have to talk about the teams that it's not. So it's not the Celtics.
Nope.
It's not the Knicks.
Nope.
It's not the Cavs.
Nope.
Not the
It's not the Magic.
No. We said the Pacers.
I don't think it's the Heat or the Sixers.
I agree. I don't think it is either.
We haven't said the Bulls yet. You can maybe jot that down. Make sure we haven't
I'll
said
note
the
that
Bulls
in
yet.
my mind.
Okay, we already said the Hawks, correct?
Yeah.
So Bulls, write that down. The Raptors, we haven't said them yet.
We guess the Spurs. Is that a correct pick?
We already
they
said
were
they're number 21.
21.
Thank you.
It can be OKC. It can be Minnesota.
All right. I'm going to give you guys a 10-second shot clock, and I'm going to need a guess.
Good.
Listen, I think
you're
it's Lakers,
gonna-
Raptors.
I was
Who do you
thinking
wanna
of a
go?
hint. We go with the Lakers.
Is
We're
your-
going with the Lakers. That's our pick.
Are you going to stamp this?
I'm 2 to 3. I don't know.
Mr. Dehls, I wish you stood on business. The Raptors and the Bulls are the last 2 teams.
Really? I would have never thought it would have been the Bulls.
The Bulls were number 22 and the Raptors 26.
I mean, they only have like Caruso as a defender, really.
Yeah, I mean, they have Vooch as their fucking.
Yes, but it's Io, Torrey Craig, Pat Williams. They have a lot of decent.
You
defenders.
serious? You just named those guys.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of mid.
He said Caruso, Patrick Williams, Torrey Craig, Io DeSumo.
That's basically the same exact cast that had minus Lonzo 2 years ago when they were a top 10 team.
Don't ever sell Lonzo that short ever again.
I wasn't. I was just saying the same exact cast. I was top 10 with Lonzo.
Lonzo and Caruso, arguably the best defensive backcourt we've ever seen in our lives.
Okay. All right.
The NFL released their schedule, and I wanted to share some of the biggest takeaways from it. I'll start with the first biggest takeaway.
Okay.
Primetime games for the NFL next season.
The majority of them are good.
6 primetime contests. The Jets, 49ers, and Cowboys. They have the most primetime games.
Prime time.
5 primetime contests. The Chiefs, Bills, Packers, Lions, Bengals, Ravens, Eagles, Dolphins, and Rams.
Respect that.
A lot of great teams.
Love that.
4 primetime contests. The Texans, Steelers, Bucks, Seahawks, Falcons, and Browns.
Half those teams could go.
3 primetime contests. The Giants, Bears, Chargers, and Saints.
And embarrassing. I guess you need some.
Bears, Chargers, you
Bears,
can live with
Chargers
it.
we're here for. Bears,
2
definitely.
2
Swap the
primetime
Bears and the
contests.
Bucks.
Vikings, Raiders, Commanders, Broncos, and Jaguars.
I'm surprised we got any.
1 primetime contest. The Colts, Patriots, Titans, and Cardinals. And the Panthers have 0.
Damn. The Colts only having one is disrespectful.
Yeah, I agree.
The Cardinals
That's
too
one of the
only
most
having
fun
one is
offenses in the
disrespectful.
NFL.
I'm always looking for give me great quarterbacks. The teams could be kind of skeptical going into it. Like we don't really know how the Cardinals are going to look this season, but I want to see Kyler Murray. I would much rather see Kyler Murray play. No disrespect, John. I don't need to see the Steelers 4 times. I know they're a historical franchise. They got all that going. I do not want to
Justin
watch
Fields
them.
is playing.
I do not want to watch them.
Get those garbage cans off my screen. How about that, John?
We win a lot more games than your team. I agree with you on the Colts.
When was the last time you won a playoff game?
If we were healthy, it would have been more
Oh, the
recently
year
the
that we
Broncos.
beat you on our way to the chip? Got it.
You're lucky you're missing
Got
our
it.
3 best offensive players, not in the big
Got
game.
it.
So,
Hold that.
you're lucky. The Super Bowl comes down. Not always the best
Super Bowl
team. It's the
50.
luckiest team by health. So.
Oh, I guess you can.
But I agree with you on the Colts part because that is one of the most electric offenses in football. Healthy JT. You add an AD Mitchell along Josh Downs and a PJ.
Facts.
For them to get one game to me is pretty crazy. The coaching as well. Then I think it was which team had the most? The Jets, right?
The Jets, Niners, and Cowboys.
I like the Jets. The Cowboys, it's fine, but the New York Jets to me this year are going to be a big sleeper pick because of how much they add in terms of the depth. There's not as much disaster potential as the last couple of years.
Oh, if Rodgers gets hurt, that's a disaster.
Yo, fucking
On the offensive line.
Breaking news. The Jets, if healthy, are going to be good. Hot take.
They're a top 3 team for me. And I think a big part of it is
okay.
that
Now,
offensive line.
now I'm respecting this
That
statement a lot
O-line.
more.
Because you think about Olu as depth. AVT, we'll see. That's a big question.
I'm like that 5'6" range, but 3. Okay.
I think in past years where things fell apart with Zach Wilson, Tyrod Taylor's a really good backup. He gets hurt. Jordan Travis can step in and play fine for a rookie
heavens.
quarterback.
Jordan
I
Travis?
think he can.
Come on,
John,
dude.
As
Time out, brother.
For a day
Time
3
out.
pick. For a day 3 pick, I like him a lot.
He's trying to
So-
make another Rashid Shaheed take,
I don't
man.
think Jordan
I'm
Travis
done with
is
this.
ready to play year 1.
Okay, fair
Don't
enough.
think he's ready to play year 1.
Coming off his injury as well.
Let's
Fair
just
I
go
think he's a
with
good NFL backup.
best case scenario. We got
Elias
Aaron
backup.
Rodgers healthy for the entire season.
But
Jordan
it was
Travis.
not about the
We'll
backup
go straight to
quarterback as
fucking.
much.
It's nuclear war. We need to play our 3rd string quarterback.
No, I'm just saying in the event you guys have a higher floor. So it's not like you can be stuck watching Zach Wilson under center like past years.
I'll be stuck watching Jordan Travis.
Well, Tyrod Taylor.
Well,
most
yeah,
likely.
but then you brought up
If
Jordan
he-
Travis.
If he
Zach
gets
Wilson.
hurt too.
Tyrod Taylor, I like. I could live with a game or 2 of him backing up. I could live with that.
I have 2 big takeaways from this schedule. Well, 3, I guess, including the Jets. I think the Jets start to the season.
They can start 5-1.
They could start on
a light
fire. Now,
schedule.
they do have a lot of rest disadvantages. I think there's 2 different times throughout the season where they're playing like 3 games in like 18 days or something like that. But when you look at their actual schedule of opponents, week 1, we know the 49ers is tough. But then you're getting potentially 4 rookie quarterbacks in a row. You have Tennessee week 2, or I guess Levis isn't a rookie, I shouldn't say that. But Tennessee
First
week
starter.
2, New England week 3, Denver week 4, Minnesota week 5. You could start off hot. You got Buffalo, but then you got Pittsburgh, New England, Houston, Arizona, Indy. The Jets get off to a hot start. The 2 other teams I mentioned, they're actually about the Dolphins and Steelers. So I don't know if you guys wanted to talk about that. So I'll hold there, and if you
I'm
guys want to have
so
comments.
pissed about the Steelers schedule. We don't play a team in our division until mid-November. So for the first 11 weeks, we're playing all teams out of the conference, and then we play everybody in the AC North, plus teams like Kansas City on Christmas. It is one of the toughest schedules.
Week
We play
11
13
on.
good. We play 13 good teams this year. I counted.
Week 11
We don't got
on for
many
the
freebies.
Steelers is Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Philly, Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati.
Those last 8 weeks are brutal.
I think this is the first time Mike Tomlin goes under 500.
I-
I'm ready to say it.
I love
It's
their
happening this
offseason.
year. It has to happen this year.
I love their off season, but that release of the schedule really did break me.
You do start off
Good.
kind of like you start off Atlanta
and Denver.
Okay, you
All
don't
in those first 2 games. Not worried about that.
I'll say Denver.
If Bo Nix fucking torches you guys,
No,
get
really.
ready to hear
Should we
me.
go through the Steelers
Joey
schedule?
Porter's got a clamp.
Can we
Cortland
can we
Sutton.
predict the Steelers schedule? Maybe a little bit too early. Can we predict the Steelers schedule?
Let's do it.
Okay. Week 1 at Atlanta.
I say it's to win Arthur Smith's revenge tour.
It's an L.
Okay.
Hey, week 1's a toss-up. We'll see. We lost to Valley last year.
0-1.
I'll keep
Listen, I'll go with an L here.
Okay.
Week 2 at Denver.
I think it's a W. There's a huge talent disparity between these two teams. I think Russ gets his revenge.
John, I feel like you're the Steelers guy. I want you to do this prediction because, I might say more L's than you, honestly.
I'm
Go
going
ahead,
to be
John.
very fair.
Fucking drive the boat. Yeah.
We'll go with week 1 loss and a week 2 victory.
Okay.
All right, 1-1.
Fair enough.
Week 3 at home against Chargers.
That is going to be a really good game.
1-2. 1-2.
Last time, they had a lot more weapons. This time around, with them having to rediscover themselves, brand new roster, I'll have Pittsburgh getting this W.
It's 2-1.
Wait, against the Chiefs, correct?
Chargers.
Oh, I thought I heard Chiefs. Apologize.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do play on Christmas.
Got it. 2-1.
Week 4 at Indy.
That's a great game. I think we lose for a second time. They killed us last year, but A. Rich is going to be healthy this game around.
2-2.
Week 5 at home against the Cowboys.
That's a great game. For Dallas, I just worry about the Russian attack, and I think Pittsburgh's going to set the tone this one and get this W.
Okay. Week 6 at the Raiders.
That's a win for sure.
Okay.
4-2.
4-2.
Great start to the season, right?
Week 7 at home to the Jets.
That's a tough matchup, man. Last time y'all beat us at home, too. The
Beat
Jets
us
are going
last
to get
2
victory here. We're going to take tough L.
Week 8, you got the other New York team, New York Giants.
W.
Okay. So now week 9, you have your bye. Got some time to reflect because you got a tough schedule coming up.
And they are 5-3.
5-3. Week 10, though, out of the bye, Washington.
W.
Okay.
That's worst
6
team.
and
That's the
3.
worst team in football.
Here we go. Week 11 at home against Baltimore.
Hey, we went 5-1 last year in the AFC North. We're going to start with a W here. At home?
At home.
We're going to start with a W here at home.
Week 12 at Cleveland.
Man, it's a tough game. I think we're going to split with the Browns. I'll go with a win on the road.
Holy shit.
Okay.
8-3 start to the
Yeah.
season.
Hey, last
From deep.
I'm trying to think when we started last year. 7-5 on the lines of that.
Week 13 at Cincinnati.
L.
Week
Handful.
14 home to Cleveland.
L. We're splitting.
Week 15 at Philadelphia.
Been talking all this
Last
shit.
time they killed us, it was Kenny Pickett's second start. I think this time around, we get a W.
Okay.
versus
Okay,
Philadelphia.
where are we now? They're at 11 wins yet?
There are 9 wins now.
9 wins.
9 wins.
Okay, so now we have week 16 at Baltimore.
Loss. We're splitting with the
Week
Ravens.
17 home against the Chiefs.
I wish we were playing them on Christmas. I think we're losing to Kansas City.
I think so too. Week 18 at home against Cincy.
I had us winning against the. I think we're going to split with all 3 teams in this division.
Okay.
That's
So
a win there.
3-3.
That's a win there because he
Okay.
took the loss the first
So
time.
I was beating the Bengals to wrap up our season and finishing with 10 wins.
Was that 10?
10-7, yes.
Okay.
10
That felt like 12, but okay.
Same
10-7.
record as
10-7, and you guys beat
Because of
Atlanta.
that big
You guys
start.
beat the Cowboys.
No, that's with us losing week 1 to the
Okay,
Falcons. Yep.
so with 10-7, you beat the Cowboys. You beat the Eagles.
Yes. We
Any-
split in our division.
And the other crazy
You
ones?
completely wiped the NFC East.
Yes.
What else did he say? Well, going 3-3 in
Washington,
division,
New
Yes.
York.
which you'll
and-
probably be underdogs in.
I think the
Most of the
Cowboys
games.
this year are a very sneaky pick to miss the playoffs. I'm not very high on their team.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all.
Worried about that Russian attack and the O-line. No, lost a couple of pieces.
But Drew, the other team I want to mention was the Miami Dolphins because their end of
get it.
season schedule is brutal.
It's crazy because the first 11 weeks, shit, you can make an argument that they could get to that 8-9, fringe 10 win mark at that point. But also looking at it, from Thanksgiving on, it's the Packers, the Jets, the Texans, the Niners, the Browns, and then the Jets to close out the season. Can guarantee a win in one of those Jets games. I mean, you just understand that Tua Tagovailoa owns the New York Jets franchise, hasn't lost to them a single game that he's played against them in his career. But also, I mean, I can't help but think at the same time, you guys are right. The NFL scriptwriters, they got something against December 2. They want him to fail in that month because you faced the Texans, you faced the Niners, you faced the Jets defense, who in my
Only
opinion,
2 cold games though, at Cleveland, at New York. send your
agreed,
home, and then Dome.
definitely going to be beneficial to him there. We saw him in
Green Bay,
December.
though.
We saw him in December against Dallas inside. He was awesome. Get him inside, he's gonna ball the fuck out. I can almost guarantee that. But at the same time, man, going against the Niners, going against the Jets twice. Texans, who will be a better defense this season. Not ideal, but I still trust in my brother in Christ. He's going to have an amazing December.
Well, it wouldn't matter if he was good. If he was good, I don't think that.
So he's not
matters.
good. Tua was bad.
He's pretty mid. Yeah, he's mid in the biggest games. Absolutely, he's mid.
Okay.
Look at the numbers. He's below average.
You know, you could
playoffs
argue,
has been
this
good.
newfound Jordan Love top 10
Later.
was pretty fucking mid against San Francisco.
I mean, he is a de facto rookie.
Play like a top 3
my
quarterback
friend.
down a stretch.
He was the best quarterback, in
Right, but in the
football last
biggest
10
game of his
weeks.
career, John, he was dog shit.
I mean,
would
he
you
played-
argue?
He played quite well around before. So
Okay, against
for the
Dallas,
Cowboys.
agreed.
You think
It was Aaron
Tua
Jones
is better
driving
than
the
Jordan
bus,
Love?
But
I would still take my brother.
Jordan
Price.
Love just brings a level of
You take Tua over
playmaking
Jordan
out of
Love?
structure that Tua simply
Yeah,
can't.
I said what
and
I
by
said.
the way, that's why 2 years ago I said I'd rather have Jordan Love for his upset over Tua, and you shit on me for
Yeah, you
long.
saw
You told
nothing.
me. He told me behind the scenes, like, I'm never going to call you out for that. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, Jordan
You're
Love.
right.
I
You're
was
right
like,
about
I was
it.
like,
Yeah.
Jordan Love hasn't even got his chance
called him a
yet for us to
joke.
see.
John,
It's
you,
called a preseason
John,
game,
you
my
took
friend.
you took
Come
a
on.
fucking step back three, blindfolded, hoped
No,
and
it wasn't
prayed.
blindfolded. It was
No.
not blindfolded. I believed in Jordan Love's tools in a
people
situation
saw
where he
it.
could
Some
sit
people didn't.
as he needed to sit.
Is that the?
I also
being a
thought
Joel
the
Moran merchant?
disrespect because of preseason games and training camp throws was a bit disingenuous and unfair to him.
Okay, but you saw
He was
Clown.
nothing.
project.
He looked like a clown with those tapes. You know?
He did. No, that 1,000% he did not
He
look
had all the
good.
tools. He just needed some time to refine his skill set.
So then why
and
don't
he
you believe in Trey
sat
Lance?
behind one of the 3 best quarterbacks.
Believe in Trey
ever.
Lance.
He don't have the same physical
Trey
tools
Lance
as
is
Jordan
chance,
Love.
first
right?
of all.
Just
I don't
believe in
Trey
Trey
Lance.
Lance. He has the
That.
tools.
He never had a chance.
It's different. With Love, I believe in the pocket presence, the out of structure playmaking,
The ability
arm
to start a
strength.
game.
Wait, wait,
Trey
Yeah,
Lance
with Trey Lance. Yeah,
can't
yeah. I
play.
mean, Trey
I mean,
Lance
he can't stay.
He can't win a job.
He
No,
can't stay
he
healthy. It's
Got
unfortunate.
screwed.
He also, you're right. Don't Dehls him with. He's only
Could've
gotten
been.
3 starts in the NFL. Not ideal that he couldn't stay healthy. But with Love, it was all of the trades physically.
Broncos should have traded.
But then he was very mature
Trey Lance,
quarterback.
easily.
Very mature quarterback
No,
as
but what do we
well.
do? We trade
Is that-
fucking
I
Zach
guess I'm
Wilson.
talking to the clouds again here.
John,
In
we're
spite of being
listening.
John,
We're
this is
listening.
what happens,
Nah.
John.
We actively listen. I have
No,
these
it's
fucking
cap.
headphones for
It's
a
cap
reason.
because you're speaking to each other, having your own little discussion while I'm trying to explain.
fucking keep talking.
My love.
John, I got a question for you. There was only one team to have 26 points or more against the Chiefs defense last season. What team was it?
It was the fucking Packers. Yes, we know.
Jordan Love was awesome in that game, right?
Zach Wilson also played very
Zach
well
Wilson
against the
had an
Terrible
all-time
Chiefs.
game.
Well,
I
Jordan
believe.
Love played
Oh,
well
God, did I
against the
believe.
Chiefs.
That was
He
one
played
of the
well
biggest
against the top 10
out-
defense with the
Oh my
Vikings.
God.
He played well against the
Talk about
Bears
outlier.
with the season on the line. He torched them. He lit them up. And then
How
he
about
lit
that
up one of the best
Thanksgiving
defenses in the league in the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, really? One of the best defenses in the league. Really? You believe that? Wholeheartedly.
Statistically, yes, they were that.
Okay. Dallas
The
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
You know, Aaron Jones drove the bus, but Love still played.
But against a legitimate defense in the San Francisco
say.
49ers.
He played well, though, in that
De
game.
facto
The
rookie.
Cowboys
well.
defense
Road
was
environment.
definitely helpful
True.
towards their schedule. I'll say that.
Not many people had the Packers making the playoffs and win a playoff game last year.
Oh, no,
No,
I
hell
give them
no.
endless credit.
And Love played fine up until the fourth quarter of that game. We had a couple of bad decisions.
Yeah, for the
I don't
majority of the
think
game, he
that-
played good. He played well. He made
Up until the end.
The,
Those are awful
the
throws.
play he
Shit,
had.
man.
terrible
Let Tua throw
decisions.
for under 200 yards and me say he didn't play
Well, that's because Tua versus
He
the
can't
Chiefs
even make
overseas.
it to January.
Yeah, he
let alone
can't play in the
win a
playoffs. That's
game.
one. Yo,
He made it.
John,
He played in the playoffs.
And he
John
played
Dehls.
fucking
Let me
dog
re-
shit.
let me
Again,
refresh your memory.
people lost their fingers at that game. It was that cold, John.
I'm aware.
What
They
happened
lost
against the
their
Chiefs in
fingers.
London? What happened to them?
Well,
Oh, no, it was
I
the
wasn't
Germany.
aware
I think it
about
was the
that. I
Germany.
knew it was
Germany, I
cold
think.
as shit, obviously, but like,
Yeah, they lost their
ideas that-
fingers, John.
I
Be
also-
sensitive.
I do think
I didn't know.
Jordan Love and Tua are in separate tiers.
Whatever, Joel. You're a fucking
No, you're
merchant.
smart.
Move by the
No, you're
moment.
smart.
I'm
You
fine.
know- you know.
Whatever.
He's being moved finally.
This guy told me that Daniel Jones was perfect too, and then fell off that ship. It happens. It's just natural. Joel is a
One day.
a moment
You just
merchant.
love
We all
these
have our moments.
mediocre
One bad day.
quarterbacks, and I admire that. I do. I think
He's gonna be a Bo
someone
Nix
needs
fan
to
now.
give him
Tua's
their love.
only gotten better since he's come to the league.
I'm with
The
you.
only
I
guy to
agree.
get shit for it, though. It's okay.
I'm just
He's played his
Hurry up
worst
and up.
football when it's mattered the most.
just propping up Jordan Love. That's all. Well, he's already been propped up, but
I remember when Tua tried to pass it against the Chiefs in Germany, and it just slipped out of his hand. Dire play.
It
and
happens.
I'm not a Tua hater either.
Wasn't raining or
no,
nothing
I
like that.
remember.
It just
I
happened.
remember.
Probably should've
Season
won.
on the line. Shit, Jordan Love has an opportunity with the ball in his hand, and I'm sure every Packers fan is
It's
thinking,
hypocritical.
Who the fuck else do
Here
I
I am
want?
using the word
and he
the
threw
right
a
way this
fucking
time.
pick over the middle of the field.
But Tua
to
hasn't
no
even
one.
won a playoff game. He started for 4 years, Drew.
Okay, I
4
understand.
years.
Well,
Zero
again,
playoff wins.
you know-
Jordan
you
Love,
know,
He started
1 year
half
starting,
a season.
one playoff
He
game.
started half a season.
So 3.5.
He
He
started
started
more
half
wins
a
What
than
has
season.
Tua
Jordan
done?
He
in
also
winter?
had
What is he
one of
done
the
in winter?
worst teams that I've seen
I
go
don't know.
9 and 8.
Well, he just had he had some of the best weapons in
He
football.
had a cakewalk
had-
to win the division, and he
He had
lost.
some pretty good
Last
offensive
year, they
linemen.
blew it.
Robert
What happened to
Hunt,
the-
Connor
They also got
Williams,
injured.
Teron
They also got
Armstead.
injured.
Pretty
And
good
that Titans
offensive
game,
line,
that's
all
the only
things
game I look at
considered.
and think, yeah,
Pretty
nah,
good
that's a fault.
coaching.
He was trash. trash.
Tua's got a lot.
Okay, really? So what
Three
happened when
good
Jalen
linemen,
Phillips, when you lost Bradley Chubb,
The
when,
offense.
when Tyreek Hill
the
also
defense
gets
wasn't
injured?
why they lost that playoff game, and you know it. They held the Chiefs to a
Okay,
lot
no,
of
I'm
field
not
goals.
going to disagree.
Cook.
It was their offense.
I'm not disagreeing.
Their defense played amazing, in fact, without those players. Tua was on the field. Their offense couldn't get anything outside that one throw at Tyreek
This is how
Hill.
you know it's a different
On a
conversation.
broken coverage.
You're
So-
boggling Jordan Love's season down to one play but for the majority of the game, he put them in a position to be in that situation. Tua wasn't good enough to even get the Dolphins within striking distance to beat the Chiefs.
They were in striking
His season was on the line for the entire game, and he was trash.
They scored 7 points in that playoff game versus the Chiefs.
It was trash.
And the Chiefs scored 26 after 3 quarters of being held to field goals. I just think it's fucking outlandish. I'm sorry.
So let me ask you a question. You want me to talk shit on the team that ended up winning the championship?
The Dolphins defense played well in that playoff game.
Again, it was cold.
Tua was the one that didn't show up.
It was cold.
Because you think
it was
about
freezing, actually.
You think about the amount of awesome players in that Dolphins.
You could low-key argue inhumane that they played that game.
Brother, you're going to have to play cold games in the playoffs.
But that happens.
Every game should be in a dome.
That's what great quarterbacks do.
They play the Super Bowl in warm weather, don't they? Why don't they play in the cold every single year?
All neutral fields the entire playoffs.
Why not?
It's just the fact that Tua has 3 good offensive linemen. He has amazing weapons and amazing coaching staff.
You would say that his line's good? You would say his line's good?
He had 3 good offensive linemen.
Really?
Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, one
of the best guards
in football.
Who got injured?
Okay, fair enough. And
torn Achilles.
And Teron Armstead.
Okay, Teron Armstead, who's also been injured almost his entire life.
He was healthy for that game, though, was he not?
He was. He did play, but he also was playing hurt.
It just didn't look like it, too. It was trash anyway.
I was a little bit annoyed they used the Dolphins' defense as the reason why. It's like, hey, that's not the reason why they lost that game, then.
No, I'm not saying that.
Even though the Chiefs did score 26.
I mean, they blew it down the stretch. They lost to the Bills week 18.
The Titans' loss is by far the worst one.
But he didn't play good against the Bills either.
You're saying Jordan Love cost them down the stretch. It's been Tua consistently has costed the Dolphins down the stretch each and every single game.
And if anything, I mean, Jordan Love.
It is true.
Jordan Love rose up his game.
Let's blame Tua Tagovailoa for having concussions. Yes, let's do that.
That's not. You know I'm not saying
but that's essentially what you're saying.
You know what I want to know, Drew?
And
the panel here. Jared Goff just got a big-time contract.
Amazing.
He just got paid a bag. Do we think Tua is going to get the same or similar contract to what Jared Goff just got paid?
And you know, I love that you mentioned this because, again, when I watch this topic list get put up, it's amazing to me because you know who else is due for a contract very, very, very soon? Trevor Lawrence. Where the fuck is his name here?
You know, I actually did a funny little ranking, Dehls, on how much these quarterbacks deserve from a financial standpoint ranked. Jared Goff just got a huge contract. $212 million extension and a no trade clause, which is very important.
That's crazy.
170 guaranteed, right?
I think of all these players, Jordan Love is number 1, gets the most money. I think Dak Prescott's number 2 because he's due for a contract soon. I think Trevor Lawrence is 3, and I think Tua is number 4.
What has Trevor Lawrence shown you that he's like, yeah, fuck it, give him more than Tua?
I definitely think the eye test for sure tells me Trevor Lawrence has been a better quarterback.
Okay, a guy who has essentially done exactly the same amount as
he
Tua
won a playoff
Tagovailoa.
game. Did Tua win a playoff game? He didn't. He hasn't done exactly the same thing.
I'll be honest, brother. Tua can't keep folding in December. He can't fold away the division. He can't.
Did
fold
Trevor
games.
Lawrence and the Jaguars not fold in December?
They did, but
last
he's won a
year,
playoff game.
Last year, sure. 2 years ago, they won the division.
Drew,
won a playoff
Trevor
game.
Lawrence had the worst offensive line in football and no running game.
And Tua Tagovailoa, when John was telling me it was John's fault, it was Tua's fault that they did not go to the playoffs in the 4 years that he's been a starter. The year that they went 9-8, Tua had the worst offensive line that we've seen in recent memory.
The Jaguars' offensive line has not been good. He's also not had Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. I could argue nothing closer.
And 9-8, do you know who his best weapon was? A rookie Jalen Waddle.
Versus
but we're not comparing Tua to what he was his 2
coaching
seasons.
department.
It's what he's been the last 2 seasons.
And this past season, he just led the league in yards.
He was trash down the stretch with
was really bad.
a favorable lead to win the division.
Trash down the stretch is a strong ass.
No, he was pretty trash.
Leading the NFL in yards.
He was trash against the Jets.
No, the issue is the biggest issue with Tua is when you're stacking him up against other great teams in the AFC. Are you going to trust Tua to go into Buffalo, go into Kansas City, go into Baltimore, if the Jets stay healthy, go into New York in a December or playoff football game and play well? My confidence level is a 2 out of 10.
Even though he played against Dallas and did his thing?
Where were they playing?
They were in Dallas.
In a dome.
So we understand that domes are beneficial.
Brother.
Even though it's against a good team.
Brother,
So now we go back to domes.
Drew,
even though it's against a good team.
My opening point was at Kansas City, at Baltimore, at Buffalo, at New York, where they all have in common. No domes, outside, cold weather, good teams. That's what you have to
Against the
beat.
Jets last season, he had a game where he only missed 3 passes.
Yeah, that was a fairly decent weathered game against a Jets team who cannot move the ball on offense.
Okay, but that's your defense that's still arguably the best.
I
in the
agree,
league.
but there's also no pressure.
Okay.
Like that Jets
but
team.
against Houston, they didn't look demoralized.
Who started that game for the Jets at quarterback?
If I had to just throw a step back three, Zach Wilson.
Tim Boyle.
No, yeah.
Oh,
That was the
against
Tim
us?
Boyle game.
No, that was the first game y'all played against us. That it was Tim Boyle.
So weeks 13.
Me too. Love you, brother.
Weeks 13 or week 17, Tua had 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 67% completion percentage, 88.7 passer rating.
A lot of those interceptions are the last 2 games of the season.
Oh, yeah, against the Ravens and the Bills, the most 2 important games of the season.
Don't disagree.
Yeah.
Tim Boyle played that game. He went 27 for 38.
That was the first game.
180. That's the game I'm talking about because the second game was in Miami.
The 30-0.
That was in Miami.
I think Trevor Lawrence
Zach
is a better
Wilson
quarterback
played
than
that game.
Tua.
and
Oh,
he
that's
got
what I
hurt.
was saying.
I was talking about the game in New York. So
But
that's
I was
what-
mentioning the one that he missed 3 passes.
Again, brother, in Miami, I have no worries about Tua. In a dome, no worries
my
about
God.
Tua. When you have to go, when the best teams in the AFC
If it's a
are
big
in
game, I'm
Portland-
worried. They lost to the Titans at home. Was it not at home?
That
It was
tough.
at home.
Yeah.
That was tough. But listen, again, Tua in a good situation when the weather is good in a dome, I think he go out there and play well. But the best teams in the AFC right now are all in outside cold cities. You're going to have to play those games unless you have the 1 seed.
Well, listen, this is something that we're
Get a
going
dome
to.
over
This
every
is something
stadium, man.
we will monitor throughout the NFL season. I just hope that this time around, maybe you wait until like week 17 to, evaluate Tua's season because he
mean?
might start off great. Weeks 1 to week 8, he might be great. He might be an MVP conversation.
The opening schedule for them is
It's
very,
amazing.
very great.
Like
You
I
wanna
said, they
predict
could
their
go
schedule?
up if you wanted to do that.
Okay.
Let's do it. I already went over it. It's going to be around 11 wins.
So week 1, you open the season at home against the Jaguars.
It's a win.
Week 2, short week
Me and
against
Tua.
Buffalo.
I'll take it. You think I give a fuck? It's me
It's
and
the
my brother.
Dolphins.
It's me and my brother. Go ahead.
Week 2, short week, Thursday Night Football against Buffalo.
In or
You're at home, Miami.
okay, win.
Week 3, cross country at Seattle.
Win.
Week 4, home versus Tennessee.
Win.
Week 5 at New England.
Win.
So far we're 5-0.
He hasn't lost
It's just
to.
shaping up to be.
He
a
has
typical
not lost to
Dolphins
New
season.
England in his career, by the way.
He should not lose.
Correct.
Damn near nobody should really lose to New England this year. Week 6, you have a bye week. Time to reassess.
Huge.
Week 7, after the bye, at the Colts.
Should be a win.
7-0.
6-0.
6-0, sorry.
Yeah.
Week 8, at home against the Cardinals.
It's a win.
Week 9, at Buffalo.
It's a loss.
Week 10, Monday Night Football, at the Rams.
That's a loss.
7-2.
Week 11, home against the Raiders.
It's a win.
Week 12, home against New England.
It's a win.
Week 13, short week at Green Bay.
It's a loss.
Week 14, home to the Jets.
That's a win.
Week 15, at Houston.
It's a loss.
Week 16, home versus the Niners.
It's a loss.
Week 17, at Cleveland.
It's going to be a tough ass game, but I think Tua can and the Dolphins can win that game.
11-5.
Week 18, at the Jets.
That's a loss.
11-6.
I said
11-6.
it's around 11 wins.
11-6. And they started out the season what? 5-0? Or was it
6-0.
No, 7
It
and
was
0.
7-0.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Wow.
First loss would be at Buffalo.
That last
They
fucking
won
couple of
11
games.
this last
I'm
year.
not a dumbass.
I think
If
the
they
two-
lose some of those gimmies, though,
Oh yeah,
It might
but
get
I don't.
ugly.
But I don't
Yeah.
see the one that could be up in the air.
I think the first 2 weeks, Jacksonville, Buffalo, I wouldn't be shocked if you lost one of those games.
I agree.
I think week 7 at Indy, depending on how they look, could be a toss-up game.
That was one that came to my mind too,
Week
for
9
sure.
and 10, I think you split with Buffalo, so whatever. Week
Yep.
10 at the Rams, I think that's a toss-up game.
And I gave that one to the Rams.
And then week 17 at Cleveland, I think it's a toss-up game.
Agreed.
to speak about Jared Goff, it's the last thing I want to say. I don't like the contract for him. I don't think he's worth it. But I respect that he got paid and what he did for the Lions. 59 touchdowns, 19 interceptions the last 2 seasons, 98.6 passer rating, 2 playoff wins this past season, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. He played really well. I think the biggest area of growth for him is how he handles blitzes. I think this year he got much better. I think the answers Ben Johnson gave him pre-snap were much better, and that was tested versus Brian Flores, who Goff has struggled against for his entire career, and Jared Goff had a really good game against his defense. But where he struggles is still a concern. He struggles with pressure because you could get blitz but not get pressure. Those are 2 different things. Under pressure this year, 6 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, 5.4% turnover-worthy play percentage, 62.5 passer rating. In 2022, these were his PFF grades under pressure. In 2022, it was 59.6. Oh, no, these are passer ratings, sorry. 2022, 59.6. 2021, 69.2. And with the Rams, it was a combined 60.4 passer rating, not counting his rookie season, which was, of course, very bad as well. In order to win with Jared Goff, you need to have the infrastructure. Thankfully, the Lions have that. Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell, Kevin Zeitler. They have a great offensive line. Graham Glasgow. They have a great offensive line. But if they don't end up winning a Super Bowl, I'm afraid that the decision of not finding a quarterback to ultimately replace Jared Goff will be their downfall. Somebody like Anthony Richardson, when you had high draft capital from the Rams draft picks to maybe get a guy like that, that might end up haunting them because they have given up some big-time contracts. Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid. Goff got paid. Penei Sewell. So now this window is really shortening. And the team, as years go by, it's going to be less and less talented. And I don't believe Jared Goff is one of those guys that can raise the floor of a team. So it's going to be interesting. So long term, I don't like it. But short term, I mean, what else were they going to do? There's nothing else they could do because they don't have another option. It was Hendon Hooker or Goff. And Hendon Hooker is not going to be a great quarterback. So it's easy.
And I'm fine with paying Jared Goff, especially when he's brought you to heights that you haven't seen since the 90s. Since the best player that your franchise has ever had decided to walk away from the game of football and Barry Sanders. So, and that's also understanding that your best franchise quarterback in Matthew Stafford wasn't able to achieve these heights that Jared Goff obviously was able to accomplish last season. Do I think he deserves to be the highest annual quarterback in football? No, of course not. But at the same time, you understand it's 2024, and every single TV deal that comes out, these quarterbacks are going to be getting paid more and more every single time. And how I equate this is thinking about how Jaylen Brown got paid. Jaylen Brown's now the highest paid player in basketball, and we all understand that will change. Sure. We saw Mike Conley be the highest paid player in basketball. Obviously, that wasn't going to stand for a long time. You look at this as a placeholder. He deserves his money. Do I think he's number one? Of course not. But at the same time, that's just kind of how free agency whirls. And when you're due and your time's up, especially at a certain moment, and you play at the level that Jared Goff played at last season, you're due for an insane payday, and that's exactly what we saw.
I'm just happy for Goff, man. Like, there's a great analogy. There's this one guy on TikTok named, I forget his name, but he always draws life, like, lessons to analogies in sports. So he was like, when you get done wrong by somebody, go become real-life Jared Goff. In the sense that, hey, look, you got to move forward and continue building. For Goff, sure, the Rams traded him at his lowest. He went to Detroit. He put the work in. He continued to have the right mindset. And then he became beloved by Detroit. He got everything the Rams could have brought him just by accepting the fact he had to move on from those years. And now look at what he's been able to kind of basically resurrecting his career in a way after some years of injuries and disappointment. I'm pretty happy for the guy, man.
Absolutely. It's similar to the Dak Prescott situation when he got his first contract. It's similar to the Dak Prescott situation that I think is coming up within a year or two. I think both of these quarterbacks, for their franchises, are franchise quarterbacks. They're guys that you really can't move off of because there's no succession plan. I know the Cowboys traded a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance, but I have a hard time believing that Jerry Jones is looking at Trey Lance saying that he's going to be our starting quarterback after Dak Prescott. And the Lions used a 2nd, 3rd-round pick, whatever it was, on Hendon Hooker. And although, there's some upside there, I guess, you also have a team that's ready to compete now. As Drew mentioned, this was your first time winning a playoff game in damn near 30 years. You had one of the longest droughts in NFL history. I think maybe the longest drought, at least currently going on. And if you have Amon-Ra, if you have Gibbs and David Montgomery, and arguably the best offensive line in football, great OC, great head coach, and all of this is coming together, it's kind of the price you have to pay to win now. I agree, Joel. Perfect world. Trade up for Anthony Richardson. That would have been amazing. But unfortunately, that's not the world they live in. So if your team is this damn good, you got to pay Jared Goff $170 million. And we saw the Rams do it a few years ago where they even paid him a little bit early coming off of that Super Bowl. And I think they were kind of in a similar situation where they had this great offensive-minded coach. I'm talking about Ben Johnson, Sean McVay. But regardless, you have this great offensive-minded head coach. You have these great weapons. You have this great offensive system. And you're saying Jared Goff can do more than enough to get us to that promised land. He got to a Super Bowl, gets to an NFC Championship game. First time the Rams didn't end up well because the roster kind of started falling apart. Todd Gurley falls apart. The offensive line's not as great. Defense isn't as great. So if the Lions are able to keep it all together, then sure, it works paying Jared Goff. But once you pay all of these guys, like you mentioned, Joel, it's hard to keep the team intact, and it's hard to keep that Super Bowl window open for realistically more than a few seasons.
I'm with you.
It's perfectly said, Dehls.
Thank you, bro.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick a Side Podcast, episode 370.
Before we close off,
9.
John, if you feel like I was a little harsh on you on today's episode, I was. And now I
Listen,
tell you what,
bro.
you answered the call. And you
Listen.
put together a great performance today. I just want to let you know that.
Darius
listen,
Garland
bro.
or Derek White?
Oh, Darius Garland. Listen, bro, I grew up with two.
Yo, is Darius Garland the new Christian Woodland? I'm just joking.
Fucking leap through this table right now. I'll tell you what, man. I grew up with 2 older brothers, and we constantly shoot each other every single day. So this to me is just.
You know you're my
really
dog,
second
Johnny.
So
nature.
walk in the park for you, John.
It's just another day. You know what I mean? So I mean, I do disagree with the shit ton of your takes. Right now, I'm just trying. To find this TikToker I was highlighting. I think his name is Miles. My internet is selling me, but I'll get it.
Yeah, that's good. Maybe you can send this me later or something. I can
No,
check it out.
his TikToks are the best shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
For real.
And that's going to do it. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.